So, hey, what's up, guys? How are you all doing? I hope you are all doing great, so welcome back to the channel. So this story is about what if Naruto became the god of destruction. So here is a quick summary of this video. Naruto, after Sasuke tried to bleed out and drown him, meets Kaguya, Shinigami, and Arceus. He is then informed of his entry into the Eternal Council of the Deities. He is now the god of carnage, technology, and destruction. Godly Naruto. Sasuke bashing. This is the only full part of this story. So, if you enjoy this, what if, do subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell to never miss any updates from this channel. And check out my videos at the link given in the description. Watch and have fun. Also, make sure to share with your friends. And so yeah, without taking much more time, let's get into the video. Chapter 1. A blonde-haired boy of 13 could be seen sinking to the bottom of the ocean, a huge sword lodged into his side, due to the actions of his supposed teammate. The boy had stunning blue eyes that shined with an unyielding will. His skin was tan, and 3 whisker marks could be seen on each side of his face. The boy was dressed in an orange and blue jumpsuit and blue sandals. This boy is Uzumaki Naruto, and he was both drowning and bleeding out. All because his teammate Uchiha Sasuke had gotten upset that he had talked the enemy out of fighting, keeping the boy from gaining his oh-so-precious Sharingan. He, with what he thought was his last act in the world of the living, lifted up his middle finger and gurgled out, "Fuck you, Sasuke team." He then blacked out, not knowing that his body had just been wrapped in a pure white shell of energy. Inside of the shell, 3 women appeared. The first of the 3 had long silver hair that spiked out everywhere. She had pale skin that seemed to shine in the shell. Her eyes were this stunning shade of gold that could make a dragon lick its lips in lust. From her head 2 thick horns could be seen poking out. Her ears were pointed and elegant. She was dressed in a light plum kimono with red prayer beads around her neck. On her lips was a light appliance of pink lipstick. The next woman had long flowing light-colored hair that was simply regal. Her eyes were pale white and had no pupil. Her skin was also pale, yet didn't shine like the other woman's. In the center of her forehead was a vertical slit. Poking out of her hair was what looked like 2 horns. She was dressed in a simple high-collared Haim-style kimono that was white and had black commas woven into collar and in the sides. She had a light appliance of purple lipstick on her lips, and her fingernails were painted a royal purple. The last of the 3 women had long black golden blonde hair that seemed to shine with a supernatural light. Her skin was fair and blemish-free. Her eyes were large green emeralds, her pupils shining red rubies. The strange thing was the golden arch-like things on her side and back. She was dressed in a wide and dark gray kimono that had a strange pattern going up the front. Around her eyes were thick gold lines. These 3 were Tsubasa or Shinigami, Otsutsuki Kaguya, otherwise known as Princess Kaguya or Cabot Goddess, and Kami, otherwise known as Arceus, the goddess of Pokemon. Tsubasa, looking down at Naruto, gently removed the sword from his side. She then removed his shirt and jacket. Her eyes gained a cold fury, spotting the many scars covering his body, including what looked like the words demon spawn carved into his chest. She, turning to Kaguya and spotting the appalled eyes of the woman, said, "He is your one shot at redemption. You see, 13 years ago I sealed the 9-tailed fox inside of him due to Kami making a mistake during her paperwork, marking him as the Jinchuriki of said fox and my summoner not paying the price with his life. He was then subjected to treatment should ever go through. Tsukiyomi personally witnessed him almost being beaten to death 4 times. Amaterasu witnessed him almost being raped 6 times. I myself witnessed him be starved and he be crucified. What amazes all of us is that he hasn't snapped yet, nor has he been corrupted by the evil of life. No, he's still pure as the driven snow." Kami, realizing her mistake a few years ago, instantly started to paperwork to fix her blunder. She, gaining a happy smile on her face, said, "She just finished the paperwork and now things can be fixed. The guy you have been chosen to be his mother, as his true family left him to fend for himself in that damned village. Kami has been listening to request to introduce a few of your children to this world and has decided to grant said request by allowing the Pokemon as a brand new summon that will go to Naruto. Don't worry, he won't abuse them or anything. In fact, you'll probably see this as his family or precious people and protect them with his life. Also, could you maybe bless him with the powers of a few legendaries?" Kami, hearing this, smiled and said, "I can, but after Kaguya-san becomes his new mom." Tsubasa, hearing this, smiled and turned to Kaguya, who was already kneeling beside Naruto. She, gently touching one of his whisker marks, said, "He is going to be my new Sachikin. Such a strong will, such potential." She, turning to Tsubasa, asked, "Besides informing us of this and bringing us here, what else is your business here?" Tsubasa, giggling, said, "I am here to give him the blessing of Tsukiyomi, Amaterasu, Susanoo, Izanami, Izanagi, Yami, Kami, and myself. As you know, that makes all 8 of the eternal deities to give him their blessing, which will turn him into a new god. Also to ask him what he wants to do with the Kyuubi." Kaguya hearing this nodded and asked, how will I be turning him into my son? Tsubasa smiling pulled out a very shiny and sharp needle. She said, with this. It's been blessed by Kami ni and Izanagi Oji. I simply get some blood from you, it interacts with Kami and Izanagi's power, and hello nurse, it's changed into pure DNA that once introduced to his system will transform him into your new darling baby boy. Kaguya hearing this rolled up the sleeve of her kimono and said, then please get to work. As I want to hold my baby for a little while before I'm forced back into that cursed prison my two eldest trapped me. Tsubasa nodding, stuck the needle into Kaguya's arm and drew enough blood to fill the syringe. She removing the needle from Kaguya's arm, smiled when the red blood quickly turned golden. She then sticking the needle directly into Naruto's heart emptied the syringe. Removing the needle, she made the syringe vanish, just as Naruto shot up with wide eyes. He then said, I'm up Haruno, don't poke me with that flaming kunai. He then blinked when he heard three very distinct and very pretty sounding giggles. He turning his head gasped spotting the three women. Naruto was about to ask what was going on when Kaguya explained everything to him, even who they were. Naruto blinking at this, smiled and wrapped Kaguya in a warm hug and said wow, I must be really lucky to have such a gorgeous woman as my new mom. Kaguya with a tiny blush on her face said, I am truly the luckiest woman in the world to have such a flatterer for my new and youngest child. He then smiling at her asked, so I noticed you have the Byakugan like the Hyuga clan. Does this mean I'm going to get it too? Kaguya shaking her head said, I'm afraid not, but you will be gaining something much better. Naruto with a curious look on his face asked what's better than one of the three great Taijutsu. Kaguya smiling said, the fourth unheard of great Taijutsu. Allow me to show it to you. She then closed her eyes and pushed chakra into the slit on her forehead. Naruto gasped when said slit opened up and an eye appeared. This eyes was dark red, with 6 large rings surrounding a single round dot. On each of the rings 6 Tomo sat, making a total of 36 Tomo in the eye. Did he forget to mention that the Tomo were snow white? Kaguya opening her eyes smiled and said, behold the fourth great Taijutsu Chaosigan. Eye of Chaos, it has all of the abilities of the other 3 Taijutsu, but amplified. For instance the Byakugan can see almost 360 degrees in every direction and can see the chakra inside of someone's body. It can see the chakra in the air and allow you to manipulate the chakra all around you. Another for instance is the Rinnegan allows the user to wield all 5 of the elemental affinities. It allows you to not only do that, but to wield the elements and use the elements of light and shadow. Naruto hearing this said whoa that totally sounds badass mom. She giggling said, it is baby. Now Kami-san has something for you. Naruto turning his eyes to Kami, gave her his full attention. Kami smiling said, alright Naruto-kun, I have decided to bless you with the powers of a couple of my more powerful exclusive children. The first will be Giratina, my little rebellious princess. She is the ruler of the distorted world and one of the most feared of my children. Next is Molters, he's the living embodiment of fire and is capable of producing flames that put the sun's flames to shame. Then we have Articuno, my little ice queen. She's literally the coldest of my children and can summon blizzards that could freeze an polar bear. Then we have Kyogre, who is said to have created the oceans while battling her older brother Groudon. She's literally a titan of the sea and when she primal reverts she can summon a storm that could flood the lands. Next to last we have Mutuo, who is one of the most powerful yet most awkward of my children. Don't get me wrong though, she can crush a mind or anything for that matter with just a thought. Last we have Zekrom, the Pokemon version of the goddess of storms. She has lightning in her control and isn't afraid to use it to get what she wants, she usually sides with the person with ideals. Naruto getting an image of each Pokemon felt like shitting his pants spotting Giratina, Kyogre and Zekrom. Mutuo reminded him of a Sasuke, while Molters and Articuno looked like giant birds to him. Kami smiling said, you'll be able to meet and work with each of them, since Kami has decided to allow you to exclusive privilege of summoning all of my wonderful children. Do treat them with love and care. Naruto smiling said, I promise to treat them like they were my own flesh and blood, and I never go back on my promises. Kami giggled hearing this. Tsubasa then stepping forward said, now for the last part. Otsutsuki Naruto, you have done something no mortal has ever managed to achieve. You have received not only the blessing of all 8 of the eternal deities, but have earned their respect. It is with great honor I welcome you to the position of the 9th eternal deity. It has been decided that you will be the god of carnage, technology and destruction. Naruto hearing this felt his mouth open wide. He shaking his head managed to stand and bowed deeply. He said, I am deeply honored Shinigami-sama. I will try my best to not dishonor the 8 eternal deities. Tsubasa giggling said, I know you will. Anyway, I have a question to ask you. Naruto blinking asked, what is it Shinigami-sama? Tsubasa pouting said, first of all call me Tsubasa-chan or Tsubasa-hime or at the least Tsubasa-ni. The question is what do you want to do with the Kyuubi? Naruto blinking said, why does it matter what I want done with Jinx ni? Tsubasa smiling said, because now that you're an eternal deity, she can't stay sealed in you. Naruto hearing this pouted and asked, why not Tsubasa ni? Tsubasa smiling at him calling her sister said, because she wasn't even supposed to be sealed inside of you in the first place. Naruto hearing this, quickly started to think. He getting an idea asked, can she be sealed in something else? Tsubasa tilting her head asked, like what? Naruto pointing to Zabuza's sword asked that. Tsubasa picking up said sword, tossed it a few times and said sure just as long as promises to be a good girl. Naruto cheered and said, yay now Jinx ni can stay by my side. Tsubasa giggling waved her hand and a red orb floated out of Naruto and slammed into the sword. The sword then transformed from a thick and huge blade to a simple and elegant katana with a blood-red blade. Tsubasa then gaining a serious look in her eyes said, alright Naruto Itado, we have to go now. Kaguya has to return to the moon, Kami has to return to her dimension, and I have to return to the cursed paperwork. Kaguya hearing this wrapped Naruto in a gentle hug and said, stop hiding yourself away baby. Show your true skills and ask out Yuzuki Uago already. Trust me it won't end bad. Naruto nodding said, okay mom I will. All three women then vanished. Naruto walking over to his new katana, picked it up and said, alright Jinx you heard mom, it's time to pierce the veil. Chapter 2 He then closing his eyes took a deep breath and dropped the shell around him. Feeling the cold water hit his body, he closed his eyes and tried to focus on the power of molters, but was finding it really hard to focus with spotting all of the marine life all around him, including a hungry-looking shark. He finally feeling a raging burning inferno inside of his body, tapped into it. His body instantly lit aflame and he swore he could hear the screech of a large bird. He crouching down, packing all of his chakra into his legs, prepared to jump. He shooting up, quickly breached the surface of the ocean and was in the air above the bridge. He didn't know it, but his entire body was surrounding in a cloak of flames that had taken on the shape of a bird. He looking down, could see all of wave and a little beyond said country in each direction. He then focusing his eyes down, tightened his grip on Jinx spotting Kakashi beating the shit out of Sasuke. Sakura was trying to stop said man. Haku was being held back by Tazuna, who was being held back by Zabuza. The only person who didn't look like they wanted to rip the arrogant Uchiha to pieces was his utterly useless fangirl. He groaning wondered why and how did he ever have a crush on such a useless being. He shaking his head turned his attention to the rather large army moving towards the bridge, led by what looked like a midget. He knowing that this was Gato, smirked spotting the many ships the man had heading towards the bridge. He closing his eyes tried to remember the hand signs for the summoning jutsu. Remembering them, he scraped his finger across one of his larger canine teeth and went through the hand signs. Slamming his hand down on Jinx's blade he yelled out, summoning jutsu. A few poofs of smoke occurred and when the smoke vanished, on the ground were large light blue and red bipedal alligators, along with large dark blue turtles with cannons in its shell. Naruto activating his powers from Mutuo, sent the mental command to attack the ships coming this way and that he was Naruto their new summoner. The animals roaring, jumped into the water, well the alligators did, the turtles, walked to the end of the bridge and started firing large jets of water out at the ships. He then dropping from his position high in the air, appeared in front of Haku. He dismissing Molter's power, smirked at the wide eyes of Haku, Tazuna and Zabuza. Haku asked Naruto-kun. Naruto striking the nice guy pose said Yosh. The one and only, with some improvements. He then gaining a serious look on his face, turned around and said, Oi Kakashi-sensei, as much as I would like for the team to be beaten to within an inch of his life. You're gonna have to wait, as we have an army to deal with. Kakashi dropping the bloody and bruised Sasuke, turned to Naruto and gained wide eyes spotting Naruto's eyes. His Chaosigan activated revealing his dark purple eyes, with 3 rings and 3 Tomo on the innermost ring. The Tomo of course were snow white. Naruto spotting his reflection in Kakashi's headband said, I'll explain later sensei. He lifting Jinx onto his shoulder said, we have business to handle. He turning to Zabuza said, time to show everyone why you're called the demon of the hidden mist. Looking at Haku he said, you don't have to fight if you don't want to Haku. He smirking at Tazuna asked hey old man got any sake left? Tazuna wondering why he asked this nodded and pulled out a large bottle of said beverage. Naruto's smirk widened as he said, toss it here old man and you'll see something totally badass. Tazuna tossing Naruto the bottle, blinked when Naruto uncorked it and took a heavy swig of the drink. Naruto's cheeks were bulged out as he once again tapped into the powers of Molters and Mutuo. He speaking with his mind said white fire style, fangs of the great fire dog. Everyone including Sasuke gained wide eyes when out of Naruto's mouth and aura 10 huge fire dogs appeared, snarling and growling. All 10 of them were made of pure white flames and seemed to be alive. The largest dog howling, shot forward to attack the now visible army of Gato, the rest soon behind him. Naruto lifting up Jinx, said, let's cause some mayhem. shadow clone jutsu. A poof of smoke later and 300 Narutos could be seen covering the bridge, each one holding up Jinx and coated in flames. Naruto then shot forward, followed closely by his clones. Zabuza smiling pulled out his backup sword and said, "I really like this kid." He then charged forward. Kakashi lifting up his headband, revealed his Sharingan and said, "Hokage-sama would kill me if I didn't help Naruto with this, besides what kind of big brother and sensei doesn't help his little brother slaughter an army?" Haku putting on her mask, said, "I will help my first friend and will kill my emotions to help him save Wave." She then ran forward intent on helping Naruto and the others defend Wave. Sakura was being useless and trying to fawn over Sasuke, who was glaring at Naruto with pure hate. Naruto slicing through a thug, jumped over another one, crushing the man's mind with a thought. Landing he kicked a man in his gut, making the man turn into a pile of still smoking black ashes. Naruto tossing a few kunai at some men, said wind style, tornado slicing blades. Huge blades of wind appeared and started slicing through men, forming large twisters that formed even more blades. He spotting a clone jump in the air, watched it go through more hand signs. It then called out fire style, dragon flame jutsu. Another clone not far away cried out lightning style, lightning dragon jutsu. The lightning dragon hit the twister made it start shooting out sparks. Naruto spotting the fire hitting this cried out combination jutsu, raging lightning storm. The attack tore through thug after thug, spraying blood everywhere. Naruto ducking, shoved a sharp kunai into the throat of another thug. Grabbing that thug's head he pulled with all of his might and pulled out not only the head, but the man's spine also. Sticking his hand in the man's mouth, Naruto started to kill other thugs with the man's spine. Did I forget to mention that Naruto was channeling some lightning chakra through the spine, so the thugs were dying painfully. Naruto then tossing the spine like a spear, shot forward with a kunai in each hand. Appearing behind a large group of thugs, he tossed the kunai at two thugs coming behind Haku, just as the thugs all separated from the rest of their bodies. Pretty soon all that was left of the army was Geto. Naruto, Haku, Zabuza and Kakashi were coated in blood. Some time ago the people of Wave had appeared and everyone was now standing in a circle around Geto, who was being held down by some Naruto clones. Naruto walking forward turned to the people and asked, "Alright people, what do you guys want to do with this scum?" The entire crowd screamed out, "Kill him." Naruto hearing this nodded and said, "Your wish is my command." He signaling to his clones, who pushed the man until his head was touching the bridge. Naruto walking over to the man, climbed up on the shoulders of one of the turtles. He raising his left hand said, "Geto, for your crimes a jury of your peers have sentenced you to death. There will be no mercy, no second chances. I Otsutsuki Naruto, the god of carnage, technology, and destruction am your executioner. Goodbye." Naruto then jumped into the air and once he was high enough, lifted his left foot and cried out to jutsu, curb stomp. He then came down and stomped on Geto's head, crushing it and causing blood and brain matter to explode everywhere. Naruto scowling said, "I knew that was a bad idea, but no, I decided to do it anyway. No, I've got to clean brain matter off of my feet." He then turning to the people of Wave smiled and said, "Wave, you are now free of the tyranny of Geto. The bridge can be built and your first steps to peace can be achieved. Rejoice." The people hearing this started to cheer loudly. Next thing Naruto was being tossed up and down, his name being cheered and praised, Haku, Kakashi, and Zabuza in the same boat. Naruto laughing joyfully said, "You're welcome." Kakashi was simply basking in all of the attention he was getting and not being called a pervert. Haku was blushing and Zabuza was scowling, not liking this one bit. Sasuke was scowling even worse as in his mind once again the dope had shown him up and stepped out of his place. Sakura was scowling as Sasuke was scowling and she already knew the source of said scowl. She growling said, "Naruto baka. I'm gonna punish you for upsetting Sasuke-kun." Tazuna on the other hand was happily chugging from his sake bottle as he was extremely happy. A week later, Naruto could be seen staring at a rather imposing statue on the completed bridge. It was him standing tall among a pile of bodies, Jinx shining brightly in his right hand and flames licking at his feet. His Chaosigan activated. The strange thing about the statue was the mark on his arm. It was a large C, with what looked like little bugs crawling over it and ruble around it. This symbol was what the people of Wave had decided his symbol was going to be, and the symbol they were going to worship was going to look like. They had even created some new clothes for him with said symbol in it. He was now wearing an open purple jacket with black flames on it. On the back was the symbol in bright orange. On each of his hands were black metal plaited fingerless gloves. His pants were purple, with torn out knees, but seemed to be threaded back together with black strings. He had on thick black boots, purple strings making them his. Strapped to his back with a black strap was Jinx. His headband shining proudly on his forehead. Beside him smiling proudly was Kakashi. On his other side smiling fondly at him was Haku. Zabuza on the other hand was reading the words on the statue. Whistling, the man said, "This is the statue of our hero. He was drowned in the waters below this very bridge and was brought back to life, gaining the powers of a god. Beware all that trespass on this land seeking to do harm. The god of carnage, technology and destruction watches over this land, the land of his rebirth, the land of his first slaughter, land of his religion." He, turning to Naruto, said, "Damn brat, they really took what you said to heart. You know that they're going to start worshipping you even more now, right?" Naruto, huffing, said, "Whatever. Let's go to Konoha already, before the fangirls swarm me again." Kakashi, giggling, said, "Welcome to the curse of the being baddest, Naruto." Naruto, ignoring the statement, turned around and walked off of the bridge, walking right by the bruised and limping Sasuke and the arm in a sling, and talking with a slur Sakura. Haku, who was right behind him, sent a glare at both people, remembering how the two idiots tried to take Naruto's power and kill him for refusing to give it to him. She then giggled, remembering that Naruto did a less powerful version of his curb stomp on the Uchiha and broke Haruno's arm in 7 different places, then proceeded to shut the girl up by delivering a literally jaw-shattering punch to the girl's face. They had enjoyed peace and quiet for 6 days now. Kakashi behind her pulled out his book, already preparing himself for the earful he was going to get once they got back to Konoha. Zabuza, pulling out his own copy of Kakashi's book, wondered how Naruto was going to get him into Konoha. Haku was going to be no problem, but he was a missing ninja, a powerful one at that. Naruto himself was wondering how his little future genin were going to respond to their boss Big Brother being a literal god now. He then stopped and giggled slightly, already picturing the looks on the council's face. He right there swore to bring a camera to record the moments forever. Another week later, the group finally arrived in Konoha, yet Sasuke was still limping. This time though, he was limping because he tried to have his way with Haku, and not only did Naruto beat the shit out of the boy, but Haku made the boy sterile, and Zabuza was close to sending the boy to the rest of his clan. Luckily for him, Kakashi informed them that he was still needed for the Chunin exams. Naruto also said that the civilian council might flip out if Zabuza killed their precious Uchiha. Naruto, once inside of the village, leads Zabuza and Haku to the Hokage's office, Kakashi behind them. Kakashi and Zabuza noticed something though. The people in the village was looking at Naruto with wide eyes, some of them even looking at him with respect. The closer they got to the Hokage tower, the more people started to do it. Haku soon picked up on it and narrowed her eyes, wondering what was going on. Naruto was too deep in his thoughts to notice. He was wondering how was he going to train his Jujutsu, as he couldn't even use any of the Sharingan properties, nor could he use anything of the Rinnegan besides the elements. He had full access to the Byakugan parts. Jinx was just as clueless as he was. She was also pushing him to learn some more sword skills, as she wanted to be used for more than a walking stick. Arriving at the tower, Naruto walked in and was walking up the stairs. Once outside of the doors to the Hokage's office, Naruto snapped out of his thoughts and gained a great big smile. He, kicking open the doors, said, "Oi, old man, you might as well give me the hat now, as I'm back not from a C-rank mission, but according to Kakashi-sensei, a high A to a low rank mission." Sarutobi, hearing this, smiled and said, "I know, Naruto." Naruto, hearing this, blinked and asked, "How do you know?" Sarutobi, pulling out a little black book, opened it to a saved page and tossed it to Naruto. He, catching it, looked at it and gained huge comical eyes. The reason why was because he was looking at a picture of him coated in flames, slicing through a thug with Jinx. Kakashi was looking over his shoulder, gaping like a fish. Zabuza was trying very hard not to laugh. Haku, on the other hand, was very worried for her first friend now. Kakashi then read Otsutsuki Naruto Aka, the god of carnage. Eye color, natural unknown, believed to have a unknown Jujutsu. Hair color, platinum blonde or silver. Height, 5 feet 4 inches. Weight, possibly 160 pounds. Rank, genin. Elemental affinities, Kanton, Futon, and Raiten. Summonings, strange turtles with cannons and ferocious bipedal alligators capable of taking down entire ships. As a sword that has a blood-red tint and seems to be just getting used to it. Jinjutsu, skills unknown. Taijutsu skills, unknown, but known to have crushed Gato's head with a move he called the curb stomp. Ninjutsu skills, rather limited information, but knows the summoning, the shadow clone, a wind jutsu, 2 fire jutsu and a lightning jutsu, all being high ranked. And surround himself in flames that resemble a bird. Rank in Bingo Book, B Note is the first genin to ever be put in the Bingo Book. He is a genin of Konohagakure. Naruto, hearing this, smiled and said, "Oh yeah. Now you'll surely give me the hat, old man." Sarutobi, laughing, said, "Maybe when you're placed in there as a S rank, but until then no." Naruto, pouting, said, "Mean." He, shaking his head, gained a serious look on his face and said, "Old man Zabuza Mamachi and his daughter Hakuyuko Mamachi are becoming Konoha shinobi, or I'll alert the Kunoichi population of a certain crystal ball that can pierce through anything." Sarutobi, hearing this, paled and said, "You wouldn't do that to your grandfather, would you?" Naruto snorting said yes if my grandfather doesn't make my friend and her father Konoha shinobi, and don't even try to call my bluff because I've got clones already in the village, with several of the more powerful kunoichi gathered. Sarutobi hearing this sighed and said, I knew letting Anko keep watch over you was a bad idea. Naruto making a victory pose said, damn right it was old man. Anko ni taught me everything she knows, along with Ibiki Nai and Inachi-san. Kakashi giggled at the pale Sarutobi who asked, she took you to the T&I department. Naruto laughing said, sure it did, claimed it would teach me to respect my elders. Instead it showed them how to get a prisoner to talk in 5 seconds. Last time I checked Ibiki Nai was still trying to beat my record. Sarutobi sweat dropped at this. He then shaking his head, pulled out 2 headbands and tossed them to Haku and Zabuza. He said, welcome to Konoha, and Anbu will lead the 2 of you to a home rented for you. Naruto, Kakashi stay, there's something else you 2 need to know. Haku and Zabuza nodding left, of course, after Haku gave Naruto a hug. Once they were gone, Sarutobi sighed and said, alright Naruto, what I'm about to tell you Kakashi already knows. Please hold all of your questions until I finish. Naruto nodding, didn't even see when Kakashi put his book away. Sarutobi then said, Naruto, you are not an orphan. You are Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, son of Namikaze Minato and Namikaze Uzumaki Kushina. You were born 13 years ago, when the Kyuubi attack. You have 2 older sisters. Kain and Akane. You have an older brother named Link, a twin sister named Naruko and have a younger sister named Natsumi. Yes, that means both Kushina and Minato are alive. While you were away, they came back to the village and not only did they announce who you really are, but removed you from your apartment. No one knew that they survived, not even me. I am telling you this because they are in the other room and have heard this entire conversation. Naruto hearing this felt his mind go blank for about 7 seconds. It then kicked back on and he instantly felt a burning hot rage build up inside of him. He could feel Jinx pushing her chakra into her sword. He could also hear her roar about bastards. Naruto clenching his fist, tried very hard to keep a tight lid on his emotions. That plan shot to hell when the door opened and his supposed family stepped out with large happy smiles on their faces. He clenching his eyes shut and gritting his teeth, was barely holding his rage down, but he knew Kakashi could feel his rage as the man was right behind him. Kakashi on the other hand wasn't even trying to keep his down, he unleashed the full brunt of his killing intent and glared a hole into the family. Kushina smiling walked over to Naruto and said, hello Naruto-kun. How have you been Sachi-kun? Hearing this woman say this, was it? Naruto snapped. All of his killing intent along with that of Jinx's flooded not only the tower, but the entire village. Every single living being was brought to its knees at the massive intent to kill. Sarutobi in the office was grabbing his heart trying to stop the massive heart attack he was getting from the powerful killing intent. Kakashi was trying to catch his breath. Kushina was down on the floor with wide eyes filled with fear. The rest of the Namikaze family was faring no better. Naruto opening his eyes revealed his menacing dark purple eyes. His eyes now had 6 tomo on the innermost ring. The pupil was also slitted. He glaring at Kushina with all of the hate he could muster said, don't you dare call me that. Kakashi shaking his head, reached over to Naruto and said, Naruto stop, you're going to kill the Sadame. Naruto capping his killing intent, stood from his chair. Walking to the door, he yanked it open. He turning to look at Kakashi said, I'll be in the forest of death if you need me Kakashi-sensei. Tell Anko ni this also. He then slamming the door shut, walked towards the forest of death. Sarutobi finally being able to breath said, oh dear sweat Kami. I've never felt such monstrous killing intent in my life. Kakashi getting to his feet said, that was 10 times worse than the Kyuubis and he somehow managed to pull it all back in. Kakashi then ran to the trash can and puked his guts out. Minato helping a trembling Kushina to her feet asked, what just happened? Sarutobi with an are you stupid look on his face was about to answer when the door was kicked in and a glaring Anko appeared with a kunai in each hand and snakes hissing from her sleeves. She looking around asked, why did I just sense Naruto's killing intent and what the hell got him so upset to unleash it? Kakashi finished puking, wiped his mouth and pointed to the Namikaze family. Anko's eyes landing on them, narrowed her eyes. She instantly understood what had happened. She ignoring Kushina, who used to be a big sister figure to her, turned and asked, where did he go? Kakashi said, forest of death. Anko sighing said, oh great now it's going to take me all day to find him. Damn brat knows the forest better than I do. She turning to Sarutobi said, old man I'm going to need some money for Ramen and Dango. Sarutobi sweat drooping, handed Anko a card and said, that links to my personal account. Don't you dare bankrupt me. I still need to eat. Anko smiling too brightly said, you bet old man, I'll buy you Dango too. She was then gone in a swirl of leaves, leaving a cursing Sarutobi behind. Sarutobi shaking his head turned to the Namikaze family and with a cold glare said, now you can start explaining to Kakashi and myself why you left him in this village. Minato sitting Kushina down on the couch turned to him and said, well you see it's like this. Well there's chapter 2. Most of you have me some good choices for the girls. I let you guys pick up to chapter 5. Anyway best chapter we find out why the Namikaze family left poor little Naruto alone for so long. We also find out just how Naruto responds. Also I don't know if you guys and girls knew this, but Pierce the Veil is the name of a band. Their song King for a Day was my inspiration for most of this chapter. The other song was Jump Back by Heaven's Basement. So look for the 3-road chapter soon. So long all my true believers and love long and prosper. Chapter 3 When it was finished, Kakashi was looking at Minato and his family with eyes that said, you're the most idiotic man in existence, and I hope Naruto kills you, for his revenge. Sarutobi on the other hand was repeatedly banging his head on his desk. The ending his Little Rock concert he said, Namikaze Minato, that is the most idiotic thing I have ever heard. You leave your son, the one you decided to seal the Kyuubi into, to the mercy of this village, all because you were terrified the Shinigami would come and kill your family for cheating it out of death. Not only that but you trained said boy's twin sister to cage level and then decide to come back after Kushina gives birth to another girl. Minato with a sheepish grin said yup. They blinked hearing someone snort. All eyes turning to the door blinked spotting a bruised and dirt-covered ankle leaning into the door. She with the eye swollen shut said, Naruto is going to kill you if any of you ever come near him. She then limping into the room followed by a concerned Kurenai, plopped down in the empty seat and asked Kakashi did my little brat really become a fucking god? Kakashi shrugging said, I honestly had no idea I was just grateful that he was alive, I forgot to ask him what happened to him. Sarutobi looking at Anko asked why. Anko groaning said, because like a baka I decided to entice him into a fight. I've never had such a thorough ass kicking in my entire life. I mean at first he was just using his fist and speed, but pretty soon I was dodging swipes from that sword of his that sliced through 7 trees. I tried to block one of his swings with a kunai and my hand nearly paid the price for such foolishness. He then started slinging out jutsu that I know for a fact are probably B ranked S rank, and if they aren't they should be. I mean he damned near drowned me when he summoned a massive tidal wave. I got burns in places that fire should never approach. I'm pretty sure my nipples are still swollen from how much lightning I got hit with. My leg is still trying to thaw out from when he nearly froze my legs. She then popping a joint in her shoulder said, the craziest thing was that he kept vanishing and reappearing in front or behind me before hitting me with an attack. Hell I couldn't even sense him move, like he wasn't even using chakra. He even made me witness many different things. He made me witness him making me beg, scream and moan for him too. Kurenai put her hand over Anko's mouth and said Anko there are children in here. Anko moving her eyes to Kurenai, licked her hand, forcing Kurenai to move it. Anko looking Kakashi in the eye said, I'm just glad he doesn't have full control over his Dojutsu, or I'm pretty sure I'd be in a hospital right now, instead of him sleeping inside of his room at the T&I department. Sarutobi quirking an eyebrow asked, you managed to defeat him? Anko snorting said, no he damn after stomping a mudhole into me and making me feel like shit, decided to sleep off his extreme anger. Damn brat fell asleep standing in front of me. Kakashi giggling said, be lucky he didn't curve stomp you, like he did the Uchiha brat. Sarutobi then said, so that's why he was limping. Kakashi shaking his head said, oh no, he's limping because he decided to try and force himself on Haku. Naruto broke the boy's leg in 6 different places, then kicked the boy in the balls so hard, he actually lifted into the air a little. Haku then made sure the little shit wouldn't be having any children by sterilizing him. Zabuza was oh so close to ending the boy's life. Sarutobi crossed his legs and asked, what about the Haruno? Kakashi giggling said, Naruto got tired up putting up with her and not only broke her arm in 9 different places, but then shattered her jaw with a punch. So I think he was holding back on you Anko or you'd be in a coma or worse right now. Anko groaning said, I believe it. Sarutobi was about to say something when his front door was kicked open by 3 kids, all looking like mini Narutos, hell they even had some orange on them. Konohamaru spotting Anko asked Anko ni where's boss and don't even try to fool us by saying that he isn't in the village because we felt his killing intent. Sarutobi hearing this blinked and asked, how is it that you 3 know what killing intent is? Mogi bowing to him said, Naruto Nai has been training us after school. He introduced us to killing intent so that we wouldn't freeze up if we were ever came across it. He also started us on the tree climbing exercise, along with making sure we understood a shinobi's greatest tool. Kakashi hearing this blinked and asked, what is a shinobi's greatest tool? Yuden pushing up his glasses said, a shinobi's greatest tool is deception. Kurenai blinked asked, he told you this? All 3 kids smiling said, boss big brother told us that. Kakashi said something like look underneath the underneath and that hiding your skills and powers from within the shadows was one way to deceive the enemy. Kakashi nodding sagely said, that is definitely something I would say to Naruto. Konohamaru deadpanning said boss also said you told him something about Hyuga's always having a big chest and the quiet ones being the loudest in bed. Kakashi hearing this gained wide eyes and paled as the temperature in the room dropped drastically. Anko somehow on her feet with a powerful glare in her eyes cracked her knuckles and with a sickly sweet smile on her face asked Kakashi Baka, you'd better not be trying to corrupt my innocent darling little Naruto. Kakashi quickly said, Hokage-sama let him read his version of Icha. Sarutobi hearing this gulped as Anko and Kurenai were now both giving him a powerful glare. He then witnessed Kakashi vanish in a poof of smoke. He nearly cried when Konohamaru said, if Icha is that orange book the old man reads all the time, then he let me read it too. Mogi hearing this said, hey Kono let's go find big brother. Yuden somehow knowing that the Sadain was about to be beaten, said yes let's go find boss. The three kids then left, ignoring the pleading eyes of Sarutobi as Kushina, Kaien, Akane, Anko, Kurenai and the purple-haired Anbu slowly descended upon him. Minato, Link, Kakashi, Naruto, and a curious Natsumi wisely left the room. Later in the day, Naruto could be seen sitting on the stool in his favorite food place in the village. Ginks was attached to his back as he stirred his ramen with his chopsticks, not paying attention to much around him. He was deep in thought trying to process what he had learned. He was also slightly happy that he had unlocked more power of the Chaosigan. He could now predict movement like the Sharingan and had unlocked the animal path of the Rinnegan. Sighing he slipped a few noodles into his mouth just as he felt someone sit beside him. Moving his eyes to his left, he let a small smile appear on his face spotting Kakashi. Kakashi ordering a bowl of ramen said, alright Naruto it's time for that explanation I never got. Naruto smirking said, not until the others arrive. Kakashi quirking an eyebrow, blinked when Anko, Ibiki, Inochi, Ino, Zabuza, Haku, Konohamaru, Mogi, Yuden, Kurenai, Hinata, Guy, Rock Lee, Niji, Kiba, Shino, Iruka, Shikamaru, Chouji, Tenten, Asuma, Yuago, Heiei and surprisingly a perfectly fine Sarutobi. Once everyone was there, Naruto said, Am-chan close up the stand. This is something you're gonna wanna hear. Am nodding closed the shop along with Tucci. Once everyone was seated, Naruto crossed his arms and said, what I'm about to tell you is 100% true. No one interrupt me until I'm finished, and then I'll be glad to answer any questions. Now what Kakashi, Zabuza and Haku most likely know that you guys don't is that during Team 7's mission, I was technically drowned by Uchiha Sasuke. During this time I was confronted by three gorgeous women. The first being the goddess of death herself Tsubasa. Next was the mother of the sage of six paths, Otsutsuki Kaguya. Then there was Kami or the goddess of my summons, the Pokemon, Arceus. I was woken up by Tsubasa using a syringe full of Kaguya's blood that with the help of divine forces, expunged all human DNA inside of me and transplanted her DNA inside of me. This making me Otsutsuki Naruto. I was also blessed with the powers of a few of Kami's very powerful children. Finally Tsubasa informed me that I was now a member of the Eternal Council of Deities. I did this by becoming the god of carnage, technology and destruction. Sadly she had to remove Jinx to do so, and for those of you who don't know Jinx is the true name of the Kyuubi. Happily Jinx was able to be sealed inside of my new sword, which used to be Zabuza's sword. I gained my Dijutsu from Kaguya who is my mom now. It's the fourth great Dijutsu that has all of the powers of the other three. It's fully evolved from has 36 Tomo and 6 rings. So far I only have 3 rings and 6 Tomo. This gives me the abilities of the Byakugan and recently unlocked the predicting ability of the Sharingan and one of the 6 paths of the Rinnegan. The Rinnegan by the way gives me full access to all elemental affinities. Everyone hearing this had wide eyes. He with a smile on his face asked any questions. Ino shooting her hand into the air asked what are Pokemon and what powers did you get from them? Naruto laughing and sipping some of his ramen said, Pokemon are very intelligent beings from a distant dimension governed by Kami. They come in all shapes and sizes, and their power levels range from that of an academy student to that of a tailed beast. Most of the ones that could rival a tailed beast in power are legendary or rare. I will tell you the powers I got from them. First let me inform you that Kami-chan gave me the powers of only legendaries. The first of said legendaries was the ghost dragon ruler of the alternate dimension of the Pokemon dimension. Her name is Giratina and she has 2 forms. I think Kami-chan called her rebellious princess or something. When I tap into her power I can create rifts in the world and teleport to a pocket dimension. I can also see lore trap things inside of said pocket dimension. Then we have the living embodiment of fire molters who can create flames so hot they put the flames of the sun to shame. Kakashi, Zabuza, Haku, Anko and Wave have already witnessed me use her power. Then there's her Arctic sister, Articuno, who could create blizzard so strong it could freeze a polar bear. Anko has had the pleasure of witnessing me using her power. Then we have Kyuger who can create entire oceans with just a swing of one of her mighty fins. With her power I can create entire aquatic ecosystems, and if I tapped into her primal powers, flood the world. There's Mutuo, who's very powerful, yet equally as awkward. She has power over the mind and can crush a being's mind with a simple though. With her power I can speak with my mind, move objects using telekinesis, crush someone's mind, and most likely turn someone into my living breathing puppet. Kakashi, Zabuza and Haku witnessed me use a little of her power. Lastly is Zekrom, who according to Kami is the Pokemon version of the goddess of storms. She has lightning in her power, and from what I've read from her profile under the summoning contract, can bring entire mountains down with a single lightning bolt. Everyone hearing this paled, well everyone besides Konohamaru, Mogi and Yuden, who were looking at Naruto with stars in their eyes. Haku asked, if you're part of the Eternal Deity Council, does that make you the youngest member? Naruto nodding said yes, the eldest being Izanagi and Izanami, though I wouldn't be foolish enough to call Izanami-sama old to her face. Zabuza ignoring this asked, are you going to use the symbol the people of Wave made as your official symbol? Naruto shrugging said, I don't see why not for now. Anko asked, are any of your summons big enough to, I don't know, stop a raging Biju? Naruto sighing said, size really doesn't matter when it comes to the Pokemon, but including Kami herself, 18. Everyone hearing this blinked. Kurenai asked, you said size doesn't matter, why not? Naruto smiling at her making her gain a small blush said, leave it to the Genjutsu mistress to hear that. Mutuo can crush anything with her mind, including Konoha if she wants. Articuno can freeze entire oceans if so much as thinks about it. Darkrai can trap you in a never-ending nightmare if she wants. Suicune can blast you with purified high-pressure chilled water stream if she wanted to. Helmolters could melt you if you pissed her off, and the same could be said for any Pokemon. Asuma hearing this asked, how many Pokemon are there? Naruto blinking said, 720. Everyone gasped hearing this and shouted, that many? Naruto nodding said yes. Sarutobi asked, do you want me to inform the council of any of this? Naruto snorting said, you can tell them all of this for all I care. There's not a thing they can do about it. Inochi groaning said, damn, this is going to cause one long meeting. Naruto laughed at this. Am then asked, are you going to let your teammates know this? Naruto snorting said, no chance in hell. Kiba laughing asked, are you afraid the Uchiha will demand that you make him a god? Naruto laughing said, no, I'd rather make out with Akimaru than do that. I'm afraid what the pink howler monkey is going to do once she finds out. Akimaru hearing this barked and growled. Kiba laughing said, that's his point, Akimaru. Heiei coughing a little asked, are you going to let your god status go to your head? Naruto snorting said, hell no, I'm still trained until I drop, rest a little, get up and train even more. Just because I become a god doesn't mean I'm going to let my skills drop. Guy gaining flames in his eyes said Yosh. Naruto-kun's flames of youth burn brightly. I must run 1,000 laps around Konoha on my hands until I catch up to him. Lee shooting up shouted, Naruto-kun, you are now my eternal rival. Naruto, who had been sipping some more of his ramen, made the mistake of asking, I'm sorry, did you say something? Lee hearing this gained unholy flames in his eyes along with Guy. Both men then shouted, curse you and your hip attitude, my eternal rival. Naruto blinking at this, turned to everyone else and asked, what the hell just happened? Kakashi patting Naruto on his back said, the other curse of being so bad is Naruto. Weirdos declaring you as their eternal rival and always challenging you to even weirder contest. Yuago asked, do you need help with your Kenjutsu training? Naruto rolling his eyes said, I was going to ask you, hate or no brows about helping me later, to get Jinx knee to stop nagging me. Shikamaru hearing this smiled and said, now you see my plight. Naruto snorting said, no, Shika, women aren't troublesome, older sisters are troublesome. I mean look at me, I have 8 of them, and 6 of them are gods. 1 is a demon, and the last is Anko. Anko hearing this said hey. Naruto waving his hand said, don't try to front, we all know that out of 8 of my sister you're the most sane, and that's pushing it. Anko pouted at this, while everyone else giggled. Konohamaru asked, boss, will you be teaching us any awesome jutsu? Naruto looking at him said, that depends on if you 3 can stay out of trouble, pay attention to Iruka's lectures, what elemental affinities you have, and if you 3 can climb trees using just your feet yet. Iruka hearing this gained wide eyes and asked, it was you who taught them how the tree climbing exercise? Naruto turning to him nodded and said, yeah, I taught it to them, to get them to stop bugging me. Iruka sweat dropping hearing this said, well, they can climb trees using only their feet. Shino pushing up his shades asked, are there any bug-like Pokemon? Naruto smiling at Shino said, Shino my comrade, there's an entire type dedicated to bugs, hell there's even a legendary bug Pokemon. Shino actually smiled hearing this. Kakashi then asked, are you going to keep putting Sasuke and Sakura in their place? Naruto finishing his ramen said, is the old man a pervert? Sarutobi choking on his ramen, glared at Naruto, when Yuago, Kurenai and Anko all said, he sure is. Naruto and the others laughed at this. Niji then asked, what are you going to do about the Namikaze family? Naruto gaining a passive face said, nothing as I'm no longer part of that family. I am Otsutsuki Naruto. He then turning to Sarutobi said, by the way I'm gonna need my stuff put back in my apartment. Sarutobi nodding said, I'll hire a genin team to do so. Naruto snorting said fine just don't hire Team 7 to do so, or a certain secret will be told to a few certain higher-ranked kunoichi of the village. Sarutobi blanching said, I wasn't even considering hiring Team 7 for the mission. In fact Team 10 will be doing the mission tomorrow morning. Naruto nodding said good. Until then I'll be sleeping at the tower, or maybe in one of the interrogation rooms. Ibiki hearing this smiled and said speaking of, I finally beat your record brat. Naruto hearing this quirked an eyebrow and asked really by how much? Anko smirking said, 1 second. Naruto laughed at this, and Ibiki gained a little black cloud over his head. Naruto shaking his head, stood to his feet and put his hand over his mouth to stop the yawn he felt coming. Shaking his head he said, alright people, it's getting late, so I'll see you party people later. He then walked out the raiment stand. The others finishing their raiment and paying up, all went their separate ways, some thinking about a certain blonde, others wondering how things was going to change from here. The next morning, Naruto could be seen walking towards training ground 7, intent on getting some training in. Of course he was heading there very early, hell the sun had barely even poked its head out. The arriving at his location, took off his shirt and jacket, placing them on one of the logs, he popped his muscles and said, I'll start with some push-ups and crunches. Then I'll do some sprints. I'll work on my hand sign speed while doing the sprints and push-ups. Gotta get them down to 1 so the team can't copy any of my jutsu when he does unlock the Sharingan. He then got to work and before long 2 hours had passed and it was now 6. He standing up said Lee I know you're there so let's spar for a while until it's time for you to meet your team. Lee appearing said Yosh. I accept your challenge Naruto-kun. I will give it my all. Naruto rolling his eyes said, yeah whatever let's just go. He and Lee then vanished and an intense spar was soon rocking the training ground. When Sakura appeared an hour later, she was now perfectly fine. Her eyes widened spotting the damage done to the training ground and 2 people locked hands inside a deep hole near the center. She in her delusional mind thinking that this was Sasuke finally putting Naruto Baka in his place, ran over to the hole and gained wide eyes. Naruto could be seen standing there, sweat dripping down his body, his Chaosigan activated and locked on Lee, who was equally sweaty and trying to punch Naruto. Naruto gritting his teeth said, damn Lee. You're really making me sweat. Lee smiling said, as are you Naruto-kun. Exactly as I expected from my eternal rival. Naruto then started to push more chakra into his body, feeling Lee doing the same. Sakura was blasted away by the immense chakra both boys were putting out. Naruto's being a dark red, almost the color of blood, while Lee's was the normal blue. Sasuke arrived seconds after Sakura was scowling at this, not believing what the dope was doing. Kakashi then appearing, blinked spotting Naruto and Lee not too far from him. He wasn't surprised when Guy and his genin appeared. Guy spotting Naruto and Lee said Yosh. These two are stroking their flames of youth. Look at how intense Naruto-kun's eyes are. Niji rolling his eyes, said Guy-sensei stop speaking of the flames of youth. Ten wasn't saying a word because she was too busy drooling at Naruto's muscled upper body. Kakashi realizing that he needed to break this little spar up said, yo Naruto. The fangirls are coming. Naruto hearing this quickly separated himself from Lee, appeared behind Kakashi and asked, where are those cursed beings coming from? Kakashi smiling said, I was just kidding Naruto, because if they were really coming I'd already be gone. Now come on let's go get a D-rank mission. Naruto moving from behind Kakashi placed his hands behind his head and said, sure Kakashi-sensei, but we'd better not be chasing Tora again. Kakashi now reading his book said, we're not. He then walked out of training ground 7, Naruto right beside him, followed by an scowling Sasuke and an angry Sakura. Chapter 4 days later and Naruto was chasing Konohamaru, Mogi and Yuden as he was helping the 3 with their speed by playing a game of ninja with them. Sakura had said something rude, but Naruto had pulled a Kakashi on her, making her very upset. Anyway the 3 kids had just turned the corner when the sound of something colliding with something else could be heard. He then heard Konohamaru say ow that hurt. Moving around the corner, his eyes narrowed spotting some boy from Suna with a black hood on that had cat ears holding Konohamaru up by his long blue scarf. This boy had purple lines on his face that strangely looked like makeup. Standing behind him with a bored look on her face was a blonde-haired girl with a huge fan on her back. The makeup boy growling said, that hurt you little twerp. The girl said, put him down Kankuro, we don't have time for this. Kankuro said, don't worry Tamari, I'm just going to teach the little brat a lesson. Tamari sighing said, whatever just don't get me in trouble. Kankuro smirking at this lifted his fist to hit Konohamaru when he felt the edge of a sharp blade be pressed to his throat. He then heard someone growl out, "I suggest you put my little brother down before I slit your throat, San-nin." Kankuro, dropping Konohamaru, blinked when the boy stuck his tongue out at him and said, "Boss just told you, punk." Kankuro, hearing this, felt his blood boil, but before he could do anything he heard Tamari say, "Kankuro, you idiot, I told you not to do anything stupid, but you didn't want to listen, and now the fucking god of carnage has his sword at not only your throat, but mine's too." Kankuro, hearing this, slowly turned his head and blanched, spotting the chaos again staring at him. Naruto, removing his sword from Kankuro's throat, said, "You should listen to your pretty older sister from now on, Catman, otherwise your blood will spill onto the streets of Konoha." Naruto, turning his head to the tree, said, "It should be no Gaara, I know that you're in that tree. Come out now and I won't show you just why a tanuki should never anger a dragon." Both Sand siblings' eyes widened when Gaara appeared, bowed low in front of Naruto. Gaara said, "Forgive me, my lord. I had no idea or intention to anger you. My idiot teammate also apologizes for getting in the way of your game with your little brother." Naruto, blinking, said, "Yeah, whatever." He then, turning to Konohamaru, said, "Alright Kono, because of your failure at not being aware of your surroundings, the three of you now have to play a game of dodge with Anko after listening to Iruka's lecture about awareness." All three kids groaned hearing this and walked towards the academy. Naruto, walking behind them to make sure they got the academy, turned to the Sand siblings and said, "I look forward to meeting you three in the Chunin exams. Until then, Tamari of the desert, Kankuro of the puppets, and Gaara of the desert." He then walked around the corner, missing the wide eyes of Kankuro, the smile on Gaara's face, and the small blush on Tamari's face. The arriving at the bridge for his team meeting, wasn't surprised to find Sakura there pestering Sasuke for a date, while said boy brooded. Naruto, sitting down on the rails of said bridge, pulled out Jinx and started to polish her, ignoring the now screeching Sakura. The girl never shut her yap, and honestly Naruto wanted to curb stomp her, but Kakashi had made him promise not to do so unless she did something really stupid. Sasuke, on the other hand, he had free reign with. He had already kicked the arrogant prick's ass 6 times, and 5 of those times he was half asleep. He, sensing Kakashi arrive, stood up and put Jinx over his shoulder. Kakashi, appearing in a swirl of leaves, looked up from his book and smiled, spotting Naruto and the other two. He, pulling out 3 sheets of paper, handed it to them and said, "I have put you 3 in the Chunin exams. Meet at room 301 if you want to take the exam. Even if you don't, I'm proud of you guys." He then vanished. Naruto, snorting at this, decided that he would spend some time with Yuago, or maybe Kurenai. Vanishing in a small blizzard, he appeared in Training Ground 8. Spotting Kiba, Shino and Hinata walking away, he wondered where Kurenai was. He, closing his eyes, tapped into his psychic powers. Reaching out with his mind, he blinked, finding Kurenai's mind not far away, trying to push some emotional pain away. Appearing beside her, he sat down on the log and asked, "What's wrong, Kurenai-sensei?" Kurenai, turning to him, tried to wipe the tears from her eyes and said, "Nothing's wrong." Naruto, frowning, gently grabbed her hand and said, "You know I hate it when you lie to me." Kurenai, hearing this, sighed and said, "I was going to tell Asuma how I felt about him when I walked in on him making out with Haruno Mabiki." Naruto, scowling, said, "It broke your heart, didn't it?" She, turning away, said, "Yes, my heart feels like it's breaking into a million different pieces." Naruto, sighing, said, "You can lean on my shoulder to cry if you want." Kurenai, shaking her head, said, "No, I need to be a strong Kunoichi." Naruto, rolling his eyes, said, "Bullshit. You need to let your emotions out or they'll just boil over at the most unfortunate time. Hence why Ankoni and myself always pick fights with each other, letting us relieve any pent-up emotions we may have." Kurenai, hearing this, giggled and said, "Is that why she's been covered in bruises for the past week?" Naruto, snorting, said, "She's not the only one with bruises." He, lifting up his shirt, revealed his chiseled upper body. A large bluish bruise on the center of his chest, along with a small bruise over his right rib. She, gasping, asked, "How many bruises do you have?" Naruto, laughing, said, "Those are the only 2, because I've been working on my regenerative powers. It seems as though I can heal myself with ease, as long as it's within 5 minutes from my last healing. Haku-chan has a theory that since I'm the god of carnage, then if I slaughter an army of something like that, then maybe I'll heal even faster." Kurenai, hearing this, sighed and asked, "Am I pretty, Naruto?" Naruto blinked, hearing this, and said, "Kurenai-sensei, you're one of the most gorgeous women I have ever seen. Not only are you intelligent, but you're a dedicated jonin-sensei, and not afraid to put a pervert in their place. You have a beauty that most people would kill to have, yet you don't have a bit of arrogance inside of you. Their ruby red eyes sparkle in the light, yet when they need to be, can be like ice-cold lakes. Your flawless alabaster skin, that sometimes twinkles in the light. Your long wavy black hair, that could captivate the entire world." He didn't know it, but his sincere words was causing a huge blush to appear on Kurenai's face. He, turning to her, noticed the blush, but chose to ignore it. He, smiling, asked, "You wanna hear a song I've been working on, Kurenai-sensei?" She, shaking her blush away, said, "Sure, just as long as it's not perverted." He smiling reached into his pocket and pulled out his black Gibson guitar. He then getting it ready took a deep breath and said, "I hope you enjoy this song Kurenai-sensei. It's called Walk on Water or Drowned Out by. Mayday Parade I don't own, well this hurts me more than I can stand to say in just one sitting. You left the room so I can pray so I'll pace the halls to see if I could find a hole in something or maybe places to escape but everybody knows this is the part of breaking down in anybody's arms. I'm reaching down and hoping this one's ours, God please. Please let this stay and then I fell into pieces and she fell into me saying, play this song. It's been too long since I've heard you sing, you got here just in time to let me know I was worth saving, it's nothing more than for the heart too proud to breathe, but I'm too scared to say the things worth saying who knew this trip would be this hard. As I'm looking to the sky to count the stars I wonder if you see them where you are I'm down on both my knees and pray tomorrow brings no pain. And then I fell into pieces and she fell into me saying, play me a song. It's been too long since I've heard you sing to me. And yeah we all fall to pieces but at least you fell to me, but this is a wrong night, so tell me good night and let it go. I stayed here and you just pray my head would clear and I'd stay safe, the pieces left the love had changed, just saved everything and everybody knows this is the part of breaking down in anybody's arms, I'm reaching down and hoping this one's ours God. Please let this stay and then I fell into pieces and she fell into me saying, play me a song. It's been too long since I've heard you sing. And then I fell into pieces and she fell into me saying, play me a song. It's been too long since I've heard you sing. And yeah, we all fall to pieces but at least you fell to me, but this is a wrong night tell me good night and let it go. Oh Naruto ending the song, Blink spotting not only Kurenai, but Anko, Yuago, Ino, Hinata, Mogi, Am, Haku and Tenten all swooning over him. He sweat dropping said okay maybe I overdid it. Ino then squealed very loudly and tried to glomp him. He switching with a random log said, on that note I'll be taking my leave. Exit stage left. He then ran for his life, a group of swooning females behind him, one of them being a kunai flicking Anko. He finally arriving at his apartment, locked the doors, shut the windows, and placed a few chakra seals to keep people out. Sighing in relief he took off his shirt and placed Jinx against his wall. Heading towards the kitchen, he rolled his eyes spotting the ramen bowl from Namika's Kushina. He tossing it into the trash, reached into his fridge and pulled out a carton of orange juice, 3 eggs, a thick piece of bacon, and some carrots. He fixing himself a small dinner, simply ate his meal. Once done eating he walked into his bathroom. Taking off the rest of his clothes he climbed into the hot shower. Washing the dirt and grime off, he closed his eyes and let the hot water pour down on his platinum blonde hair. Once done with his shower, he turned it off. Walking into his bedroom, he opening his bedroom dresser, slipped on a pair of purple Carnage boxers. He then walked over to his desk. Opening a drawer he pulled out a small tube. Opening it he willed the shiny substance out of the tube and made it dance a little. He smiling said, it seems as my nanobits are forming rather nicely. Soon they will be complete and I'll be bringing new technology to the world. He putting the nanobits back into the tube, corked it and put it back into the drawer. He then yawning said, it's time to get some sleep. He turning off the lights, crawled into his bed. The next morning he would roll over and nuzzle his face into the soft warm pillow his face was buried in. He then heard someone moan. His mind instantly kick-started, as pillows weren't warm, nor did they moan. Back-flipping out of his bed, he got in a stance ready to kill the intruder. The sweat dropped spotting Kurenai laying in his bed, dressed in black lace-matching pair of bra and panties. Shaking his head, he walked into his bathroom and sweat dropped even more spotting Anko and Yuago knocked out in his bathtub snuggled up to each other. Shaking his head he brushed his teeth and took a piss. Walking back into his bedroom he got dressed. He then walking into his kitchen, nearly face-palmed spotting Ino, Hinata, Tenten and Am, all passed out on the floor surrounding his kitchen table. Shaking his head he tiptoed to his fridge and opened it. Grabbing a toaster pastry, he grabbed Jinx and placed her on his back. He was about to walk out his door when he remembered his new invention to pass time and to help ignored the pink-haired banshee. Creeping into his room, he gently slid open his drawer and pulled out an iPod with black headphones. Putting it into his pocket, he then walked outside of his apartment, not even wanting to know how all 7 females managed to get into his locked and sealed apartment. He arriving at the academy, rolled his eyes seeing no one there yet. Walking to the academy wall, he put the headphones in his ears and turned to iPod on. Picking one of his recorded songs, he started to hum, you have no idea how unproductive it is to fall in and out of you as often as I do. Lately I've been feeling gray, but today I won't wind up next to you. His was the day the Chunin exams began, and Naruto showed the world why he was the god of carnage, technology and destruction. Reviewer be consumed by the pure darkness inside the mortal mind. Chapter 5 2 hours later Sakura and Sasuke finally arrived to find Naruto with his eyes closed, leaning against the academy wall bobbing his head listening to his music. Sakura scowling marched over to him to make the baka acknowledge her and Sasuke when she heard a deep terrifying growl. She looking around wondered what had growled at her when her eyes landed on something crouched directly above Naruto's position. Her eyes widened spotting a black dog with a tan belly and paws. Its eyes were dark red, almost a crimson. From its head twin thick silver horns could be seen sticking out. Swaying behind it was a black-tailed with a spade for the tip. Sasuke having better eyes than Sakura could see the silver bone-like fragments on the dog's back. He could also see the smoke rafting from the beast. Naruto opening his left eye, said, "About time you two got here. I've been waiting for at least 2 hours." He shaking his head, sat up and snapped his fingers. The beast stopping its growling hopped down to stand beside Naruto. Naruto petting the beast said, "Come on before I decided to let Mira turn you into lunch." Mira wagging her tail happily followed Naruto, a scowling Sasuke behind her and a terrified Sakura behind him. Team 7 entering the academy walked until they came to large commotion. Naruto hearing Mira bark, glanced at the door and said, "Very good girl. Remind me to give you a treat later." Mira barking wagged her tail. Naruto then spotting Sasuke about to open his big mouth, grabbed the boy by his head and hissed, "Keep your mouth shut Uchiha, or I'll end your pathetic existence, and then maybe Mikoto Haim will finally be proud of the trash your weakest is." Sasuke hearing this felt his anger boil, but decided to heed Naruto's words. Naruto seeing this let the Uchiha go and silently walked upstairs, Mira and his teammates right behind him. Reaching the next floor, Naruto walked right past the still reading Kakashi, followed by a once again arrogant Sasuke and a terrified Sakura. Mira stopped outside of the door for about 5 seconds to look Kakashi over. She barking walked inside. Kakashi sweat dropping mumbled, "Even his summons think I'm a pervert." Once inside of the room, Naruto sighed feeling and hearing someone approaching him very fast. His nose catching the smell of flowers and strawberries, sighed again, knowing that he was about to be glumped by Ino. Sure enough not a moment later Ino was attached to him nuzzling his face while saying, "Naruto-kun, I've missed you so much." Naruto rolling his eyes said, "That's funny considering that I saw you this morning passed out around my kitchen table and again as your team entered the academy." Ino pouting said, "You're no fun." Naruto snorting said, "On the contrary I'm very fun, it's just that right now you're causing a scene attracting unnecessary attention to us." Ino blinked hearing this. She looking around the room, could see the many genin glaring at her. She blushing stopped hugging Naruto and said, "Sorry Naruto-kun." Naruto sighing said, "It's okay Ino," as the pink banshee or duck butt was bound to get their attention anyway. He feeling a very pitiful amount of killing intent come from behind him, quirked an eyebrow and turned to find a furious Sakura glaring daggers at him. He was about to say something about this when a monotone voice asked, "Is she bothering you Naruto-sama?" Naruto turning his head again blinked spotting Gaara standing beside him glaring at Sakura, his 2 siblings right beside him. Naruto turning back to Sakura asked, "Did I offend you howler monkey?" Sakura hearing another insult be thrown at her, was about to punch him when a low growl reached her ears. She blanching slowly turned to find Mira once again glaring at her, smoke now literally rolling off of the hound. She gulping loudly said, "Nope. I like being called a howler monkey and a pink-haired banshee." Naruto smirked at this, but sensing someone trying to sneak up on him, quickly spun around with Jinx poised at the threat's throat. His Dijutsu activated, was glaring hard at a pale and sweating Kabuto. Kabuto raising his hand said, "Easy there buddy, we're on the same side here." Naruto hearing this, narrowed his eyes and put Jinx back on his back. He then said, "Be very lucky fool, that Jinx doesn't want your pathetic blood to touch her blade, or your head would be rolling on the floor." Kabuto now gulping said, "Alright I was just gonna offer you guys some info if you want." Naruto looking Kabuto in the eyes asked, "Info eh? Tell what do you know of Tamari's romantic history, the chesty blonde from Kumo's fighting style, the cute red head from Kusa's sensory skills, and the hot blue-haired girl from AIM?" Kabuto blinking pulled out his ninja cards, ignoring the blush on Tamari's face, the questioning look from Samui, the hearts in Karen's eyes and Conan's eyes narrowing. He then said, "Tamari of the desert. Let's see, she's had no boyfriends or girlfriends. In fact she doesn't even have any friends due to her father being the Kazekage, her brother being a demon, and her other brother being accused of being a cross-dresser." He ignoring the killing intent coming from Kankuro, said, "Samui of Kumo uses the Cloud Headhunter Kinjutsu style and is not known to use any style of Taijutsu." Samui hearing this returned to her cold facade. He flipping through the cards said, "Karen Uzumaki has amazing sensory skills. Is said to be able to sense exactly what kind of chakra a person has from miles away." Karen still had hearts in her eyes as she stared at Naruto. Kabuto pulling out the last card, said, "Conan of AIM. Also known as the Angel of AIM. Has an unknown bloodline that allows her to use paper with her jutsu. Is also rumored to be very close to the Amikage." Naruto nodded hearing this. Sasuke smirking said, "I want to know about Otsutsuki Naruto." Kabuto smiling pulled out a card and pushed some chakra into it. He looking at the card gained wide eyes, blanched and felt his hand start to tremble. He looking up at Naruto with wide eyes full of fear, said Otsutsuki Naruto, Aka the god of carnage. Is listed in the bingo book as in B-rank threat. Said to have many different powerful bloodlines. His sword is rumored to have the very soul of the deadly Kyuubi inside of it. Has very powerful summons that have been seen taking down entire boats. This says he also died during your C-S rank mission. It is unknown how he came back to life, but it is said that he burst from the ocean shrouded in a flaming cloak, looking much like the mythical phoenix. Naruto petting Mira ignored all of the eyes on him, well he did until he felt the intense stare of Konan. Winking at her he smirked when the cold-looking woman blushed. Sasuke with wide eyes was about to protest all of this when a large poof of smoke occurred. When it cleared, standing there reading an orange book was Zabuza Mamachi, a sword resting on his back. He lazily said, all right brats, to your seats, it's time for the written part of the Chunin exams. Everybody quickly took a seat and Naruto wondered if Kami was upset at him or something as he was sitting in the middle seat. Samui sitting to the left of him and Konan on the right. Mira was laying down at the front of the class but still was searching for any threats to her master. Zabuza then explained the rules and began the exam. Naruto flipping over the exam, looked at the paper and didn't know a single answer. He knowing that this test was about information gathering, tapped into Muto's powers and got the answers from Shikamaru, not even wanting to go near Sakura's mind. Once finishing his paper, he flipped it over and decided to read some minds. He decided to start close, reached Konan's mind. She was thinking, the Kyuubi Jinchuriki is a B-rank threat in the bingo book, has some unknown bloodlines, and his summon looks rather deadly. I wonder how Nagato will react to this. He'll most likely send out Kisame and Hitachi to capture or test the Jinchuriki. How he doesn't see that Hitachi is clearly protecting the boy from inside of the Akatsuki I don't know. Can't say I blame her though, he is rather cute. Naruto, storing all of the information he had just gotten, turned to Samui. She was thinking, so he is the one Raikage-sama wants me to seduce. Maybe he won't be difficult and I can just get this over with. It won't be all that bad either, he's really handsome and seems to be rather strong. I and the others will track and defeat his team during the second exam. Naruto again stored this info for later. He entering Karen's mind, sweat dropped as she was thinking about how dark his chakra was and how she just wanted to jump his bones and ride his dragon. Moving away from her he tried to Mari. She was thinking, I can't believe the god of carnage asked about my love life. Does this mean he's interested? Why would he possibly be attracted to me though? I'm not all that beautiful, and according to Kankuro and Lady Chiyo I'm too brash to ever make a proper girlfriend. Naruto shook his head at her thoughts, wondering if he should kick Kankuro's ass first or demolish whoever this Chiyo lady was. He deciding to enter one more mind, tried Zabuza. Zabuza was thinking, Haku has her eyes set on Naruto. The way he attracts women though, it looks like she'll be in for one hell of a battle for his heart. How I kinda feel bad for the kid with all of the powerful Kunoichi after his heart. Naruto, sweat dropping at this, decided to polish Jinx's blade as he really didn't want to hear anyone else's thoughts. Pulling her out from behind him, he pulled out the cloth and sword polish. He then started to gently wax the blade, ignoring the very loud and sensual purrs from Jinx. 45 minutes later and Zabuza said, time's up brats, pencils down. Everyone stopping their test, blinked when Zabuza said, alright, the 10th question is optional. If you take it and fail you'll never be allowed to advance in rank. Choose wisely brats. Naruto ignored the many different reactions, but his eyes moved to Sakura, who was looking at him with sad eyes, slowly raising her hands. Naruto rolling his eyes said, oi no brows. Stop making the weaklings piss their pants. You and I both know that you have no authority to do anything besides fail us from this exam. Now get on with the 10th question before I let Mira burn your oh so precious porn. Zabuza hearing this gulped and said, alright all of you who chose to stay past. The test was about information gathering, and that's the reason why you were given so many points to cheat. A quality of a Chunin is being able to make tough choices. Now call off the Doomhound brat. Mira, who had been staring at Zabuza's book and building up fire in her stomach, stopped when Naruto said, Mira-chan, enough, he gets the message. Mira, stopping her build-up, barked a few times and trotted over to Naruto. Naruto then, feeling a very familiar chakra presence approaching fast, sighed, pinched the bridge of his nose and said, I don't know what I did to upset you Kami-ni, as I haven't even met you, but I'm very sorry and I promise to never do it again. Zabuza, also sensing the chakra presence, said, this probably isn't going to end well. Just then a black ball burst through the window. The banner appeared as the ball uncoiled to reveal Anko making a victory pose and wearing one of Naruto's shirts. Naruto, face palming, said, this is why people tend to think that you're insane Anko. Anko, hearing Naruto's voice, blinked and looked around. She, turning to Zabuza, said, I knew letting you proctor this exam was a bad idea. You passed 87 genin, that's 29 teams of genin. Zabuza with a twitching eyebrow said, it's not my fault, blame your darling little brother. Anko turning to Naruto who shrugged and said, the banshee was falling for no brows bullshit, so I had to stop it. Anko nodding smiled and said, no matter, the next test will cut your numbers down in half. Follow me to the forest of death. She then jumped out a different window. Naruto sighing said, troublesome older sisters. Come on Mira. He then jumped out the first window Anko broke, followed by Mira. The other genin quickly followed the two of them, leaving behind a sweat-dropping Zabuza. Naruto arriving at the gates to the forest of death, rolled his eyes spotting Anko consuming skewer after skewer of dango. He shaking his head sat down beside Mira and started to pet her. Mira feeling Naruto pet her started to pant in happiness and wag her tail. An hour later the rest of the genin arrived. Anko spotting them smiled and quickly explained the exam they were about to take. Sasuke being his usual arrogant self, said something, but quickly shut his big mouth when Anko sliced his right cheek with a kunai of hers. She of course being Anko licked the blood out of said cut. She then made the most disgusted face and said, your blood is not tasty. It's downright vomit-inducing. I've had better tomato sandwiches. Sasuke scowled hearing this, while Sakura was seeing red at some bimbo assaulting her Sasuke-kun like that. Naruto himself was impassive on the outside, but on the inside he was roaring in laughter. Mira was not so dignified. She started to make a sound that resembled laughter. Team 7 then collected their scrolls and headed to their assigned gate. Naruto had already sealed the scroll in his right hand while creating a duplicate that he handed to Sasuke. He didn't trust the arrogant boy with something so important. He had also managed to swipe another 2 scrolls. One being the same they already had, the other being the one they needed. These 2 scrolls he made Mira swallow, knowing that they were safe inside of her. He then waited for the signal to go. Once he got it, he blasted into the forest, Mira and the other 2 right behind him. He in the very front crossed his hands and whispered Shadow Clone Jutsu. 10 clones appeared without a single noise. The clones then transformed into identical copies of Team 7, including Mira. The clones then took off into the forest. Naruto then said, alright King Emo, Banshee, here's the plan. We head towards the tower, taking out any threats we may come across. I will lead as I know this forest like the back of my hand. Sakura, you will be behind me as you are the weakest, but have a sharp mind, almost comparable to Shikamaru's. Emo, you will be behind her, as even though you don't have them you have trained your eyes very hard so that you could capture movement when you finally awaken your Sharingan. Mira will be at the back, as she is the second most powerful of the 4 of us. She will be using her nose to search out any threats coming from behind. We will also have a code that we recite to each other if we ever get separated. The code is you told me think about it, well I did. Now I don't want to feel a thing anymore. I'm tired of begging for the things that I want. I'm oversleeping like a dog on the floor. Imagine living like a king someday. A single night without a ghost in the walls. And if the beast shakes the earth underground we'll start the revolutions. He turning his head slightly asked got it. Sakura spotting his Dojutsu activated nodded, while Sasuke with a scowl on his face also nodded. Naruto turning back to the front said good. 2 days later and Team 7 had yet to run into any trouble, and that's what worried Naruto. His eyes then sensing something let him know to get down. A huge gust of wind then blew over his head and he cursed hearing both of his teammates be blown away. He standing up scowled spotting Mira, growling, and Sakura and Sasuke nowhere to be seen. His eyes then moving to the trees, scowled again spotting Samui and her 2 teammates, looking a little irritated. Naruto pulling out Jink scowled and said, trust me you don't want to do this. Carrie with rage in her eyes said shut up. Your stupid clones distracted us for 2 days, keeping us in this stupid forest and keeping Samui from doing her mission. Now be a good little dog and let Samui do her mission. Naruto narrowed his eyes hearing this. The hearing Mira growling loudly said, Mira-chan tear her apart. Mira hearing this let out a bone-chilling howl that could be heard in Konoha. She then vanished and Team Samui had to jump to avoid being fried by a ball of black flames. Mira appearing on the branch they were just on could be seen with fire inside of her mouth. Black flames visible at the corner of her mouth. Perry pulling out her sword asked, what in Kami's name is this thing? Samui also pulling out her sword said, it's one of his summons be careful. Amoy with his lollipop in his mouth said, we need to take it down now. Mira tired of them talking, let loose a powerful stream of black flames aimed at Carrie. Said girl jumping felt her feet warm from the intensity of the flames. She landing beside Samui, rushed towards Mira and just managed to make the dog jump back. Amoy also attacked in that instant, causing Mira to roll over on her back. Naruto not paying attention to the battle had his eyes to the left, as that's where he senses Sakura and Sasuke fighting someone with as much chakra as him. Scowling he said Mira. The dog appearing beside him was looking at him with her blood-red eyes. He looking at her said, I have a new mission for you. My idiot teammates are fighting someone with chakra reserves as high as mine with me wearing chakra suppression seals. I'm going to summon your pack. All of you are to go help my teammates, but don't get injured. In fact, I want all of you to mega evolve. Mira barking hopped back as Naruto quickly summoned 50 more of the dogs, causing Team Samui to gain wide eyes. Mira howling again, went through a small transformation, now having a silver bone-like spikes on the front of her body. Mira then took off, her pack closely following behind her. Naruto once they were gone turned to Team Samui. He setting into his Kenjutsu stand said, "Come and bear witness to the god of carnage." Carrie hearing this charged in head-on, ignoring the cries of her teammates. Naruto dodging Carrie's attack, kicked her hard in the stomach, forcing the girl to bend over and clutch her stomach. He then backhanded the girl, not even caring about the shattering sound he heard. Carrie hitting a tree hard, slumped to the ground. Amoy hearing this charged Naruto with Samui. 30 minutes later and Naruto was sent crashing through a few trees, as all 3 members of Team Samui were now up and working together to take him down. Carrie panting said, "That should take care of him." Amoy also panting said, "He's tougher than B-sensei." Samui staring at the trees said, "I can see why Reikage-sama wants his genes." Carrie standing up said, "I guess we should go rescue the bastard so Samui can complete her mission." Amoy nodding said, "Then we can finish the job." Samui sighing said, "Come, let's finish this mission." What none of them knew was that buried under 7 trees Naruto was shaking with barely contained rage. Why was he so angry? Well, he was angry because some memories of his clone had just come back. This team from Kumo had defeated his clones, killing the Sasuke, Sakura and Mira Henge clones, then tried to rape the Naruto clone. If there was one thing that Naruto absolutely hated, it was rape. He then hearing Jinx roaring to show these fools, and all of the others just who he was, could only nod. Lifting his hands up he crossed them and said Kai. When he said this a seal on his left arm appeared and quickly vanished. With the removal of this seal, all of his chakra was unsealed, along with his form. He then pulling out a tube full of bubbling red goop, uncorked it and poured the content down his throat. His eyes then dilated and his heart started to beat really fast and really loud. His chakra then exploded from his form, burning the trees on him and the ground under him. Team Samui had wide eyes spotting the dark red and black pillar of energy shooting into the sky. Their eyes widened when the literal earth started to shake. They then fell to their knees as a killing intent so strong it was destroying the wildlife appeared and crushed all within its reach. Samui looking towards the pillar felt her eyes widen, spotting a human figure standing in the pillar. At least she thought it was human, until huge horns appeared from its skull, along with a pair of dreadful-looking wings. She then watched as a thick tail appeared behind it swaying with pure menace. She felt her bowels empty when what looked like tentacles appeared from all over the figure's body. In the figure's right hand an absolutely terrifying scythe could be seen. The figure then started to float off of the ground. The pillar of energy then started reducing until it was just as large as the figure. Team Samui finally got a view of the figure and all 3 of them felt their blood run cold. Floating above the black ground was a majorly changed Naruto. His platinum blonde hair was now down to the middle of his back. His Dijutsu was activated and all 6 Tama were spinning very fast. From his top lip 2 sharp glistening fangs could be seen. From the middle of his forehead 2 thick silver horns could be seen, glistening in the light. His ears were pointed and seemed darker. Around each eye and his mouth strange blood-colored goop could be seen. His entire outfit was now made entirely of the thick red goop. A large capital C could be seen on the middle of the outfit. His right arm was now covered in the goop but was now bulging with muscles. The hand was longer and thick black claws could be seen on each finger. Said fingers were wrapped around a massive black scythe looking to be made of the spine of some unfortunate soul. From his back 2 massive dreadful black leather wings could be seen, the thick red goo on them also. His feet were now arched and thick black claws could be seen on each of them also. Swaying behind him was what looked like a tail fused with a Zanbato. The Zanbato part even had thick red goo spikes. Samui gulped again as those rage-filled eyes were set dead on her and her team. Naruto then said, "Foolish ninja. You have just pissed off the god of carnage, technology and destruction. Pray to Kami ni that you survive this encounter because I will not be holding back as your mission was to rape me." He then unfurling his wings, let out a bone-chilling, fear-inducing, prayer-inducing, "Run all the way to mama, run as far away as you can roar." Carrie hearing said roar could only think Kami ni. Is he really the god of carnage? If he is then Reikage-sama is going to need protection from his wrath. Amoy was thinking goodbye cruel world. To think Reikage-sama would send us to our deaths against an actual god. He's gonna crush my lollipop and my bones. Samui was thinking, this isn't going to end well unless I find a way to defeat an actual god. Oh, who am I kidding, Sama, thanks to your idiotic ideals I'm going to be slaughtered by the true god of carnage and die a virgin. Naruto ending his roar said, get ready to meet Tsubasa ni. He then pounced on the poor team Samui. Samui, ducking under a swipe from Naruto's tail an hour later, was really tired. Amoy and Carrie were out of commission. Carrie was bleeding from her midsection as Naruto had sliced her with his scythe. Amoy's right arm was mangled beyond recognition because Naruto had crushed it in pure rage. Samui herself was sporting some rather nasty cuts that were oozing blood. The three of them had tried to defeat this new monstrous Naruto, but had been completely dominated. What made Samui shake though was that Naruto wasn't even trying. He was doing the bare minimal. She jumping just managed to keep herself from being burned alive by pure white flames. She dashing forward tried to slice Naruto, but he caught her sword with his hand. He then turning his head to her locked eyes with her, and Samui started to try and get loose. Too bad for her, Naruto wasn't having none of that. He reaching forward with his left hand, forced her to be still. Looking into her eyes, he activated his psychic powers. Breaking into her mind, he started to literally destroy her mind. He was shattering all her beliefs, all her truths, all of it. Samui's eyes were slowly glazing over. He then, sensing someone else attacking his team, growled and tossed the girl away. Roaring, he took off into the sky, leaving behind three very hurt Kumo-genin. Samui, once he was gone, struggled to her feet and stumbled over to Carrie. Pulling out the medical kit, she wrapped Carrie's midsection and stopped the bleeding. She doing the same for Amoy's arm, created two lightning clones and picked her two teammates up. She then ran towards the tower, knowing that her team needed healing and she needed to sit down and build her walls back up. She didn't know it, but Naruto had watched her leave with a smirk on his face. He then vanished in a poof of smoke, revealing himself to be a shadow clone. The real Naruto arriving at his team's location, scowled, spotting Konan now attacking his team. He dropping down from the sky, appeared in front of Mira and her pack. Said pack was struggling to stand from the many wounds Konan had inflicted on them. Naruto turning to Mira and ignoring the curious Konan said, "Mira-chan, you and your pack relax and bask in my aura. I will handle the so-called Angel of Aim." Naruto then turned to Konan, who with narrowed eyes said, "Kyuubi Jinchuriki, you will surrender peacefully so that we can extract the Kyuubi from you and true everlasting peace can be achieved." Naruto snorting said, "Or you can scurry back to your fake god before I crush your body, grind your bones to pieces and seen what's left to aim in a doggy bag. Your choice." Konan scowling launched a few paper shuriken at him. Her eyes widened when said shuriken were burned to a crisp before even reaching him. Naruto shaking his head said, "Wrong choice." He then vanished and Konan doubled over in pain. She was then sent flying back from a pure kick to her solar plexus. She crashing through a few trees got to her feet just in time for a fist to collide with her face, making her jaw rattle. She was then kneed in the gut and backhanded through even more trees. She then screamed as her arm was broken in 6 different places. She then gasped, feeling Naruto's hand wrap around the back of her head. Her face was then slammed hard into the forest floor, causing a massive shockwave to run through the forest. Naruto then picking her back up, tossed her though even more trees. Konan struggling to her feet, could feel that a lot of her bones were broken and possibly a few of her internal organs were bruised. She with blurry vision looked up and whimpered, spotting Naruto slowly marching toward her. She forming a paper spear tossed it at him, but groaned when he knocked it away with his hand. He then vanished again, and Konan gasped when his face appeared an inch away from hers. His eyes locked on hers. He once again activating his psychic powers, started to warp Konan's mind. He then backing away said, "Retreat to aim, recover and tell your fake god that he has drawn the ire of the god of carnage. I am going to rip his head off, place it on a spike outside of my mansion, and use it as a scarecrow to terrify any birds annoying me." Konan with wide fearful eyes, took off in pure fear, going to tell Nagato just what he had foolishly done and alert Hitachi of Naruto's change. Naruto walking back to his little group, walked over to the duck butt pushing Sakura out of the way. Spotting the curse mark on Sasuke's neck, he rolled his eyes and said, "Of course Orochimaru would mark the emo with his Hiki of Doom. It doesn't matter as long as he doesn't test me, we're fine." He then picking up the emo turned to Sakura and said, "Come Sakura, we will end this exam now as we have both scrolls." Sakura nodding followed Naruto, who was petting Mira, telling her how much of a good girl she was. An hour later Naruto was walking slowly towards the tower, letting Sakura regain her strength and Mira explore her surroundings a little. Mira sniffing a tree took a piss on it, marking her territory. Naruto looked like he was just walking, but really he was constantly expanding his senses, making sure they were safe. His nose picking up a scent of Kabuto walked around the boy and finally reached the tower. Opening the door, he tossed Sasuke to the ground. He ignoring the screeching of Sakura pulled out the scrolls and opened them. 5 seconds later and a lot of smoke, Iruka appeared. Said man spotting Sasuke quickly asked what happened. Naruto turning to Sakura, who without wasting a breath explained what had happened. Naruto then explained why he wasn't there to help his team out. When he was done, Iruka scowled and said, "Kumo never learns, does it?" Naruto snorting said nope. Now can we please be escorted to a room? I need to sleep and Mira needs her treat. Haruka nodding lead Team 7 to a room not too far from the main room. Once inside of the room, Naruto plopped down on the first bed offered to them, Mira hopping onto the bed with him curled up next to him. Sakura blinked when both were soon sleeping. She shaking her head climbed into the next bed, ready to sleep herself, but wondering what was gonna happen to Sasuke. Both were soon asleep. At that moment a bright light appeared in the room. The beautiful woman appeared looking much like Tsubasa, except she had long flowing red hair. This woman is Kami. She walking over to Naruto's bed, gently sat down on the bed. Smiling she kissed the sleeping Naruto on his forehead and said good night dear sweet little brother. Soon you will face many challenges including a battle with a member of your former family and a pale snake. Naruto as if somehow hearing her rolled over in his sleep and mumbled out, somebody's gonna die. Kami giggling placed a golden necklace around Naruto's neck before vanishing in a flash of golden light. Chapter 6 Naruto waking up 3 hours later grumbled about not getting enough sleep. He silently getting out of the bed, decided maybe it's time he decided on his sacred animal. He closing his eyes knew that whatever it was needed to incorporate all 3 of his districts. He then blinked feeling Mira nuzzle his arm. Turning to her he asked, do you have any idea for my sacred animal? Mira wagging her tail barked and licked his hand. He blinking said, you think we should go the lab first? Mira barked again. Naruto standing up walked over to the nearest wall. Placing his right hand on the wall he said, invoke thy name Midarashi, Otsutsuki, and Jinx. Mira barked happily as the wall slid open silently to reveal a narrow staircase that lead only God knows where. Naruto entering the tunnel followed it to his secret lab. He closing up the wall after Mira had come inside said, I invoke thy name Otsutsuki Naruto god of technology. Like a switch was flipped all of the lights turned on revealing a lab like nothing anyone had ever seen. Brand new shiny metal could be seen covering a lot of the tables. Buzzsaws, lasers, swords, scrubs all of it could be seen. There was even a tank that looked big enough to fit a person inside of it. Naruto ignoring all of this walked over to his computer and sat down in the chair, feeling Mira sit down beside him in the other chair. Turning it on, he started to scroll through the many different animals listening to hear if Mira found what she was looking for. Mira spotting what she had in mind started to bark really loudly. Naruto looking at the screen blinked treating Tyrantrum the despot Pokemon. Abilities are, Strong Jaw, and the hidden one is Rockhead. Is part of the dragon group but is mainly classified as a rock because it coming from a fossil and looking like a T-Rex. Thanks to its gargantuan jaws, which could shred thick metal plates as if they were paper, it was invincible in the ancient Pokemon world it once inhabited. It also behaved like a king. It's 8 feet and 2 inches tall and weighs 595.2 pounds. He looking at this Pokemon said, good sweet Kami ni this Pokemon looks like it could eat half of Konoha and still be hungry. He then started to laugh as he said, it's perfect. He then stopping his insane laughter, got down on his knees and said Kami-hime please send me a terrible ill or dying Tyrantrum, as I do not wish to transform a healthy one into my sacred animal. He smiled when he heard a loud poof of smoke. Getting off of his knees he felt his eyes soften spotting the poor Tyrantrum that looked to be on its last leg. He using his telekinesis powers, floated the poor animal into the tank. He then reappearing was now dressed in a white lab coat, a white button-up shirt, white gloves, a pocket protector on the front of said shirt. He had on black pants, with flat black shoes. On his face framing his eyes was a pair of black glasses. His hair was even slicked back with a single bang falling over his face. He walking over to a door with a very heavy lock on it, pulled out his key and opened the door. It opening revealed millions of projects from human and animal fusions to tube of black liquid that was held in a diamond shell. He walking over to a tube containing more of the red goop along with a metallic exoskeleton. He floating them into the room, grabbed a pair of glowing robotic red eyes. He then grabbing a flamethrower and a tube of nanobits walked back into his lab shutting the door behind him. He walking over to the tank opened up many of the slots on the tank. Opening the tube of red gunk and the nanobits he poured them into 2 of the slots. Finding the largest slot he put the exoskeleton in this one. He then put the eyes and flamethrower in another slot. Shutting the slots, he walked over to the computer connected to the tank. He was about to turn it on when Mira whines. Turning to her he blinked spotting her carrying a large purple stone known as vibranium. He taking the stone asked, you want me to add some vibranium to the mix? Mira barking wagged her tail yes. He shrugging his shoulder walked over to the slots again and opened one of them. Putting the vibranium inside of it, he closed it and sat down in his seat in front of the computer. He pressing a few buttons was skimming through all of the readings and either cancelling programs or activating them. He then typing in a few things said, that's the last program. Now let's see how long this takes. He pressing enter blinked when the screen said, integration and hardwiring will take 3 hours. The rest will take a day. process should be done within 27 hours. Naruto sighed hearing this and said, oh well. Guess I'll go back to the room now and go back to sleep. He changing back into his clothes, tossed Mira a ham bone and said, come on Mira-chan, we have a nap waiting for us. Mira trotting behind Naruto was wagging her tail, happy to have her treat from her master. The next day Naruto was walking with his team behind Iruka towards the hall where the other genin were waiting. Entering it he wasn't surprised to find all of the teams had managed to survive the exam. This meant that he was gonna have to battle in a preliminary. The ignoring Sarutobi give a speech about what the true purpose was about, was letting his eyes roam over Tamari's body. He was mainly shamelessly staring at her ass. Tamari somehow feeling this felt her cheeks heat up as she turned in a different direction. Naruto's eyes then landing on Kankuro, looked the puppet boy dead in the eyes and made a throat-slashing motion. He then blinked when Kabuto, Kari, and Amoy all surrendered, one claiming that he was out of chakra, the other two having legitimate injuries. He then hearing Sakura and Duck King argue, turned to the two of them and hissed Sakura if the emo wants to battle, then let him battle. Sakura hearing this was about to protest again when both Naruto and Sasuke glared at her. She shrinking nodded. The teams were then taken up to the balcony. Naruto being bored decided to listen to some music. Putting his headphones in, he started jamming to the blaring music in his iPod. He then stopped when he spotted a flash of green. Looking up he sighed spotting Gaara and Lee battling. He then said Gaara you are not allowed to kill or cripple Lee. You are to win without taking away his shinobi career. Understood. Gaara blocking one of Lee's kicks, said understood Naruto-sama. Naruto understanding that Gaara was on board, tapped into his demonic chakra and said, Shukaku you are not to get involved in this match, because if you do I will remove you from Gaara and seal you in a woman's adult toy, while restricting your powers. Gaara gulping said, mother says she understands and will not fail you. Naruto nodding put his headphones back in. About 30 minutes later Ino nudged him. He blinking looked up at the screen. He scowled spotting that he was up against Link Namikaze. He removing his headphones he handed them to Ino and walked down to the floor. He glaring at his former elder brother took in his features. Link was tall, at 6 feet flat. He had long blonde hair that was covered up by a black cap. Link's eyes were dark blue and cold. He wasn't overly muscular but had muscle tone. He was dressed in a black shirt that was halfway buttoned up, revealing his bare upper torso. He had on dark gray pants that were folded up at the bottom, not to cover his thick black leather boots. Sitting on his back was a short sword. Hayate standing between the two boys knew that this wasn't going to end well for Link. He then asked, are both fighters ready? Naruto unsheathing Jinx said, I am. Link bringing his own blade in front of him said ready. Hayate then cried out begin. As soon as the words left his mouth, Naruto shot forward his feet not even touching the ground. Link barely brining his sword up in time grunted as the blow was heavy. Link then trying to counter blinked when he hit nothing but air. Naruto appearing in the air, was twirling Jinx like a kunai. He looking at Link with murderous eyes, slammed back down on Link's blade again, causing the ground to crack under the force of said blow. Link trying to counter again, barely dodged a fist to his stomach. He getting up rushed towards Naruto, planning on taking it to Naruto. Imagine his surprise when he couldn't land a single blow on Naruto. Naruto vanishing appeared on the statue. He with a smile on his face said, you're gonna die today fool. Jinx is roaring to taste your blood and rip into your flesh. He then revealing his very sharp teeth said, I'm obliged to give it to her. He lifting Jinx up said death, the never-ending fate. The little black string that ties all living beings together. Anger, the uncaged animal's wrath. The base to every murder. Revenge, the ambition of those seeking to kill all that betrayed them. The most petty feeling. Kill, what most mortals do at least once. The act upon the most primal instinct. Nothingness, the feeling of not existing. The abyss inside of the human soul. Enigma, the unknown. What lurks in the dark or what lies beneath. Sacred, the most precious thing. What you hold dear to your heart. Sacrifice, to willingly give your life for a cause. The willingness to die for what you believe in. I invoke thy name. Release your might upon the mortal world. Fear her Jinx. Everyone gasped when a monster screech could be heard and all of the lights went off. When they came back on, everyone paled spotting Naruto in a suit of armor belonged to a bipedal fox with 9 bony flowing tails. In his right hand was the massive scythe from the forest, but the difference was that the blade was shrouded in a thick mist of darkness. Naruto lifting the scythe up said, oh yeah today you die and neither your precious father or mother will be able to save you. Hee ha 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 ha. He finished his statement with a most spine-tingling laugh. He then launched forward and Link barely blocked with his own sword but let out a scream of pain when 3 long slashes appeared on his back. Naruto seeing this started to attack relentlessly. Link blocking each time was gaining more and more wounds, some even cutting very deeply. He could also feel his sword starting to wear down. Link jumping back, pulled out a very familiar kunai to many of the ones watching. He snorting said, "I'm gonna defeat you and make you return to the family." Naruto hearing this and spotting the kunai decided to tap into Giratina's powers. He feeling space distorting around him said, "That's a nice dream, too bad I'm gonna turn you into sushi before you even get the chance." Naruto then literally vanished, just as Link threw his kunai, shocking everyone. The scythe appearing directly behind Link, slashed him on his back. Link screaming in pure pain dropped to one knee and tried to get up, only to be kicked square in the jaw by a floating foot. This continued to happen for quite some time. Anko watching on the side turned to Kakashi and said, "That's what I was talking about. I can't even sense his chakra signature." Kakashi with his Sharingan out said, "I can't trace his movements or even see him. It's almost like he's not even in this plane of existence anymore." Kurenai getting closer asked, "Is this the power of the rebellious princess?" Kakashi nodding his head said, "It could only be her power." Samui off to the side watching this could only think, "Sama, you have drawn the ire of a god. He's moving so fast, not even the infamous flying thunder god Jutsu can keep up with him." Tamari seeing this was thinking, "Oh dear sweet Kami, there's no way in hell I'm participating in the invasion with him helping Konoha." Sarutobi was thinking, "Naruto is actually trying to kill Link. The worst part is that if I try to stop this battle, Naruto will most likely go on a killing spree that would make Kyuubi's attack look tame." Minato was thinking, "He's trying to kill Link. Why would he do that? They're siblings and should be getting along." Kushina was thinking, "This isn't good. Link is going to be killed all because I decided to follow Minato Baka like a stupid fangirl." Orochimaru was trying not to lick his lips as he thought, "I think I just found another target for my little seal." Naruto then appearing in front of Link, stabbed both of his hands into the boy's stomach. Everyone gained wide eyes when Link vanished in a poof of smoke to reveal Link coming down from the ceiling with orange eyes, with large black bars going horizontal for pupils. A slight red tint could be seen around his eyes. This caused everyone to gasp as Link was in the fabled sage mode. He stabbing Naruto's shoulder gained wide eyes when Naruto vanished in a pool of black liquid. He sensing something coming down from above, rolled to the right, just in time to avoid being crushed by a giant foot. He looking up gasped spotting a beast unlike anything anyone had ever seen before. It looked like a T-Rex, but with metallic enhancements, along with a thick red goop covering most of its body. Naruto standing on the beast's nose smiled and said, "Just in time my oh so precious Grimlock. Now then show this fool just who he is messing with." Grimlock roaring started to attack Link, who was hard-pressed to dodge the monster's attacks. Things got worse when Naruto started to use Giratina's distortion powers again. Link rolling out of the way of a slice by Naruto could feel something about to happen. He replacing himself with a little orange book, sighed as Grimlock snapped his jaws down on the book. Naruto appearing again laughed and said, "Grimlock show the fool your flames." Grimlock snorting roared and blew out white-hot flames that Link barely jumped over. Sadly this is what Naruto wanted as he punched the boy down hard. Link landing on the floor wasn't prepared to be lifted up by his ankles. He was then dragged towards Naruto who had a fist drawn back. Connecting the punch, a loud crunch could be heard. Link hitting the wall knew that his jaw was broken. He then standing to his feet, went through a few hand signs and called out, summoning Jutsu. In a poof of smoke a toad appeared, being roughly the size of Grimlock. Link on top of the toad said Gamatatsu. "Take the beast." The toad nodding jumped at Grimlock who roared loudly at the challenge. Naruto vanishing back into the distorted world, picked Awakened Jinx up and said, "Back to the fun I go." Everyone else was wondering how was it that the two giant beasts were even fitting inside of the tower. Anko having a hunch said, "It's because he's distorting time and space with his powers that the two massive beasts are even here. If he wasn't using his powers, we'd be pancakes by now." Kakashi who was fuming at the loss of his book said, "That damn bastard has to die for daring to switch places with my precious Icha." Everyone sweat dropped hearing this. Kurenai coughing into her hand said, "I think you're right Anko." Anko smiling said, "Good because if no one had have answered me, I would have told some very personal secrets." Kurenai hearing this blinked and asked, "What secrets?" Anko motioning her to come closer whispered something into Kurenai's ears. Kurenai was soon blushing bright red and asked, "How did you find that out?" Anko smirking said, "Naruto's my little brother. I be damned if I haven't learned anything from him." Kurenai turning back to the battle promised to make Anko promise to never tell anyone that secret as it would ruin her, but most importantly ruin her chances with Naruto. Naruto and Link locked in a heated battle of wills, one to kill, the other to defeat. Naruto then smirked for some reason. Opening his mouth, Link gained wide eyes as he could feel something building up in Naruto's mouth. He jumping back gasped when a solid orange beam came out of Naruto's mouth and destroyed a good portion of the wall. Naruto closing his mouth, swung with Jinx, making everyone wonder why, until they spotted the thick black lines speeding towards Link. Said team jumping over the lines rushed towards Naruto. Naruto, blocking Link's sword with the spine of Jinx, lifted his left hand and said, "Experience my new technique. Gran Ray Zero." Link gasped when a large ball of pulsing malice-filled energy appeared in front of Naruto's hand. He moving gasped when the ball turned into a beam that scorched the earth and went through the walls of the tower. You could see a clear path from the tower to the village. He was then forced to double over in pain as Naruto finally connected a punch. Naruto then grabbing Link's head tossed him into the nearest wall. Naruto then appearing in front of Link, started to literally rain punches and kicks down on Link. He stopping the assault, grabbed Link by the throat and tossed him to the middle of the room. Naruto then appearing standing over the struggling Link moved his hand. Link's shirt was then torn to shreds, thick oozing wounds appearing on his body. Naruto smiling sliced Link's left arm off causing the boy to cry out in agony. He then cut off Link's right hand. Naruto laughing as the blood sprayed everywhere said, "Yes, scream for me, foolish ninja. Bleed as I slowly finish you off." He then slowly started to chop off more of Link's body. Pretty soon Link was covered in his own blood, missing both arms and most of his upper torso having lethal wounds on it. Naruto himself was coated in Link's blood, yet didn't seem the least bit upset. Naruto grabbing Link's sword, stabbed it into the right eye of Link. He pulling the blade out quickly smiled spotting the gaping socket of Link. Naruto slicing the eye into pieces then sliced off one of Link's ears. Naruto burned this with white flames from his mouth. Naruto then shaking his head said, "I'm bored now. Guess I'll end this." Naruto then grabbed Link's head and to the shock and horror of many watching ripped the head and spine out with a single pull. Blood sprayed everywhere and the tired toad finally vanished in a poof of smoke. Naruto turning to look at Grimlock said, "Go my pet. Inform Kami ni and Tsubasa ni what you are." Grimlock roaring vanished in a burst of golden light. Naruto allowing Jinx to return to her normal form, turned to Hayate who looked a little greener than usual. Hayate swallowing his breakfast from this morning, said Winner Otsutsuki Naruto. Naruto hearing this walked back to his spot, not even caring when Hayate called for a cleanup crew. Naruto arriving on the balcony Link spotting the stars in Zabuza's eyes, along with a thumbs up from both Kakashi and Anko. Shrugging he leaned up against the wall and went back to listening to his music. He didn't even pay attention to the other matches as he was lost in his music. He then blinked finding himself standing among the victors. He looking down at the paper in his hand read the number 3. He then smiled hearing that he was paired against Kankuro in the first round. He turning to the makeup wearing boy, made a throat slitting motion with his finger, making Kankuro pale. He was then informed along with the others that they had a month to train. He not caring about this, waited until everyone was dismissed and went home to his apartment. Arriving there, he walked into his bedroom and blinked spotting Tsubasa laying on his bed, napping. He waking her up blinked when she said, "Finally you're back from that stupid test." Naruto sweat dropping asked, "Why are you here?" Tsubasa smiling said, "To train you of course silly." Amaterasu and Susanoo said they'd be helping also. Naruto hearing this asked, "Exactly what are you going to be training me in?" Tsubasa gaining an evil smirk said everything, including your godly forms. Naruto blanching at this asked, "Where will I be training?" Tsubasa smiling said, "Training ground 23, you'll train every day except for Saturday and Sunday." Naruto nodded to this, but then blinked when he was pulled to his bed and being used as a plushie by Tsubasa who said, "Good now we sleep." Naruto feeling his eyebrow which could already tell that this was going to be troublesome. The next day Naruto was Saturday so Naruto decided to chill. He was sitting in his comfy chair, wearing only a pair of black shorts, when he heard a knock on his door. Sighing he got up and opened the door. He blinked spotting Kurenai at the door. He looking her over twice asked, "How may I help you Kurenai-sensei?" Kurenai turning her head to the left to hide her blush asked, "I was wondering if you'd like to go out on a date with me tonight." Naruto blinking shrugged and said, "Sure, what time do you want me to pick you up?" Kurenai smiling said 7 and dress formally. She then vanished in a swirl of leaves. He closing the door, walked back into his living room. He was about to sit back down when Tsubasa walked back into the room with a smile on her face. He quirking an eyebrow was about to ask her why she was smiling when she squealed, glumped him and said, "I can't believe my adorable little brother has a date with such a hot young girl." Naruto blinking turned into pure darkness and appeared in his kitchen. He shaking his head asked young. Last time I checked Kurenai-sensei was about 25 and in this world 25 is not too young. Tsubasa giggling said, "Of course you feel that way. You're only 13 and haven't been alive for centuries. To me she's young." Naruto hearing this and drinking some grape juice asked, "Just how old are you?" Tsubasa giggling said, 2,000,000 years old. Before you came along, Yami was the youngest of the gods. Now you're the young one, probably why Yami is celebrating being an elder sibling now. She then grabbing Naruto's hand dragged him to his bedroom closet. Opening the door she said, "Now then let's help you pick out something befitting your status as a god." Naruto was about to decline this when Kami and two women he assumed were Susanoo and Amaterasu appeared. Kami smiling said, "Don't try to argue, darling little brother. You need help with your fashion choices." Naruto, sweat dropping, could only think, this probably won't end well. At 7, Kurenai was nervously waiting for Naruto to knock on the door of her apartment. Sure enough, she heard a soft knock on her front door. She, taking a deep breath, opened the door and gasped. Standing at her front door dressed in an elegant kimono was Naruto. His long platinum blonde hair was tied up into a single topknot, a golden pin in the front. The kimono was black with red veins and destroyed buildings decorating it. On the collar of the kimono was an intricate design of a simple C. She didn't know if he had on anything underneath the kimono, but she thought he looked marvelous. He, smiling at her, said, "My sisters thought I should be dressed to match my status. Underneath this fancy kimono is my shorts and my kunai pouch." He then, showing her his hand, made her blink, spotting the blood-red nail polish and the 3 intricate rings on his fingers. The first ring was golden and shaped like a dragon's head. The eyes were these large emeralds. The second ring was like a gate with a dark blue circle in the middle. The kanji for destruction glowing in the middle. The last of the rings was silver and shaped like a small bug. He, smiling, said, "They also decided to paint my fingernails the color of blood, supposedly complimenting my aura." He then said, "Enough about me, though you look stunning. The red dress you're wearing compliments your stunning eyes." Kurenai, blushing, took his hand, closed her door and locked it. She then followed Naruto out on the town. She, leading him to a very fancy eatery, walked up the host and said, "Table for Yuhi." The woman, smiling, said, "Ah, Mrs. Yuhi, please follow me to your table." Naruto, following Kurenai to their table, sat down, of course after she was seated. Ordering a steak, he smiled at her and asked, "So Kurenai-sensei, why did you ask me out on this date?" Kurenai, blushing, said, "Well, I just wanted to get to know you, the real you, not the bloodthirsty monster most people see." Naruto, hearing this, leaned on his hand and asked, "What do you want to know?" Kurenai, "Ask everything, like your favorite color, where'd you learn to sing, your training, how you get your hair so tame. All of it." Naruto, laughing, said, "That's a lot of information, Kurenai-chan, but I'll oblige you." He then, smiling, said, "My favorite color is orange, believe it or not. My favorite food is ramen, all kinds. I learned to sing from Jinx Ni, as she would sing me to sleep when I was troubled during my younger years. She also trained me, along with the old man, Anko, Ibiki, Inachi and Hade. My hair is actually very easy to take care of, as all I have to do wash it, then brush it once. My favorite type of music is alternative." He then started to tell her what she wanted to know, smiling at her captivated eyes. Their meals arrived and the both of them ate, with Naruto still telling her about himself. When they were finished, Naruto was surprised that they were now in a park, walking down the paths, enjoying nature. Stopping at a tree, Kurenai said, "This is the best date I've been on so far." Naruto, laughing, said, "It's not over yet, Kurenai-chan. Tonight you get the special treat of hearing me sing another song to you. This time it'll be a full performance." He, stepping away from her, snapped his fingers and 4 shadow clones appeared. One clone was on the drums, one was holding an electric bass guitar, another was holding a regular acoustic guitar. The last clone quickly transformed into a female and sat down on the amp. Naruto, walking towards the microphone, closed his eyes and said, "This one is for you, Kurenai-chan. Kiss Me by Ed Sheeran. I don't own, settle down with me, cover me up, cuddle me and lie down with me, and hold me in your arms. And your heart's against my chest, your lips pressed against my neck, I'm falling for your eyes, but they don't know me yet, and with a feeling I'll forget. I'm in love now, kiss me like you wanna be loved, you wanna be loved, you wanna be loved, this feels like falling in love, we're falling in love, settle down with me, and I'll be your safety, you'll be my lady, I was made to keep your body warm, but I'm cold as the wind blows, so hold me in your arms, oh no, my heart's against your chest, your lips pressed to my neck, I'm falling for your eyes. But they don't know me yet, and with this feeling I'll forget, I'm in love now, kiss me like you wanna be loved, you wanna be loved, you wanna be loved, this feels like falling in love, we're falling in love, guitar solo, yeah. I've been feeling everything from hate to love to lust to truth, I guess that's how I know you, so I hold you close to help you give it up, so. Kiss me like you wanna be loved, you wanna be loved, you wanna be loved, this feels like falling in love, we're falling in love, kiss me like you wanna be loved, you wanna be loved, you wanna be loved, this feels like falling in love, we're falling in love. Naruto, opening his eyes, blinked, spotting all of the females around him sporting huge blushes, hearts in their eyes, or plain out drooling. He, sweat dropping, focused on Kurenai, who had the brightest smile on her face. He, smiling at this, dismissed his clones and walked over to her. He was surprised when she grabbed him and pulled him into a forceful, passionate and hungry kiss. She, ending the kiss, smiled at him and said, "Let's go, this place is getting crowded." Naruto, shrugging, let her lead him out of the park. Arriving at her apartment door, about 2 hours later, she smiled at him and said, "Thank you for the wonderful date, Naruto-kun." Naruto smiling said, no problem, it was fun, and I enjoyed it. Kurenai smiling decided to give him more kiss. Naruto leaning into the kiss, felt his entire body warm up. Kurenai ending the kiss opened her door and went inside. Once she was inside, Naruto smiled and said Nai-chan. He turning around turned to pure darkness and headed to his apartment. Arriving inside of it, he snapped his fingers and the kimono was gone, replaced with his pajamas. Walking into his bedroom he sweat dropped finding Tsubasa once again curled up in his bed. He shrugging climbed into the bed and instantly regretted it as she latched onto him and started cuddling him like he was a teddy bear. He blushed when she nuzzled his face and mumbled, "You're so warm, Naruto-kun. We're gonna sleep like this for now on. Okay." Naruto sweat dropping decided to just go to sleep and deal with this later. Chapter 7 Monday morning we can find Naruto sitting in training ground 23, his hair looking like he was just waking up and a little drool could even be seen on the side of his face. Honestly he didn't look his best, hell he was still even in his pajamas. Tsubasa with a large smile on her face could be seen standing in front of him with a scary smirk on his face, she was also holding something behind her. To her left he could see his other sister Susanoo. She had long flowing dark gray hair that was tied into a ponytail. She had on this black battle armor and in her left hand was a sword that looked like it was made in the very fires of hell. She had a large smirk on her face spotting her still very sleepy little brother. To the right of Tsubasa was Amaterasu. She had short spiky red hair and tan skin. She was dressed in a black tank top, showing off her tattooed arms. She had on a pair of red jeans and thick black boots. She had the Manjikyu Sharingan blazing in each eye and had a devilish smile on her face. Naruto yawning asked, "Are we going to train or can I go back to sleep?" Tsubasa giggling revealed the object behind her to be a pair of shackles. Naruto had to quirk an eyebrow at this when Susanoo said, "These are to be wrapped around your wrist and ankles. Each shackle weighs around 250 pounds. You're to wear these for the entire month. If you take them off for any reason, you will be forced to run laps on the moon." Naruto hearing this paled. Amaterasu giggling said, "That's not all, today you'll be training your reflexes so myself and Tsubasa will be throwing everything we have at you." Naruto hearing this actually turned white as this wasn't going to end well. Tsubasa giggling said, "That's not all, Naru-chan. Susanoo is also going to be teaching you Kenjutsu, and the surprise for you is that if you can make it 3 weeks without removing your weights, then Kami-chan will be teaching you how to enter Sage mode with the Pokemon, and the last week will be training with Kaguya-chan, learning more powers of the Otsutsuki clan." Naruto hearing this sighed and asked, "I'm not going to be able to walk home, am I?" All three giggling said, "Nope, one of us will have to carry you home." He sighing again removed his shirt and said, "Alright then let's get this started." Tsubasa giggling attached the shackles to him and said, "We begin now, Naru-chan." 7 hours later and Naruto was being carried by Tsubasa as his body was literally smoking. Tsubasa with a gentle smile on her face was about to nuzzle Naruto's face at how cute he looked right now when a shadow appeared in front of her. She looking up scowled spotting Jiraiya of the Sannin. The man didn't look happy, in fact he looked downright upset. He stomping up to her said, "Wake that little monster up so I can seal his powers away and lock away his memories so he can be with Minato like the good brat he is." Tsubasa was about to say something when Naruto said, "Tsubasa ni put me down. I have to deal with this fool." Tsubasa sighing put him down and watched as Naruto struggled to his feet. He once on his feet scowled at Jiraiya and said, "Begone foolish toad before I turn you into swamp stew." Jiraiya scowling said, "You stupid boy, you killed Link, he was my greatest student yet." Naruto laughing said, "No, you foolish ninja, Nagato was and still is your greatest student yet, with Conan coming in a close second." Jiraiya scowling said, "They are dead, you fool." Naruto snorting said, "Yeah, and Orochimaru is not a pedophile, Tsunade's not busty, and Hyuga Hinata isn't my stalker." Jiraiya scowling at this said, "That's it, you and me now, brat." Training ground 10. Naruto shrugging followed the Toad Sage to training ground 10. Once there he noticed that the Namikaze family along with the Genin teams were there. Jiraiya smirking said, "You're going down, brat." Naruto snorting said, "That's funny, I was just about to say the same thing." Kakashi walking in the middle of the field said, "This is an all-out battle between Jiraiya of the Sannin and Naruto Otsutsuki, Konoha's god of carnage. The winner is decided when the someone is unable to stand up. None are to interfere." He then turning his head asked, "Are there any more stipulations?" Jiraiya with an arrogant smirk said, "If I win the brat gets his powers sealed and returns to the Namikaze family." Naruto snorting said, "When I win I'm going to end your career, but my stipulation is that you have to stop doing your so-called research in the village hidden in the leaves. I refuse to let you peek on my Nai-chan, Anko ni, Uago-chan, or any other female belonging to this village." And so help me Izanami-ba, if after I curb stomp you, I'd better not even hear from Kakashi Nai that one of them or even someone resembling them is in your little orange book, or I'll personally feed your soul to Tsubasa ni and use your body as target practice for my most extreme fire jutsu. Jiraiya smirking said done. Kakashi, having written everything down, made both people sign the sheet along with the others around them. When Tsubasa signed, everyone blinked when the paper turned black and Jiraiya's name turned ash white. Tsubasa giggling said, "This document is not only legally binding, but once Jiraiya Baka breaks the contract, his soul is automatically sent to me." She then started to laugh with an evil glee. Naruto, ignoring her evil cackling, was in the middle of the ring with both of his eyes closed. Jinx was sitting on his back. He still had his shackles on, but wasn't even worried about them, as he planned on using the powers of Zekrom or maybe Kyuger. Hell, if he felt like it, he might even go Primal Kyuger or Mega Lucario on the Baka. He then, opening his eyes, revealed the Chaosigan now with 9 Tomo and 4 rings. He then tapped into the power of Zekrom, could feel lightning sparking off of his body, and could hear the roar of thunder in the distance. Kakashi then started the match, and Jiraiya, like the arrogant fool he was, rushed towards Naruto, thinking that as a Sannin he had this in the bag. He was sadly mistaken, as with the sound of the thunderclap Naruto vanished. Jiraiya was then sent skipping across the training area, electricity sparking off of his body. Naruto, appearing 2 inches from where he previously was, could be seen cloaked in a powerful electric current. The current was as black as the night and as thick as baby's arm. It was so powerful the grass was burning and soil beneath his feet was blackening. Naruto literally had so much electricity running through his body right now, all the hair on his body was standing up and his body was glowing. Jiraiya, standing to his feet, shook his head and scowled. Running towards Naruto again, this time with a Rasengan in his hand, he gasped when Naruto ran towards him with Kakashi's signature lightning blade in his right hand, but 10 times more powerful. Hell, the lightning was carving into the ground. Jiraiya, launching a clone forward, flinched when the clone was fried on contact with the lightning edge. He then came forward and slammed his Rasengan into Naruto's stomach, thinking that he had won. His eyes widened when Naruto turned into a mass of shiny red goop. Naruto, appearing back in his starting spot, had his hair shadowing his face. The lightning still sparking around him. He, slowly lifting his head, tapped into the powers of Primal Kyuger. Like that, a substantial downpour appeared over not only Konoha but the elemental nations itself. Hell, AIM was getting even more rain than before, and people were terrified of this. Naruto's eyes then changed from the dark purple of his Chaosigan to an almost snow white. The Tomo and the rings were now purple instead of snow white. Naruto, looking up, seemed to be at peace until he screamed in agony. The scream started to transform from an agony-filled scream to insane, powerful, and dark laugh. The reason why, well, once again Naruto was going through a transformation. His body shot up in height as he went from 4.9 feet tall until he was a hulking 7 feet tall. His hair spiked out and turned to black. Thick black horns grew out of his skull that was covered with what looked like thick white goop. His mouth gained sharper teeth and his 4 large canine teeth were glowing with power. His tongue forked and became coated in a dark red goop. His body gained an extreme layer of muscle, and parts of his arm gained some of the white goop, looking like cartilage connecting his arms together. Thick bony spikes grew out of his elbows. His hands widened and a slit appeared in each hand. In the right hand, a glowing blue orb with the symbol for Alpha appeared. This arm became dark blue, and glowing runes for Alpha could be seen running up the arm. In the left hand was a dark stone pulsing with electricity. This arm turned pitch black and lightning patterns could be seen in the arm. His chest then widened and a slit appeared in the middle of it. Naruto, roaring, tapped into the powers of Mega Mutuo X. A dark purple stone appeared in the middle of his chest. His upper body then turned dark purple, and unknown symbols started appeared on his body. From his back 6 large pairs of powerful wings appeared. The first pair was a very dark blue, with a white goop saturating parts of the wings. This pair of wings also looked to be made of water. The second pair of wings was pitch black and sparking with lightning, and the white goop was applied liberally on the wings. The last pair of wings were dark purple, and the white goop was stretched across the inside of the wings like a protective shell. His lower body became just as powerful as the upper body and just as confused. The feet arched up and thick white claws appeared. A thick and long tail appeared that had spikes going all the way down. The tip of said tail was shaped like a spear. Naruto roared again as the white goop spread across his body and tentacles appeared on his body. On each item a slit his symbol appeared. What looked like black tears come from the edge of Naruto's eyes and trailed all the way down his face. The last thing to happen was for a slit to appear in the middle of his forehead. The slit then opened and revealed something that shocked Tsubasa, Kami, Amaterasu, Yami, Susanoo, Tsukiyomi, Izanami, and Izanagi, all of whom were watching. In the slit, glaring at Jiraiya with pure malice, was a fully evolved, fully matured, full-powered Chaosigan that was dark red with 36 snow white Tomo and 6 white rings. Naruto then roared, and the ground shook. He then set all three of his eyes on Jiraiya, who was actually shitting his pants at the moment. Tsubasa was the only one to notice that Jinx was gone. She, looking around for the mighty blade, gained wide eyes, spotting Jinx in her human form as a 5-year-old girl, standing behind Naruto with wide eyes. Tsubasa, teleporting to Jinx, grabbing her, and moving back from the battle, asked, "How in the 9 rings of hell are you not in your sword, and why are you 5? Jinx, looking up at Tsubasa, said, "Tsubasa-sama, that form is no ordinary god form. That right there is a true face of destruction. That is Naruto's god of destruction form, and honestly he has more power than myself and the other Biju combined right now." Tsubasa, hearing this, felt her jaw scrape the ground. Everyone else hearing this was shocked. Hell, Kushina and Minato was gaping at this statement. Even the spying Kabuto was shocked by this information. Naruto then started to laugh, and it made many shiver, some in pure lust, others in justifiable fear. Naruto, clenching one of his fists, said, "Now this is power. On one hand we have the full might of Zekrumheim, the Pokemon version of Big Sister Susanoo. On the other hand we have primal reverted Kyogre, the Titanus of the sea. Then we add in the full power of a Mega Evolved Mutuo, and the full power of my lovely mother's Chaosigan." He then, clenching his fist, again smiled when a bolt of lightning struck down the tree near Jiraiya. He then, chuckling, said, "Tsubasa, need take note that I now have a god of carnage form, a pseudo-god of technology form, and a god of destruction form." Tsubasa, with a scroll out, was indeed writing this down and describing the first 2 forms. Naruto then vanished, and everyone gaped when Jiraiya was sent barreling through several trees. Naruto, appearing behind him, grabbed the man by his arm and tossed him head first into the sky. Naruto, vanishing in a flash of black lightning, appeared above Jiraiya and slammed his left hand down on Jiraiya's back, making the man gurgle in pain as blood was in his mouth. Jiraiya, crashing down the ground, didn't get a break as Naruto appeared and kicked the Toad Summoner in the shoulder, making him fly towards more trees. Naruto, appearing in front of Jiraiya, clotheslined the man, making Jiraiya's body try to catch up with his head and neck. Naruto, with Jiraiya's chin on his elbow, smirked and started to spin at a high speed, literally becoming nothing but a blur of colors. He then, stopping his spinning, sent Jiraiya soaring towards a small river. Naruto, appearing over the man, was about to slam his fist into the man's gut when the man turned into smoke. Jiraiya, appearing on the other side of the river, was panting and holding his right shoulder, knowing that his entire arm was dead. He, quickly going through hand sign, summoned the Chief Toad. Naruto, spotting the toad, smirked and started to chuckle. He, turning to look Anko in the eye, said, "Remember the question you asked me, Anko-ni? Well, I'm about to give you a first-person point of view of one of my larger summons." He, doing the necessary hand signs, swiped one of his canine teeth with his finger and slammed it on the ground and roared out, summoning Jutsu. A huge poof of smoke occurred that was larger than Gamabutta. A loud screech then was heard, and everyone from Konoha who was rooting for Jiraiya got the feeling that whatever Naruto had just summoned was going to make Gamabutta look like a fresh guppy. The smoke from Naruto's summon cleared and Tsubasa started to curse like a sailor. The reason why? Well, Naruto was now flying beside a origin form Giratina, who was flying around him. Naruto, smirking, switched out the power of Mega Mutuo X for his Giratina Heim. A black orb appeared in the slit of his chest, and golden pincers appeared on his face. All 6 of his wings gained red spurs on the ends. Giratina, leaning forward, asked, "Who dares summon me? I am the queen of the different dimension." Naruto, flying up to Giratina's face, gently placed his right hand against her face and said gently, "It was I who summoned you, my beautiful queen of the different dimension." Giratina, hearing his flattering words, tilted her head and asked, "Who are you, mortal, and why do I find myself so attracted to you?" Naruto, smiling, said, "My lovely queen, I am Otsutsuki Naruto, 9th member of the Eternal Council of the Gods. I am the youngest son of Otsutsuki Kaguya, mother of the Sage of 6 Paths, and very first person to ever use chakra. I am the god of carnage, the god of technology, and the god of destruction. I am also the summoner of all 719 Pokemon, including yourself, my rebellious queen. I have been blessed by your mother Kami Heim with the ability to use your powers." Giratina, hearing this, nuzzled his hand and said, "You are the one mother spoke to us about. The newest god, and the one who would bring us to a new home. I am honored to be the first legendary you summoned, my different dimension emperor." Naruto smiled at this, ignoring the gobsmacked looks on everyone's faces. Hell, even Jinx was shocked. Gamabutta, hearing the entire conversation, said, "Oh hell no. Kami-sama warned the summon realm about fighting the new god and her little brother. Jiraiya, I am not about to be turned into chow for one of those damn hellhounds Otsutsuki-sama can summon." He then shook the shocked Jiraiya off of him and hopped over to Naruto, who was looking on in amusement. Gamabutta, stabbing his dagger into the ground and actually dropping to one knee, said, "Lord Otsutsuki, I, Gamabutta, chief of the Toad, summons Irby, swear loyalty to you and pledge that no member of the Toad clan shall ever fight against you, your family, or any of your summoner. I also pledge that if you ever need assistance to only ask and the entirety of the Toad clan will be at your call. Naruto smiling said, I accept your loyalty and pledges Gamabuta. Now begging as I have a pervert to finish off. Gamabuta nodding vanished in a poof of smoke, making Jiraiya cursing like a sailor. Naruto sitting down on the ground smirked and said, what will you do now, Iro-sanin? Jiraiya sneering held out his hand to form a larger version of the Rasengan. He smirking at the shock on everyone's face, including Minato said, this is my improved version of the Rasengan. Myself and Link was so close to figuring out how to finish the jutsu. This is my ultimate trump card since I can't use the toads against you. Naruto chuckling said, well then let's see the power of this so-called improved version of the Rasengan. He then crossing his arms said, I tell you what, I won't even lift a finger to defend myself. I'll let you hit with me with your attack. Everyone blinked hearing this, including Jiraiya. Naruto laughing said, well then come on. Jiraiya shaking his head launched at Naruto with a really big Rasengan and slammed it into Naruto's arms while crying out, Chao Dama Rasengan. The cloud of smoke occurred and most people thought it was over, but Anko knew better. She had this feeling in her gut that attack didn't even bother Naruto. She was right as seconds later loud amused laughter could be heard in the smoke, terrifying Jiraiya and making many others pale and tremblettjd cough civilian council cough. When the smoke cleared, standing there without a scratch on him was Naruto, Giratina still in her origin form circling his location high above him. Naruto smirking unfolded his arms and said, what a disappointment. Oh well, I guess I can show you a true attack. Jiraiya couldn't even get a word out as he was launched into the sky. Naruto appearing in the sky behind him, wrapped his arms around Jiraiya's stomach. Flying into the storm clouds, he tossed a man high above them. Appearing behind the man, he had his right hand held up high. He letting loose a terrible laugh said, do try not to die from this. Combination Hijutsu, pure destruction. In his very hand the elements of a storm formed. First a lightning bolt appeared, it being the color of blood. It then got surrounded in a powerful wind current. In this wind current water could be found. Then the lightning bolt was encased by a thick iron casing. That casing grew lovely flowers, and a few roots appeared at the edge. Then the metal casing got a thin layer of ice on it. Finally the entire thing was trapped inside a pink crystal shaped like the snarling face of a dragon. Naruto then tossed it at Jiraiya as the man was falling through the storm cloud towards the same river that Naruto had tried to knock him into earlier. The attack hit him just as he breached the clouds again, this time soaked to his skin by the torrential rain in the clouds. There was a huge explosion and his scream was so loud it could be heard all the way in Demon Country. He then hit the river hard, making him scream even more as the lightning bolt hit him again once he made contact with the water. Everyone flinched hearing him scream and wondered what was going on, well everyone except for Tsubasa, Jinx, Kakashi, Anko, Sarutobi, Konohamaru, Mogi, Yuden, Iruka, Yuago, Ino, Shikamaru, Hinata, Kiba, Kurenai, Shino, Chaoji, Asuma, Tenten, Lee, and Niji. They weren't wondering because they were looking through Sarutobi's crystal ball to witness. Anko giggling like a schoolgirl said, that was the most badass, purely destructive, flashy, impossible, illogical thing I have ever seen. She then wiping away a tear said, I'm so proud. Kakashi shaking his head said, it seems like just yesterday I was teaching him how to walk and talk. Now he's creating and using S-rank jutsu like it's normal. He then started to cry in joy as he said, they grow up so fast. Sarutobi shaking his head said, I remember when he was just a snot-nosed kid who had eyes only for two things. Raymond and his Anko ni. Now he's a B-rank shinobi in the bingo book, a god, part of the Eternal Council of Deities, and one of the most powerful shinobi Konoha has ever produced. He then wiping a proud tear from his eye said, damn, I'm proud to call him my grandson. Jinx drooling said, me want Naruto. Me want have Naruto's kids. Me seduce him. Tsubasa had a dictionary in her hands and was writing in it. She drawing Naruto's picture for the definition of destruction said, my little brother just literally redefined the word destruction. She shutting the book with a goofy grin on her face said, he is definitely a member of the family now. I mean, what other family can admit to doing shit like that? Konohamaru, Mogi, Yuden, Ino, Kiba, and Chaoji all had stars in their eyes. At once they all said, that was so fucking awesome. I wonder if he'd be willing to teach me that. Iruka hearing this quickly made a note to beg Naruto not to teach that to Konohamaru, Mogi and Yuden, and to also find out when did the three learn such foul words. Kaien and Akane turning to look at each other, both nodded and said, never ever piss of Otsutsuki-sama. Naruko putting some of her red hair behind her ears, said stupid Iro-sanin. I'm probably gonna have to heal him now. Damn. Itsumi in the shocked Kushina's arms was bouncing up and down in pure joy, squealing about how awesome that was. Kushina herself was trying to calm her rapidly beating heart as what Naruto had just done was godly. Minato was pale and sweating as Jiraiya was most likely dead or knocking on death's door. The civilian council was already making plans to instantly get on Naruto's good side, or they were royally screwed. Kabuto was staining his underwear on both ends, terrified at the pure destructive power Naruto had at his disposal. Sasuke was fuming in jealousy. Sakura was now changing her focus from Sasuke to Naruto, realizing that Naruto could destroy Sasuke with one finger tied behind his back. Shino pushing up his shade said, most terrifying. Kurenai had a hand over her mouth at this. Hinata was giggling like Jiraiya would be if he was near a bathhouse. Lee had flames in his eyes and shouted Yosh. Niji was wondering who would win an all-out battle between he and Naruto. Ten like Hinata was giggling in pure perversion. Asuma letting his cigarette drop from his mouth in pure shock was feeling very afraid of Naruto. Shikamaru sighing mumbled troublesome gods. Chaoji was shoveling popcorn down his mouth enjoying the show. Yuago was wiping the drool from the corners of her mouth at how badass Naruto was being. Naruto landing smirked at the smoking form of Jiraiya. He then walking over to the man said, now to finish you off. 2 clones appeared and grabbed the man. 2 more clones appeared and grabbed the man's legs. Jiraiya was now laying flat on his stomach, a Naruto clone holding each of his limbs. Naruto jumping into the air, flipped over with his left foot raised high. He descending on the squirming Jiraiya said shades of Senjutsunade. Heavenly curb stomp. He then slammed his left foot down on Jiraiya's spine, smirking at the loud sickening crunch that could be heard. This was followed by Jiraiya screaming very loudly. He dismissing the clones, walked over to Tsubasa, slowly coming out of his transformation. When he reached her, his eyes rolled to the back of his head as Tsubasa barely caught him in her arms. She giggling said, he won, and Jiraiya will never be a shinobi again, as Naruto has basically crippled him from the waist down. She then smiling turned to Jinx and said, come Jinx, we need to get him home. He does have a date with a certain purple-haired Anbu tonight and will need some sleep. Jinx pouting said okay Tsubasa-sama, but does he even know about the date you and Kami-sama set up? Tsubasa giggling as she walked away said, he will when she comes to pick him up tonight. Everyone around her sweat dropped and thought, I see how Anko is the normal one. Anko herself was pouting as it was just confirmed that she was indeed the normal one. Yuago then realizing that she was the only Anbu with purple-haired Anbu, squealed in barely contained glee. She grabbing Kurenai's right hand dragged her away and said, come on Nai-chan, you have to help me prepare for my date with Naruto-kun. Kurenai with a sweat drop said, you're acting like a fangirl Yu-chan. Yuago turning to her with flames in her eyes said, I will forget you said that as Naruto-kun is taking me out on a date. If you ever say that again I will show you just why I am not a fangirl. She then continued to drag Kurenai to her home. Anko now with a cloud of depression over her head was drawing a circle in the ground near a tree as she mumbled, I'm the normal sister. I'm supposed to be the wild and crazy sister that has a craving for blood and explosions. She then standing proudly with an evil smile on her face said, well then I'll just be the older sister with blackmail material on my darling little brother. She then vanished in a swirl of leaves, missing everyone in the group sweat drop at what she had just said. Sarutobi shaking his head turned to Kakashi and said, I still think it was a bad idea for her to become his guardian sister. Kakashi reading his book said, I have always thought that Hokage-sama. It was the late Uchiha Mikoto-sama that convinced you to let Anko be his guardian sister. Frankly I want to know how she did so. Sarutobi remembering just how Mikoto had talked him into it, scowled and said, it was all because of Jiraiya. He was caught doing his research by her and she was about to turn him into a female the hard way, but decided to inform me of his trespassing. Kakashi hearing this said, well there you go. She came in when you were using your crystal ball to peek on women and was going to turn you into a woman, but then decided to blackmail you into letting Anko become Naruto's guardian, so in a way it's all your fault Hokage-sama. Sarutobi's eyebrow was twitching as he said, had a Kakashi for that, you'll be chasing Tora until all 3 of your students become Chunin. Kakashi hearing this actually started to tremble in fear. He then remembering how Naruto could make the demon cat come to him, stopped sweating and said, no problem Hokage-sama. Sarutobi gaining an evil smirk said, did I forget to mention that you will not be allowed to get Naruto to assist you? Kakashi hearing this quickly said, please don't honorable Hokage-sama. I'll be a good boy I promise. Sarutobi started to cackle with evil glee. That night Naruto was once again dressed in a regal kimono, this one being golden with the image of a crumbling city in purple. His hair was once again tied into a top knot, this one having 2 purple pins in it. On his neck was the necklace given to him by Kami, and on his fingers were his rings. The added thing was the thin layer of black eyeliner around each of his eyes. Along with the golden orbed earrings. Naruto yawning glared at his 2 sisters who were on the couch watching a movie on the TV he had just created. He was about to yawn again when someone knocked on his door. He getting up opened the door and blushed spotting Yuago in a purple spaghetti strap dress. Her purple hair was as it normally was and she had on a light appliance of makeup on her face. She had on fang-shaped earrings and had on a pair of purple high heels. All in all, she looked drop-out gorgeous. She smiling said, "Well, are you ready for our date?" Naruto smiling closed the door said, "Ready as I'll ever be." Yuago taking his arm then lead him to one of the fanciest restaurants in the village. She saying her name walked inside with Naruto and smiled when he held out her chair for her. Once she was seated he himself took a seat. Once they ordered their food, the two of them started talking, and before long Naruto was smiling as Yuago was laughing at the joke he had just told. Yuago eating the meal she had ordered wondered what they should do next. She blinked when she spotted Tsubasa appear with a sign that said, "Take a walk through the village," that ends at the Hokage monument. She smiling decided to do what was suggested. She after Naruto finished his steak, took him on a walk through the village leaning on him as the moon shone down on them as they walked. Naruto himself was enjoying the walk and wondering if he should sing a song for Yuago too. When they reached the monument he smiled as this was his favorite place to go. He sitting down, smiled at Yuago when she sat down beside him. He asked her, "So what made you choose this place to lead me to after that lovely meal?" Yuago leaning against his arm said, "I just wanted somewhere that we had a great point of view, and this place has the best view." Naruto smiling was about to agree when his senses started screaming at him. Standing to his feet he looks around and spreads his chakra across the village and outside of the village. His eyes widen feeling 3 chakra signatures heading towards the village with about 20 other more sinister chakra signatures chasing them. He standing up discarded the kimono and summoned Jinx in her scythe form. He teleporting to the location of the chakra signatures, felt it when Yuago teleported to the Hokage's office to inform him. His eyes nearly fell out of his head, spotting Uchiha Mikoto being assisted by the sound girl from the forest and girl with spiky red hair, red eyes and black glasses on. Behind them was multiple sound shinobi. He teleporting in front of the girls asked, "What are you doing with Mikoto Haim, and why are you being chased by those scumbags?" In panting said, "We found her in one of Orochimaru's bases and rescued her." The redhead wiping the drool from her chin said, "Those scumbags as you call them are chasing us because of the fact that we rescued her from him. Also behind us are 2 people wearing black cloaks with red clouds on them." Naruto hearing this narrowed his eyes and said, "Get behind me." Eren and Kin nodding quickly moved behind them with a panting Mikoto. The sound shinobi landing scowled and said, "Move kid then let us take back what Orochimaru stole fair and square of course, after we kill those stupid sluts for stealing her." Naruto gaining a terrifying smirk on his face said, "I'm afraid I can't do that, you see those 2 sluts as you call them now belong to me, and Mikoto Haim never belonged to that snake-faced failure. Now I'm going to give you one chance to get lost before I rip your souls out of your bodies and feed them to my darling sister." The sound shinobi hearing this started to laugh with arrogance and said, "Kid it's 1 against 20. Naruto hearing this started to cackle with glee as he said, "Oh no, I'm afraid you've got it wrong. It doesn't matter how many you bring. I'm the god of carnage, and my lovely partner is Jinx the 9-tailed fox." All 20 shinobi hearing this blanched and stuttered, "You're the god of carnage." Naruto laughing said, "So you finally see." He then vanished and appeared behind the man. Tilting his head to the left he said, "Oh well." As he said this all 20 men fell into chunks of meat. Just then 2 people in black cloaks arrived. Naruto looking at them, raised an eyebrow and asked, "If it isn't Hitachi Uchiha and the walking fish, what are you doing here?" Hitachi with a serious look on her face said, "Naruto-kun please come with us now. Our leader has decided that you have become too powerful." Naruto laughing said, "Oh please Hitachi-chan, we both know that you're only in that pathetic group to protect me from the inside." He then blocked a swing from Kisame and said, "This one on the other hand." He then tossed Kisame back and launched at the man, while Hitachi walked over to her mother and removed her Akatsuki cloak. Wrapping it around Mikoto she said, "My mission is done. You have been found mother and Naruto-kun is strong enough to protect himself." She then blinked when 3 squads of Anbu appeared along with Kakashi, Anko, Zabuza, and Sarutobi. All of them ready to fight to the death. She then heard someone snort. Turning around she blinked spotting Naruto holding Kisame's head in his hand, Samehada over his shoulder wrapped up. Walking over to Sarutobi he handed the head to the man and said, "You guys move too slow. I've already taken down all threats and rescued Mikoto Haim." His eyes moving to the once again drooling Karen and the shocked Kin said, "Old man those 2 are to be placed under the protection of the Otsutsuki clan and they are both willing to inform you of everything the snake-faced bastard has." He then narrowing his eyes said, "If either of them are hurt in any way, I'll personally rip the head off of the person who does it, no matter who it is." He then sending Jinx back home said, "Now if you'd excuse me I have a date to finish." He then vanished in a swirl of black fire. Appearing back on the monument he sat down as Yuago appeared back by his side. She leaning on his arm asked, "Will you sing me a song Naruto-kun?" Naruto smiling said, "Of course my Haim." He standing up snapped his fingers and once again the clone band appeared. This time the female clone was not sitting on the amp. Naruto, summoning his guitar, closed his eyes and said, "This one is for you, Yu-chan. All my heart by sleeping with sirens I don't own. There's so many things that I could say, but I'm sure it would come out all wrong. You got something that I can't explain, still I try and let you know. That first summer we spent is one we'll never forget, looking for any kind of reason to escape all the mess that we thought was what made us. Ain't it funny now? We can see we're who we're meant to be. You still have all of my, you still have all of my, you still have all of my heart. Ooh. There's too many times I have to say I could have been better and stronger for you and me. You always make me feel okay. Those late summers we spent stay up talking all night, I'd ask you think we'd ever make it. You'd say I'm sure if it's right. Ain't it funny to think just how stupid I used to be? Hope you always believe. You still have all of my, you still have all of my, you still have all of my heart. You still have all of my, you still have all of my, you still have all of my heart. Let them talk and talk and talk. Let them say what they want. We will laugh at the thought they don't know what we've got. Every year that goes by, a year older we are, you'll still be beautiful then. Bless your beautiful heart. They'll talk and talk and talk. How crazy is it? Someone could waste their whole life, helplessly just patiently waiting for a love like you and me. You still have all of my, you still have all of my, you still have all of my heart. 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 You still have all of my. I've been waiting my whole life. You still have all of my for someone to save me. Still can't believe that you're mine. You still have all of my heart. Naruto opened his eyes and sweat dropped, spotting Yuago with hearts in her eyes. He then, hearing someone shout his name, looked down at the village, and the sweat drop grew, spotting all of the women in the village all below them, swooning at the fact that he just sang to Yuago. He, making the clones vanish, was about to leave to his apartment when his right arm was grabbed by Yuago, who had nothing but lust in her eyes. She, smiling, said, "The date isn't over until I say it's over, Naruto-kun." She then teleported to her apartment, still holding on to him. She, locking the door to her apartment, shoved him into her bedroom. Naruto, landing on her bed, wondered what was going on when she came in just her underwear with a lust-filled smile on her face. She then, walking towards him with swaying hips, said, "I hope you're ready, Naruto-kun, because you're not leaving this room until tomorrow." Naruto sweat dropped hearing this and thought, that's why Tsubasa said she'd see me tomorrow. Damn it. She knew this was going to happen. Revenge will be mine, dear sister. Yuago then pounced on him. Across the village in his apartment, still watching the TV with Jinx, Tsubasa suddenly shivered and felt really cold for some reason. Jinx, spotting this, giggled and said, "You just made his prank list. I hope you're ready, Tsubasa-sama." Tsubasa, hearing this, blanched and started to tremble in fear. Chapter 8. 2 weeks later, and Naruto was standing beside Tsubasa and Kami, Jinx in her fox form, sleeping in his hair. He looked really tired but was dressed in something new. He had on a pair of black torn jeans. On each arm were black arm guards with what looked like splashes of blood on them. His shackles having been removed 2 days ago by Tsubasa for completing her insane training program. Around his neck was the necklace his mother had given him. It was a series of crystals ranging in color from bright pink to dark gray. The 3 largest crystals each had a symbol in them. The first one was dark red, with his symbol for carnage carved into it. Honestly, it kinda made the one on his belt buckle look lame. The next symbol was a crumbling city fading into the background. This was on a crystal that was light purple in color. The last symbol was what looked like millions of tiny robots scrambling to do something. This was inside a orange crystal. Naruto looked quite bored as he asked Tsubasa, Kami, why did you two wake me up when I could be getting some sleep?" Kami, giggling, said, "You mean when you could be cuddling with Yuago, Mikoto, or Hitachi?" Naruto, snorting, said, "No, I mean getting some sleep," with Tsubasa kicking in her sleep and Jinx talking in hers. "It getting ridiculous what I have to do to get a night of peaceful sleep." Tsubasa, giggling, said, "Sorry about that, it's just that some of my dreams be a little vivid." Naruto, snorting, said, "My aching ribs can attest to that." Kami, shaking her head, said, "Well then, that's enough of that. Let's get to the reason we woke you up. It's time to test your powers against a pretty powerful opponent." Naruto, hearing this, blinked and asked who. Tsubasa, giggling, said, "An android created by a madman named Jiro. This android is from an alternate timeline than the current one in the universe you're going to. His name is Cell and he is in his perfect form, but due to the actions of another madman, he has gained a power boost from something known as the legendary Super Saiyan. He is now without a doubt too much to handle for the warriors of the world. That's why you're going to take him on and defeat him." Naruto, blinking, asked, "What do I get out of this besides training?" Kami, giggling, said, "New technology for your dominion, new powerful techniques, and if you play your cards right, a new girlfriend from a different dimension." Naruto, hearing all of this, blinked and asked, "What do you want to do, Jinx?" Jinx, yawning and snuggling into his hair, said, "Go kick this android's ass, Naruto-kun, so we come back and get some sleep." Naruto, wanting to say she was still sleeping in his hair, sighed and said, "It's decided, I'll take on this Cell and show him what power truly is." Tsubasa, smiling, ripped open a portal to the location of Cell and said, "Good. Let's get this show on the road. I can't wait for you to kick that stupid Cell's ass." Kami, giggling, just stepped through the portal. Naruto was about to step through when he was glumped. Turning his head, he rolled his eyes, spotting Karen, and a little lower down, he could see the blonde hair of Natsumi Namikaze. The little girl was like his damn shadow ever since he accepted her invitation to a tea party. Sighing, he bent over and picked up Natsumi. He, with a gentle smile on his face, asked, "Do you want to see me kick somebody's butt, Natsumi-chan?" The little girl nodded her head eagerly. He, handing her to Karen, said, "You're in charge of keeping her safe along with Jinx." Jinx, hearing this, slid from his hair into Natsumi's arms and said, "Super Jinx on the job." Karen, with hearts in her eyes, said, "I'll do whatever you want me to do, Naruto-kun." Naruto, stepping through the portal and ignoring Karen's useless fangirl mode, blinked, finding himself in the air. He, quickly summoning a salmon, sighed in relief when Karen fell on its back, along with Natsumi. Jinx most likely would have transformed into her great demon form before they hit the ground, but it was better to be safe than sorry. He then closed his eyes and shot into space for a grand entrance. Meanwhile, down below, Son Goku was getting his ass kicked like never before. He wasn't even sure Gohan could defeat Cell now that he had absorbed Broly. He blinked when he was forced back and two women appeared. Both women holding microphones and looking like newswomen. The first one, the one with the long black hair, said, "My fellow members of the Council of Gods. This is the sexy Tsubasa in the 7th dimension on the side of the Cell games. Son Goku has just realized that Cell is way too powerful for him or any of the other Z fighters." Ami, pushing up her glasses, said, "Don't worry though, Goku, because luck shines on the earth today as a new fighter has appeared to combat Cell." Both women then, looking up, smiled and said, "He hails from the 21st dimension. Weighs in at 132.5 pounds. At a height of 5 feet 6 inches. Is 13 years old. From the village hidden in the leaves. By now what looked like a shooting star could be seen heading towards the area." Both women continued with the youngest member of the Council of the Gods. "We present to you." The star then collided with the ground, causing a massive plume of smoke to appear. As the smoke cleared, both women continued to say, "The most powerful of the fighting gods. Youngest child of Otsutsuki Kaguya. Naruto Otsutsuki. The certified god of carnage, technology, and the 21st dimension's only god of destruction." The smoke then cleared and Naruto was visible in all of his glory. Naruto, looking at Cell, snorted and said, "He looks like something Jinx would throw up after a long night of drinking and rabbits." This statement pissed off Cell, who teleported to Naruto and punched him directly in the face. His eyes widened when Naruto didn't even move an inch. Naruto, moving his head to the side, said, "That's very rude. I wasn't done talking." Naruto then kicked Cell dead in the stomach, making the android fly backwards from the sheer power behind the kick. Naruto, cracking his knuckles, said, "I guess your maker never taught you manners." He then, popping his neck, said, "It doesn't matter anyway. Because before creation comes destruction." He then vanished and Cell was sent flying into a mountain, causing everyone to have wide eyes. Tsubasa, giggling at the wide eyes of the Z fighters, said, "That, ladies and gentlemen, is the beginning of the end of Cell." Ami, watching as the Salamence Naruto had summoned, sat down with a drooling Karen, clapping Natsumi and snoring Jinx, could only say, "Cell is going to die." Naruto and Cell, now locked in heavy combat with the obvious winner being Naruto, was ignoring all of this. Naruto, slapping a Kai beam away from Cell, said, "Come on, you have more power than this. Stop holding back on me." Cell, growling, threw a full-powered punch at Naruto, who caught it and punched Cell in the solar plexus. Cell, jumping backwards, wiped his mouth and started firing blast after blast at Naruto, who knocked each and every one away. He was forced to jump into the sky when a lightning bolt nearly hit him. He, looking at Naruto, wondered how Naruto did that. He got his answer seconds later when in Naruto's hand a lightning bolt appeared. Tossing it at Cell, he laughed when the bio-android tried to deflect it. This caused his hand to be burned off. Naruto then punched Cell in the face, causing him to go backward. Naruto, grabbing Cell's arms, pulled him forward into a knee. Cell felt the blood leave his mouth from the pure power behind the attack. He, jumping back and growing his hand back, tried to punch Naruto in the face, but Naruto blocked it and head-butted the bio-android. He then punched Cell 6 times before blasting him away with a surge of wind. Cell, crashing to the ground, tried to hit Naruto with a special beam cannon. Sadly, Naruto absorbed the attack with the Rinnegan traits of Chaosigan. Naruto, shaking his head, analyzes the attack and smiles. He, putting his fingers on his forehead, said, "What an interesting attack. Let me give it a go." He, drawing on the power Cell had just given him, pointed his fingers at the wide-eyed android and cried out, "Corroding beam cannon." From his fingers a black beam that looked like a black version of the special beam cannon came barreling toward Cell. Cell, moving, gained wide eyes when the beam corroded everything from the spot it hit to 5 feet around said spot. He was then forced to bend over as a fist was lodged into his gut. Naruto then backhanding the bio-android snorted and said, "Oh come, my sisters are a better match than you." Cell standing to his feet wiped his mouth and growled. He then getting in a familiar stance said, "Let's see you block this." He then started charging up a Kamehameha. Naruto snorting folded his hands over his chest and said, "Bring it on, you stupid bug." Cell growled at this and fired the blast at Naruto. He felt his jaw touch the ground when Naruto absorbed it. Naruto then getting in the stance. Cell was just smirked and said, "My turn." He flaring his power started charging his attack. He laughing said, "Beat it and take your weakness with you." Kurosamehameha. From Naruto's hands a black beam shaped like a shark started chomping through everything in its way. Cell trying to block it started to scream in pain when it hit his body and he was being torn apart. The people watching the battle were speechless, well all, except for Karen and Natsumi. Natsumi being 5 was clapping and screaming at how cool everything was. Karen was somehow in a cheerleading outfit cheering for Naruto as he kicked Cell's ass. Jinx laying on the Salamance's head was sleeping peacefully, occasionally letting out a snore that sounded like a cheer for Naruto. The Z-fighters were trying to pick their jaws off of the floor. Krillin was the one who asked what the hell is happening here. Tsubasa giggling said, "Ladies and gentlemen. My darling adorable little brother is making Cell look like the bald human who just asked that question on a good day." Kami giggling said, "Yes, people of Earth, your eyes are not deceiving you, Naruto is indeed beating Cell like a runaway slave." Piccolo picking up his jaw said, "He just made a better, more powerful version of my attack." Goku now with stars in his eyes said, "I so want to battle with him." All eyes turned to him when he said this, even the so-called Prince of all Saiyans. Vegeta looking at Goku like he was smoking a blunt in front of a camera said, "Kakarot, you are a fucking idiot. If this 13-year-old boy is defeating that freak that easy, no one, not even Lord Beerus, stands a chance against this kid." Goku pouting said, "But Vegeta, it would be so awesome to test my skills against him." Everyone sweat dropped at this and Trunks said, "It's true what mother said. Goku really doesn't know the meaning of out of your league." Gohan face palming said, "Dad, just stop talking." Yamcha and Tien both said, "He never changes." Krillin shaking his head, "Just like when we were little, he never knows when to throw in the towel." Piccolo said, "Not even I am that foolhardy." Goku pouting even more said, "You're all bad sports." Gohan was about to say something when Natsumi threw one of her blunt kunai at Goku and said, "Be quiet. I'm trying to hear Naruto beat down the big ugly bug." At this statement everyone, even Hercule, started to laugh at a 5-year-old girl, calling what could be Earth's biggest threat yet a bug. Tsubasa giggling said, "The adorable Natsumi-chan put it best. Everyone hush so that we continue to cover this monumental battle." Kami nodding said, "Oh look, Cell has regenerated from Naruto's last attack. The Black Shark Destruction Wave." Tsubasa was about to say something when Karen cheered, "Go Naruto, kick his ugly insect butt." Everyone sweat dropped at this. Naruto catching a punch from an angry Cell laughed and said, "You're angry now, that means your attacks are about to get very sloppy. Don't worry, I'll put you out of your misery soon." Cell snarling tried to punch Naruto in the stomach but wound up being kicked in the chin. Naruto then punched him in the stomach. Cell's eyes widened as he suddenly felt like he was going to lose his lunch. To Naruto's complete surprise, Cell puked up a rather attractive blonde-haired woman. Naruto grabbing the woman, teleported her to Karen, who wrapped the woman in a clean towel. Naruto then blocked a weak punch from Cell and blasted the android with a lightning bolt. Cell cursing at the new hole in his stomach wasn't prepared for Naruto to kick him towards the sky. Naruto then appearing above Cell kicked him even harder and made the android hit the ground hard. He then clenching his fist said, "Dance fool." Everything around Naruto exploded and Cell was rocketed into Naruto's open hand. Naruto smirking said, "Scream." Cell was then forced to scream as pure lightning chakra filled his body and burned him from the inside out. Naruto tossing the android back to the earth snapped his fingers and said, "You didn't scream loud enough." Everyone gained wide eyes when a huge rock came down from the sky and tried to crush Cell into nothing. The rock then exploded into tiny pieces, revealing a very pissed off Cell. He snarling said, "Take this." Final flash. The attack launched towards Naruto, who held up his hand. He absorbed the attack and smirked. He vanishing appeared right in front of Cell and said, "Thank you for the new attack. Now it's my turn." Obsidian flash. A huge beam of black energy hit Cell, making the bio-android scream in agony. Naruto ending the attack, then backhanded the halved insect-like being. Appearing in front of Cell, Naruto kicked him up. Naruto smirking said, "I'm gonna beat you like a rug." His hand started glowing as he said, "Super Electric Strike." Cell was then attacked by a huge green wave of energy that was making him scream out even louder. Cell then reformed and launched an attack at Naruto, who deflected it. He kicking Cell in the stomach, pointed his pointer finger at Cell's head. He smiling said, "Tell me if this hurts." 0. Cell's head was then removed from his body with a huge red blast. Naruto then ripping off Cell's arms, burned them with black flames on his hands. Naruto laughing as Cell's head reformed, punched the android's stomach. He then kicking out one of Cell's legs said, "Fall to your knees, fool." One Cell was on his knees, Naruto punt kicked him sending him into another mountain. Naruto crossing his arms was floating backwards with a pleased smirk on his face. Tsubasa giggling said, "Would you look at that? It seems as though Naruto has discovered how to use Kai now. Cell is in for a long painful beating now." Kami laughing said, "All it took was for him to absorb 3 attacks from the idiot bug." Vegeta was now gaping at Naruto's attack was 10 times more powerful than his final flash. Krillin was staring at Android 18 with worry. Yamcha was pale and trembling as Naruto was brutally kicking Cell's ass. Tien was wondering if this was all of Cell's karma catching up with him. Piccolo was for the first time ever praying that he didn't have to fight someone. Trunks was wishing that he had a Naruto in his timeline, then the androids would have been turned to scrap metal long before anyone had to die. Goku was practically drooling at the thought of sparring with Naruto. Gohan was actually terrified of ever facing Naruto. Natsumi was jumping up and down at how cool Naruto was looking. Karen was doing what cheerleaders do. Jinx, who was awake now, was watching Naruto's battle with interest. The Salamence was watching its summoner with slight attraction as it was a female Salamence and was very attracted to power. At this moment Android 18 woke up and looked around wondering where was she. Jinx spotting this, jumped down to the woman's lap and said, "Be easy lady. Everything is alright. My little brother is taking care of the monster that took you down. Cell will pay. In fact my little brother is toying with him right now." 18 hearing this stood to her feet having to see this. Her eyes wide spotting Naruto manhandle Cell. She with shock clear in her voice asked, "How is this possible?" Jinx laughing said, "Girl, you're witnessing a god play with the life of an ant. My little brother could reduce this entire planet into ashes if he wanted to." Jinx then rubbing her muzzle said, "In fact this entire thing is nothing but a very high training session his sisters wanted him to do." 18 hearing this felt her eyes nearly fall out of her head. She looking at Jinx asked, "Are you serious?" Jinx giving the android a deadpan look said, "I'm as serious as a heart attack." 18 sweat dropped hearing this. She was about to ask another question when Karen cheered, "Give me an N, give me an A. Give me an R. Give me a U. Give me a." 18 sweat dropped hearing this. Natsumi then cried out, "Hit the ugly bug in the face Naruto." 18 turning felt the sweat drop grow bigger, spotting the 5-year-old girl standing not too far from her. Kami giggling said, "Android 18 has just woken up. Get a good look people as she is Naruto's reward for battling and defeating Cell." 18 blinked when she felt herself be twirled around. Tsubasa giggling said, "That's right, this girl right here will be my brother's reward. She has 34D cup breast, has never had any children, and is a natural blonde. Naruto is going to absolutely love her." 18 blushed hearing all of this wondering how Tsubasa knew she was a natural blonde. Naruto yawning was letting Cell hit him with everything he had. He was getting bored and that was a bad thing. Cell growling in anger said, "Why can't I hurt you?" Naruto laughing said, "Because you're a weak little bug that somebody forgot to spray with insecticide." The enraged Cell. He flying high into the sky said, "I'll make you pay for that statement." Naruto looking up blinked as Cell was charging up another attack. Naruto sensing the danger in this attack closed his eyes and charged up his own attack. Cell having the attack said, "Take this. Spirit bomb." Naruto opening his eyes said, "No, I think it's time I ended you." Sphere of destruction. From his mouth a very big bowl of pure energy appeared. Naruto tossing it watched as it collided with Cell's spirit bomb. He laughed as it absorbed Cell's spirit bomb and launched right at the insect-like man. Cell with wide eyes said, "This can't be happening." He was then wiped from existence and everyone was stunned at what Naruto had just done. Naruto floating over to the location of the others was then blocked by Natsumi who was babbling at 1,000,000 miles an hour. He laughing gently patted her head and said, "I'm guessing that was exciting Natsumi." Natsumi nodding said, "It was amazing Naruto." He laughing at this turned to Karen who once again had hearts in her eyes, spotting the amazing power of Naruto. Jinx jumping on his head yawned and asked, "Was that even a challenge for you Naruto?" He laughing said, "Of course not." His eyes then narrowed feeling Cell's energy signature appear. Turning his head he narrowed his eyes, spotting a fully healed Cell with more power it seems. Cell smirking said, "Regeneration, what a wonderful thing." He then dropping into a ready stance said, "Now let's begin round 2. Naruto snorting said, "You should have just died." He then vanished and the sound of fist colliding could be heard. Seconds later Naruto appeared with a few bruises on his body. Cell also appearing had a huge scowl on his face because even with his new power-up, he was barely even harming Naruto. Naruto smiling said, "Now this is more like it. Let's see how you handle me at 30% of my full power." Everyone besides Tsubasa, Kami and Jinx blanched hearing this. Even Cell blanched hearing this. It looked like Naruto flexed, but everyone could tell that his body has just got a major boost of energy. Naruto, now glowing, said, "Don't blink." Sadly, everyone blinked and Cell was now missing the upper half of his body, and his legs were kicking. Naruto then appeared over the lower half and said, "Dance." He didn't even move this time, but huge explosions occurred and the legs were damaged heavily. Cell then regenerated, just in time to be punched so hard his chest exploded. Naruto, laughing very loudly, said, "This is what nature calls a feeding frenzy." He then became little more than a blur as he locked Cell in a cradle of pain. 1 minute Cell had a full body, the next he was missing 3 of his limbs and bleeding out of the nose. Cell inside of the cradle could do nothing but cry out in agony. Naruto then appearing directly in front of him said, "Kanton, Inferno Phoenix Jutsu." Cell screamed out as his body erupted in fire, the flames taking the shape of a massive phoenix. Naruto, laughing, made his 2 fingers fuse and said, "Slice and dice." Cell screamed as he was slashes multiple times and was literally turned into little cubes of Cell. Naruto then smirking said, "Blow away, fool." He then licked his lips and Cell was blown away by a powerful wind. Cell, with a little time, he had called out solar flare. Naruto was finally forced to back off when this happened. Beholding his eyes was cursing up a storm. Cell, being allowed to recover, started charging up for his last-ditch attack, hoping that he would be able to kill Naruto with this. Naruto, finally opening his eyes, glared at Cell, just as said android cried out, "This is the end for you." Perfect Kamehameha. He then fired a gigantic Kamehameha at Naruto. Naruto, tilting his head, said, "Now you perish, insect." Omega Kamehameha. The 2 giant attacks collided and it looked about equal until Naruto smirked and created 2 clones. The clones, glaring at Cell, said Kamehameha. Naruto's attack was then powered up enough to consume Cell's attack and consume him. Cell's last words were "No." He then vanished with a whimper. Naruto, snorting, searched for Cell's energy signature and sighed, feeling it finally pass into the afterlife. He, turning around, was glumped by both Karen and Natsumi. He, laughing, patted Natsumi on the head and tried to get Karen off of him. He was having about as much luck as Sasuke has with his fangirls. He, sighing, asked, "Are we done here, Ni-chan's, because I'm really sleepy and that damn cheap shot by the roach stung my eyes." Tsubasa, walking over to Naruto, checked out his eyes and said, "Sure, but you do know that you have yet another date with Yuago-chan tonight, right?" Naruto's eyebrow started twitching, said, "Ni-chan, you're really lucky that Yuago is my girlfriend now, or I'd prank you so hard you'd be paranoid for the next millennium." Tsubasa, hearing this, paled and said, "Then it's a good thing you're going out, right?" Naruto, snorting, said nothing, but simply climbed on the back of the salamence. Laying down on it, he placed Jinx on his stomach and said, "Whatever." Kami, giggling, snapped her fingers and they all vanished from view. The Z-fighters and the rest of the world was shocked. Krillin was stunned that the woman he had started liking was gone. He blinked though when another Android 18 appeared, covered in the slime from Cell's stomach. Naruto, back in his home dimension, was still on the back of his salamence, with Jinx curled up on his stomach, all 3 of them asleep. Karen had grabbed Natsumi and taken her home to the Namikaze family. Tsubasa and Kami were helping 18 learn about her new world and things like that. Salamence was sleeping in the middle of training ground 8, so eventually somebody showed up wanting to train. They, spotting the dragon, boy and fox sleeping, got extremely upset and screamed. This was a very costly mistake as he was hit with a flamethrower from Salamence, blasted with a Kamehameha by Naruto, and tail smacked by Jinx. The poor fool was as good as dead. Naruto, cracking open his right eye, cursed as his eyes still stung from the solar flare. He, deciding to sing his new Salamence back to sleep, summoned his band. He, grabbing a guitar, let his female clone take the lead with this song. The female clone, smiling, closed her eyes and said, "This song is for you, my lovely Salamandra, and for my lovely Yu-chan, my precious Beanie Haim, my rebel queen, the lovely Makoto-chan, and the elegant Hitachi-chan." She then, opening her eyes, revealed her spinning Chaosigan. She, letting loose a ton of chakra, applied a Jinjutsu on the area, turning it into a first point of view from her eyes. She then, shaking her long hair, waited until she was sure the entire village could hear her and said, "It's called Wanted, and I just came up with it. Well, my Makoto-chan, Yu-chan and Hitachi-chan snuggled with me last night. Here we go, Wanted by Hunter Hayes. I don't own." Also, picture a female singing. "You know I'd fall apart without you. I don't know how you do what you do, cause everything that don't make sense about me makes sense when I'm with you. Like everything that's green, girl, I need you. But it's more than one, and one makes two. Put aside the math and the logic of it, you gotta know you're wanted too, cause I wanna wrap you up, wanna kiss your lips, I wanna make you feel wanted, I wanna call you mine, wanna hold your hand forever, never let you forget it, yeah. I wanna make you feel wanted. Anyone can tell you you're pretty, and you get that all the time. I know you do, but your beauty's deeper than the makeup, and I wanna show you what I see tonight. When I wrap you up, when I kiss your lips, I wanna make you feel wanted, and I wanna call you mine, wanna hold your hand forever, never let you forget it, cause baby, I wanna make you feel wanted as good as you make me feel. I wanna make you feel better, better than your fairy tales, better than your best dreams. You're more than everything I need, you're all I ever wanted, and I just wanna wrap you up, wanna kiss your lips, I wanna make you feel wanted, and I wanna call you mine, wanna hold your hand forever, never let you forget it, yeah, I wanna make you feel wanted baby, I wanna make you feel wanted, you'll always be wanted. She took a deep breath knowing that she wasn't done just yet. She, closing her eyes, said, this one is for Beanie Haim. It's how I feel whenever I'm away from her for long periods. It's also for Tsunami-chan back in Wave. It's called Far Away. I hope you guys and girls like it. Far Away by Nickelback. I don't love this song though. This time, this place, misused, mistakes, too long, too late, who was I to make you wait? Just one chance, just one breath, just in case there's just one left, cause you know that I love you, I have loved you all along, and I miss been far away for far too long. I keep dreaming you'll be with me, and you'll never go, stop breathing if I don't see you anymore on my knees. I'll ask last chance for one last dance, cause with you I'd withstand all of hell to hold your hand. I'd give it all, I'd give for us, give anything, but I won't give up, cause you know that I love you, I have loved you all along, and I miss you. Been far away for far too long, I keep dreaming you'll be with me, and you'll never go, stop breathing if I don't see you anymore. So far away, been far away for far too long, so far away, been far away for far too long, but you know I wanted you to stay, cause I need to hear you say that I love you. I have loved you all along, and I forgive you for being away for far too long, so keep breathing, cause I'm not leaving, hold on to me, and never let me go. Keep breathing, cause I'm not leaving you anymore, believe it, hold on to me, and never let me go. Keep breathing, hold on to me, and never let me go. Keep breathing, hold on to me, and never let me go. The female, once again taking a breath, said, this song is for Tsum-chan, Anko ni, Aim-chan, Jinx ni, and Yoshino-chan. It's a representation of how you make me feel, or what I hope to happen someday. It's called Heartbeat. Heartbeat by Stereo Skyline. I don't own, so baby keep my heartbeat beating, and the sole reason I keep believing that we're gonna die like this, oh Abbott, beating Abbott, beating, hey, beautiful, the sunshine shines oh so bright, alright, laid back, I'll spend the night just staring at you, for every grain of sand that you drew me pictures in. There was one for every time that my heart dropped again. So baby keep my heartbeat beating, and the sole reason I keep believing that we're gonna die like this, oh heart, beating, close your eyes, don't say a word, you're way too beautiful, you heard. The way my heart keeps beating for every grain of sand that you drew me pictures in. There was one for every time my heart dropped again. So baby keep my heartbeat beating, and the sole reason I keep believing that we're gonna die like this, oh. So baby keep my heartbeat beating, and the sole reason I keep believing that we're gonna die like this, oh. Abbott, beating Abbott, beating Abbott, beating Abbott, beating, so baby keep my heartbeat beating, so baby keep my heartbeat beating, the sole reason I keep believing that we're gonna die like this, oh. So baby keep my heartbeat beating, and the sole reason I keep believing that we're gonna die like this, oh. For every grain of sand that you drew me pictures in, there was one for every time that my heart dropped again. The clones all vanished, and Naruto got up from his comfy napping place. He blinked when Yuago appeared along with Mikoto. Both females had hungry looks in their eyes. Naruto blinked when he found himself in the Uchiha compound, the bedroom of the house Mikoto and Hitachi had chosen to live in. He, hearing a door locked, blinked, spotting Mikoto dropping her dress, along with Yuago taking off her Anbu armor. Both women were then down to just their bra and panties. Naruto was about to ask what's going on when Hitachi appeared garbed in her Akatsuki robes. Just her Akatsuki robes. All three women then licked their lips and said, Naruto-kun, those were such beautiful songs, and Tsubasa-sama informed of us of your battle with that android cell. Yuago, moving closer to him, said, she told us that your eyes might still be hurting from his sneak attack. Mikoto, stepping forward, said, so the three of us decided to heal your body the only way we know how. Hitachi, with a small smile on her face, said, today you pop my cherry, Naruto-kun, and I give you my everything. Naruto, hearing this, felt a small blush creep onto his face. He then heard Yuago say, privacy seal activate, barrier seal activate, silencing seal activate. He witnessed all three seals activate. Mikoto, then crossing her hands in front of her face, said, fertility jutsu activate. Yuago, crossing her hands in front of her, said, anti-pregnancy jutsu activate. Hitachi, with a smile on her face, said, 2x fertility jutsu activate. Hitachi and Makoto both glowed a bright pink, while Yuago glowed a sky blue. Naruto gulping knew he was in trouble. The next morning Naruto was in a tangled mess of sheets, he was sleeping peacefully though. He then waking up managed to climb out of the bed, not without being groped at least 12 times. He putting his pants back on, walked outside of the home and ignored the wide-eyed Sasuke standing not too far from the door. He was about halfway to the raiment stand when he was glumped by Karen and Natsumi. He rolling his eyes tried to push Karen off of him, but sadly it wasn't working. He sighing again, teleported himself to the raiment stand and ordered about 6 bowls. He downing the first 3 in seconds, handed the 4th to Natsumi and the 5th to Karen. He was about to down the 6th one when Jinx appeared and started to eat out of the bowl. He sweat dropping ordered more bowls and soon found himself eating with Jinx, Natsumi, Karen, Kin, and awake Hitachi, Ino, and Kurenai. For some reason he felt like someone or something was missing. His eyes then widened when Anko appeared with a visible pout on her face. She then loosing the pout and gaining a smirk said, "My little brother is becoming such a ladies' man. I can't to tell my future nephews and nieces about their daddy." Naruto sweat dropping at this statement and wondered what he ever did to get such a fucked up family. He shrugging was about to eat his last bowl of ramen, but blinked spotting Jinx curled up in the empty bowl, a few pieces of ramen visible in her red fur. Sweat dropping he said, "That's it, I'm going back to sleep." He then laid his head down on the bar and was soon sleeping. He sleeping so deeply he didn't even notice when Jinx climbed on his head and said, "Yep, his head is most definitely my favorite sleeping place. I mean it just feels like an extra den." She was then sleeping along with Naruto missing the sweat drops on everyone's heads. Chapter 9 The next day Naruto and the rest of the contestants were down on the field ready for the finals to begin. Naruto looked like he had seen better days and there was still some drool on the side of his face. He ignoring how Genma announced the matches, floated into the air and gently fell down in the competitor's box. He was about to go to sleep when Itsumi appeared and glumped him. This forced him to wake up and try to get the little girl off of him. It didn't work so he sighed and watched Sasuke defeat his opponent. Rolling his eyes as the little twitted used one of his lightning jutsu, he sent Natsumi to her mother. Floating down to the arena floor, he looked at Kankuro who had an arrogant smirk on his face. Naruto wondering why asked, "Why are you so happy for a dead man?" Kankuro snorting said, "Because my father and Lady Chiyo gave me something to be on equal playing field with you." Naruto hearing this blinked and asked, "What's that?" Kankuro smirking reached into his pocket and pulled out a vial of purple liquid. The laughing said, "In this tube is the concentrated blood of the mighty Kaguya clan of Kiri, some of your blood, and the DNA of Hashirama Senju and Madara Uchiha." Naruto blinked hearing this said, "The only way any of that would work is if you had one of those cursed seals Orochimaru is so proud of." Kankuro laughing, pulled down his shirt to reveal the cursed seal of heaven on his chest. Naruto rolled his eyes spotting this and said, "Oh great. Petamaru gave someone else his evil Hiki of Doom." He tilting his head said, "That reminds me. Anko, tilt your head to the left for a few seconds." Anko blinking did so and gained wide eyes when Naruto said, "I invoke my name Otsutsuki, part of the god tree." Naruto the maelstrom inside. "I invoke my title, God of Technology, God of Destruction, God of Carnage. I invoke thy name, Otsutsuki Tsubasa, Queen of the Dead. Leader of the Black Parade. I invoke thy name Otsutsuki Yoko Jinx, my sword and shield, my ultimate defense. I invoke thy name Giratina, the rebellious queen of the distorted dimension." A huge flux of power could be felt and everyone was wide-eyed. None more so than Anko as the curse mark she had been forced to put up with was glowing. Naruto floating into the air, unleashed his nanobits from his body. They forming a huge cloud of billions of tiny silver robots, started to swirl around Naruto. Naruto's body then started to glow and Tsubasa quickly realized what was happening. She smiling said, "He's activating his one true god form. The form he will take on when he is summoned to the council. The form mortals will be worshipping centuries from now. The form that will forever be burned into the minds and souls of the ones watching." As if to confirm what she had just said, the very earth started to shake and thunder was heard above. Jinx smelling blood looked up. Her eyes widened when a single drop of blood fell from the sky. Tsubasa spotting the blood, looked up at the sky along with everyone else, including Kankuro. Black lightning flashed in the sky and like a gunshot starting a race, a torrential downpour of what looked like rain fell from the sky. Everyone quickly realized though that this wasn't water, no what was falling from the sky could be considered biblical. It was raining blood. Ara opening his mouth spoke in a demonic voice, "Rejoice as our Lord has decided to bless us with his bounty." He then closing his mouth said, "The blood of the damned, all of the souls killed in the name of the curse mark and Orochimaru's name." Everyone hearing what he said, blanched, this including Orochimaru himself as he knew that was enough blood to drown half the world. Itsumi with her eyes on Naruto said, "Look, he's changing." All eyes moved to Naruto who indeed was changing. His platinum blonde hair lost all traces of its spikiness. Thick black lines appeared on his face, right where his whiskers were, transforming them into runes. The blood raining down from the sky coated his entire body, and from his back huge wings appeared. These being drenched in blood. The thick red or white goop from before appeared on his hands, but some nanobits could be seen inside of the goop. He gained a tail that quickly took the form of his deadly scythe. To the surprise of the ones watching, 2 more pairs of wings burst from his back, this quickly followed 4 more wings. His hair then got longer and was now down to the middle of his back. He then landing on the ground turned to Anko and raised his left hand. He with a powerful reverb in his voice said, I invoke thy name Otsutsuki Naruto. With this power I hereby purge Otsutsuki Mitarashi Anko of the tainted soul of Orochimaru. I cleanse her of his evil and bond her with an nanotic release. I hereby declare her as the goddess of technology and torture. I hereby remove from her the shackles of human living and hereby accept her into the Otsutsuki family. Anko was lifted off of her feet and surrounded by the nanobits. When the robots vanished, Anko was floating there without her curse seal, with happy tears pouring from her eyes. She with the biggest smile on her face said, thank you so much my darling little brother. Naruto reverting to normal smiled and said, you're welcome Ni-chan, after all you helped mold me into what I am today, why not pay you back by removing what that traitor did to you? Naruto snapping his fingers made the earth stop shaking and the blood rain vanish. Naruto now looking at the shocked Kankuro said, now as for you I'd like to try something out. He swiping his hand in the air, made a light blue screen appear. He smiling floated up to Natsumi who was looking at him with stars in her eyes. He smiling at her said, Natsumi-chan and Kushina-san will be helping me out with a little experiment dealing with technology. He placing the screen in front of Natsumi turned around and snapped his fingers. Kankuro blinked when the arena returned to normal. Kushina blinked though when the blue screen expanded and words appeared on it. The words read, welcome to Naruto Incorporate brand new combat simulator version 1.5. This simulator is designed to create a safe and fun environment where children of powerful shinobi can learn how to fight without actually having to fight. The rules are simple, win. Now then please enter your names. Kushina blinking entered both of their names. She blinked when the screen expanded and a bunch of question marks appeared. Naruto spotting this said, SELENA override command code. Password the perfect android's name. Full access grant. Kushina and Natsumi blinked when a robotic female voice said, password accepted. Full access granted. Base form unlocked, super form unlocked, hyper form unlocked, all powers unlocked, mega form unlocked. Alternate attire unlocked, all weapons unlocked. God forms unlocked. The voice then said, welcome Kushina and Natsumi. You have been given full access. Now please inform me of what 3 beings you wish to combine. Kushina blinked and asked beings. Selena said, pardon me, you do not have a list, nor do you know. Naruto built this simulator with the intent on being able to combine the powers and forms of anyone saved in the database. The player can combine up to 6 beings to make their avatar. Since the 2 of you are playing together, each of you get 3 choices. Kushina blinking asked, may I have that list now Selena? Selena said, it is now accessible to the both of you now. Please take your time. The list appeared and Kushina was shocked at all of the people in the database. There was even every member of the Pokemon in the database. She blinked when Selena said, Natsumi has chosen her 3 beings. Kushina looking down at Natsumi's screen, blinked spotting the 3 beings. It was Naruto, Jinx, and something with 6 arms named Machamp. Kushina shaking her head looked over her list and decided to choose Naruto, someone named Gogeta, and Giratina. She then heard Selena say compiling choices. 2 choices the same, 2 Pokemon with 6 arms selected. She then said, processing done. Your being is ready to be used. Press the green button on the screen to summon your warrior. Kushina and Natsumi both pressed the button. Kushina blinked finding her eyes in the clouds as she descended rapidly. She looking down gained wide eyes spotting the arena approaching fast. Landing she blinked actually feeling the ground shake from something impacting the ground. She peering out from behind the screen gained wide eyes spotting a being that made the Kyuubi look like a kitten hissing. Towering in the arena floor was a gray-skinned man-beast with 6 arms bulging with muscle. It had a huge human-shaped head with golden pincers and horns on its head. It had Naruto's Dojutsu and Kushina could make out 9 side-like tails swing behind it. She moving back to the screen blinked as this was the creature she had helped create. Natsumi giggling clapped her hands and said cool. Naruto laughing said, may I present to you Kankuro the Sand, Menma, the combined choices of Natsumi and Kushina. His main feature comes from myself. His 6 arms come from one of my lovely Pokemon named Machamp and from my rebellious queen Giratina. Its 9 tails come from Jinx and the scythe part is of course my signature weapon. He then laughing at the clear fear in Kankuro's eyes said, you my friend just brought a knife to gunfight. He then turning to Natsumi and Kushina said, you may begin at any time. Natsumi hearing this pressed the button that said Kai Blast. Kankuro ducked when the beast fired a Kai Blast at him. Kushina shaking her head, pressed dash forward. Menma did so, and Natsumi started swinging the arms like they were clubs. Kushina then pressed a power called Pull. She blinked when the wide-eyed Kankuro was pulled towards Menma. Natsumi looking over the powers quickly pressed corroding beam cannon. Kankuro replaced himself with a log just in time to avoid being destroyed by said attack. Naruto sitting with Jinx in his lap had what looked like a tablet in his hands, typing very fast as his eyes captured every moment. Kushina pressing a power that said Sonic Roar, blinked when Menma roared. Naruto and Jinx wincing said, that damn roar just fried my hearing. If Kankuro had shields they would be fried right now. Jinx whimpering said, I hate the Sonic Roar. Natsumi clapping pressed 4 powers, each one involving the arms. She had pressed Thunder Punch, Fire Punch, Ice Punch and Bullet Punch. Menma roaring drew back all 6 of his arms. Kankuro blanched when 3 fists lit on fire, 3 became coated in ice, and 3 became cloaked with lightning. Menma then vanished, and Kankuro was forced to use his puppet to avoid being caught in an almighty shitstorm of punches. Naruto nodding said, Bullet Punch can be combined with Thunder Punch, Fire Punch and Ice Punch. Interesting. Kushina then pressed a power that read Death Beam Barrage. All 6 arms then stopped with their attacks and started to fire death beams like they were bullets. Kankuro hiding behind a tree quickly swallowed to liquid and activated his curse mark. He grunting had to bend over and hold his stomach to keep from puking. Blood started leaking out of his nose and his chakra pathways started to burn. He then falling to his knees transformed. He went from looking like a human boy to a dog-human hybrid. He standing to his feet roared and launched forward at Menma. Kushina spotting this coming looked at the defensive powers. Spotting one that said Perfect Barrier, she pressed it. The transformed Kankuro bounced off a large purple barrier that appeared around Menma. Kankuro getting up growled and unleashed a powerful stream of black fire from his mouth. Natsumi spotting this scowled and pressed Fire Blast. Kushina had also pressed a powerful fire attack. She had pressed Flamethrower. The barrier dropped and Menma was hit by Kankuro's fire for about 5 seconds, dropping his health slightly. Menma then unleashed a white-hot flame from his mouth that for some reason took the form of a dragon. The 2 fire attacks looked equal, and Kushina for some reason felt insulted at this. She looking for another attack smiled spotting one that read Sacred Fire. She pressing this, smirked when Menma was shrouded in a cloak of white flames and his fire attack doubled in power. Kankuro spotting this whimpered and moved away quickly. The landing was surprised when Menma appeared in front of him with a glowing fist. He trying to catch the fist, let loose a howl as the punch was painful. Natsumi stuck her tongue out at this as she said, that's what you get. She had pressed the power Mega Punch. Kushina realizing that they still had 5 hands free, pressed Gatling Gun, Atomic Buster and Giga Cannon. Kankuro felt his eyes widen, spotting 2 sets of hands combine into a cupping motion, while the last one literally started rotating. He letting go of the hand moved just in time to dodge a giant green laser, a bright blue Kai Blast, and several bullets. He growling summoned some bones from his spine and started to spin real quickly. Blasting towards Menma he collided with Menma causing said being to lose a lot of health. Kushina spotting this got worried until she heard Naruto say, that move was pretty powerful. Kushina you can switch Menma into healing form, but you'll be defenseless until he's fully healed. She then actually heard him smirk and say, or you can activate super form and let him heal from the absorption of nature chakra. Kushina hearing this blinked and asked Selena what is super form. Selena humming said, super form is much like Sage mode for this world, abilities for the Pokemon are Super Saiyan for the other world. Using this form allows each character to boost their attacks and defenses. The other properties differ from each character. Kushina asked, what about Menma? Selena humming again asked, which version of Menma? Kushina blinking asked, which version is this one? Selena humming said version 4.0, the monster version. Let's see. Menma-san once transforming into super form will naturally absorb nature chakra to heal himself, giving him a pseudo form of invulnerability. His already tremendous strength is boosted to the point that just a touch with his finger is deadly. This is at the cost of his speed, and he will most likely take longer to charge up more powerful attacks like Solar Beam or Spirit Bomb. Kushina hearing this stored all of this information and said activate super form. She gained wide eyes hearing Menma roar. She peeking out from behind her screen gained wide eyes when Menma tripled in size. She then looking at the screen felt her jaw drop, spotting the giant boost Menma got to his attack power, health, special attack power, and recovery time. Shaking her head she watched as Natsumi pressed something called Dance Fools. Menma let out a loud roar and everyone watches as huge explosions appeared in the arena, hitting everything besides Kankuro, who was moving as fast as he could. Kushina spotting pure destruction so wanted to use it but knew that it would take a long time to create. So she instead chose something called "This is foolish." She gained wide eyes when Menma roared and his tails attacked. Kankuro, dodging the tails, roared himself and shot forward. He, clamping down on one of Menma's tails, tried to shake a chunk away. Natsumi, spotting this, smirked and pressed a button that said "Parabolic Charge." Kushina blinked when Menma glowed a bright pink. She then watched as Menma's health quickly filled up to full, and for some reason his low speed gained a slight boost. Naruto, smiling at this, said, "I didn't think my modifications to Parabolic Charge would take. I was wrong, it seems." Anko was now sitting right beside Naruto, tilted her head and asked, "What are you talking about?" Dinks, who had been watching the battle, said, "Naruto-kun is talking about a Pokemon move called Parabolic Charge that certain Pokemon can use to regain health from their opponent, depending on how much damage it does." Naruto modified it by adding that the health benefits would be divided in half and would be split with the lowest factor. Naruto, taking over here, said Menma's speed was the lowest in his super form. So his speed gained a small boost. If Natsumi were as smart as I think she is, she'd use Parabolic Charge again and boost the speed again. Anko, hearing this, thought that the strategy was pure genius. Others were looking at him like he had just spoken another language. Kankuro, having heard the little explanation, quickly let go before Natsumi could use the attack again. He then leaped back as a fist slammed down where he was. He, roaring, covered himself in bones and started to spin. He, turning into a twister of white, launched at Menma. Natsumi, spotting this, pressed Sandstorm. Kankuro was then pelted with an intense sandstorm, forcing him to stop his spin. Kushina, spotting the chance, started to charge up something called Universal Spear. She, looking, realized that this attack only needed 2 hands, so she, spotting Kankuro coming, pressed Burning Attack. She blinked as it only took up 1 hand. Natsumi then pressed Swords Dance and Dragon Dance. Kushina felt her eyes widen when Menma's attack gained a huge boost, and then his speed went up until it was about equal to his special defense. Then from Menma's hand a huge red ball launched to Kankuro, who couldn't dodge in time. He, whimpering, managed to get to his feet. His eyes widened, feeling a huge build-up in power where his opponent was. Naruto, being curious at what attack they had chosen, opened his menu. He, spotting the attack, whistled and said, "If that attack even reaches 50% and lands, this match is over." Jinx blinked, hearing this, and looked up at the screen. Her eyes widened, spotting what the attack was, and said, "Naruto-kun, with the boost Natsumi just gave him, at 30% this match was over." Everyone hearing this wondered what this attack was. Anko, looking at the attack, asked, "What in the hell is Universal Spear?" Naruto, turning to look at Anko, said, "It's something I learned from Mom. Remember pure destruction from when I defeated the pervert? Well, take that and triple the pure power, but lessen the shock value." Anko, hearing this, felt her jaw scrape the ground, along with everyone who had seen said jutsu. Kushina herself, hearing this, really wanted to see this attack. Natsumi, looking at how much power it had, smiled as it was already at 30%. She, deciding to stall for time, pressed Sand Clone and Shadow Clones. Kankuro cursed when he was now forced to fight an army of clones. Kushina was surprised that she could control the clones. Smiling, she and Natsumi started to bring the pain down on Kankuro, who was having a hard time keeping up with the clones. Kushina then noticed that the charge was at 75%. Just then Kankuro managed to destroy the clones attacking him. He, roaring, made bones come out of his arms and his spine to come out like a tail. Roaring, he charged forward. Kushina, realizing that this was Kankuro's most powerful attack, pressed attack with the Universal Spear. The sand then cleared and everyone gasped, spotting Menma with 2 hands holding a giant multicolored spear. Naruto, with a smile on his face, said, "Behold the divine power of the Universal Spear." The spear was then launched to Kankuro, who spun like a drill. The head of the spear, touching Kankuro, literally started to turn the boy into dust. Kankuro screamed as all of his upgrades wore off and he was once again a normal boy. The battle was then over and Naruto was declared winner. Naruto, transforming and splitting Menma into a bracelet and necklace, watched as the bracelet was given to Natsumi, who had stars in her eyes. The necklace floated down and put itself around the blushing Kushina's neck. The blue screens transformed into earrings for both females. Naruto, once done with that, returned to the competitor's box and went to watch the rest of the matches and plan on what to do once the invasion started. He then blinked when Gaara was declared the winner. Looking up, he smiled as Gaara had just defeated Neji. Shaking his head, he blinked as this meant it was his turn to battle with either Temari or Sasuke. Either way, he was going to have fun. Genma, spotting the two who were about to battle, shook his head and asked, "Will Uchiha Sasuke and Otsutsuki Naruto please come down for their match?" Naruto, hearing that he was facing the duck-ass, smirked and floated down to the arena. Dink, sitting in Anko's lap, said, "I really hope the Uchiha doesn't have any regrets, because today he dies." Anko, laughing, asked, "Naruto is gonna stomp a mudhole in the spoiled brat." Jink, snorting, said, "A mudhole is too shallow. Naruto is going to stomp a lake into the Uchiha, and then some." Hitachi then asked, "Will he really defeat my foolish little brother so easy?" Everyone blinked when a drunk woman looking like a younger version of Tsubasa appeared and said, "My cute little brother is going to kick the stick out of the duck's ass." Jinx snickering said Yomi-sama put it best. Naruto down on the field was smirking at the arrogant Sasuke. Sasuke asked, "Are you going to let that little girl and old whore fight your battles again, dope?" Naruto blinked hearing this and said, "How rude. Natsumi may be 5, yet she's 10 times better than you. Kushina-sen is only 30, and last time I checked that was not old. Hell, I'm in a relationship with your mother who is 2 years older than Kushina-san, yet you wouldn't call her old. I also don't believe Kushina-san to be a whore, as by all accounts the only person she has had sex with is Yadame-san." Sasuke scowling said, "I have no mother. Only a fool would be in a relationship with a weakling like you." Naruto sighing said, "I'd rather be facing Temari-chan right now. At least she's gorgeous, and everything that comes out of her mouth isn't something along the lines of bullshit." Everyone hearing this laughed very loudly, excluding Sakura who had switched back to Sasuke and was glaring at Naruto with hate. Sasuke growling said, "I'm going to enjoy killing you. After that I'll have my way with that whore of a sister and your ugly girlfriend." Naruto hearing this unleashed his killing intent and everyone felt like they were standing in front of a god. Anko realizing what was about to happen laughed very loudly and said, "Famous last words of Uchiha Sasuke." Everyone blinked wondering why she said this until Naruto started to unleash a torrent of chakra. Naruto with pure rage in his eyes said, "You just fucked up you stupid piece of shit Uchiha." Naruto lifting his hand said, "Prepare to die." Naruto then vanished and Sasuke could be seen bouncing around the arena. Hell, bouncing was the literal term. When Naruto appeared he was crackling with electricity. Sasuke standing to his feet growled and activated his Sharingan. Naruto snorting activated his Dijutsu and said, "Thanks for reminding me, Dumbus. Now then." He smirked and said, "Dance, fool." He didn't even more, but explosions shook the ground, forcing Sasuke to move as fast as he could to avoid being blown to pieces. He was moving so much that he hadn't even noticed that Naruto had stopped his attack. He noticed when he was kicked high into the air. Naruto appearing grabbed Sasuke's legs and said, "Take this, team." Taijutsu, power bomb. He then crashed into the ground and smoke billowed out. Naruto walking out of the smoke said, "This match is over." His eyes narrowed when a fireball came barreling towards him. He moving his head turned to find Sasuke standing there with his curse mark visible and pulsing. Naruto groaning said, "I fucking forgot Petamaru gave you that evil hickey of doom also." He turning around actually started to look at what the curse seal did to Sasuke's body. He spotting the nature chakra Sasuke was drawing and blinked and said, "The snake's curse seal is basically an attempt at forcing sage mode into his victims." He shaking his head said, "Stupid Petamaru, you can't force sage mode into anyone, but allow me to show you what a true sage looks like." He closing his eyes started to draw on nature chakra ignoring Sasuke rushing towards him. He drawing in enough caught Sasuke's fist and opened his eyes. They shocked everyone watching as they looked like Kami's eyes. Naruto's hair then turned snow white and everyone watched as golden arches appeared on his shoulders. Naruto looking at Sasuke with apathy, said, "Behold the power of a sage." He then tossed Sasuke back like he was a fly. Naruto sighing in peace said, "Kami-chan's energy is so peaceful." He then stomping his right foot, made huge pillars of steel shoot up from the ground and tried to impale Sasuke. Naruto smiling said, "It's like a mother's love and Anko ni sleeping beside you at the same time." He then lifting his right hand, made huge waves of water try and smash Sasuke against the wall. He humming said, "It's like kissing Yugao-chan, cuddling with Kurenai-chan, dancing with Makoto-hime, stargazing with Hitachi-chan, and holding hands with Giratina-hime rolled into one big bowl of awesome." He lifting his other hand made lighting try to strike Sasuke. Sasuke dashing towards Naruto, blinked when he was smashed back by a huge earth wall. Naruto opening his mouth let a pink mist come out of his mouth as he said, "This is bliss and I wish I could stay in sage mode forever." He then tilting his head said, "Sadly I can't as sage mode is dangerous to the god of carnage, technology and destruction." He then summoning a sword said, "It matters not. This match is really over." The sword started to glow and Jinx with wide eyes somehow in Natsumi's lap, said, "Holy shit. He's about to do judgment slash." Natsumi looking down at Jinx asked, "What that foxy?" Jinx rubbing her head against Natsumi's hand said, "It's one of Kami-sama's ultimate attacks." Naruto holding the sword out said, "Senjutsu, judgment slash." He then vanished and the entire village hidden in the leaves shook from the power behind the attack. Naruto appearing normal jumped into the air as Sasuke was revealed to be missing both of his arms and basically barely even breathing. Everyone spotting the damage done to him whistled or shivered in fear. Suddenly everyone had to cover their ears as a loud screech nearly deafened them. All-eyed turning to the source rolled their eyes spotting Haruno Sakura trying to get to her Sasuke-kun crying about him having to be alright. Naruto turning to Sarutobi with pleading eyes was begging the old man to let him kill the pink-haired banshee. Sarutobi sighing shook his head no. Naruto sighed hearing this. The next match was Gaara versus some weak ninja, and honestly Naruto was really excited for his next match, as it was him versus Temari. He really wished that Karen would get off of him though, not that he didn't like her or anything, but every time she saw him or even felt him in her direction, she would glump him and not let go until she had to. He sighing decided to close his eyes and allow his body and mind to rest for a little while. Temari looking at Naruto couldn't help but wonder if she would side with him when the time came, or if she would do what her father had ordered her to do. Gaara walking up the stairs already knew that he was going to assist his master and lord and would kill all that Naruto ordered him to. Sakura back in her seat was glaring in Naruto's direction. Kain and Akane were trying to calm their beating hearts as Naruto had showed them that he was powerful and they already thought that he was good looking. Kain shaking her head said, Otsutsuki-sama is the one we are destined to be with. Akane blushing said, I can't wait to inform him that we are ready and willing to bear his children. Yugao standing beside Anko who was still glowing with power asked, I wonder if he'll let me sign the Pokemon contract someday. Anko giggling as her nanobits transformed into little snake said, that reminds me to ask him if I can sign it, since I'm an Otsutsuki now. Naruto looking at Naruto with pure lust said, he's my destined one. I will secure a place in his harem. Jiraiya in a wheelchair was really wishing that he hadn't foolishly battled Naruto, then maybe he could still be a ninja. Minato was praying that Naruto didn't kill him, but he got the feeling that he was going to die real soon. Kushina was trying to keep herself from getting turned on by the thought of Naruto, not thinking that she was old. Asuma was glaring at Naruto because in his opinion, Naruto had stolen Kurenai from him. Kurenai sitting beside Hitachi and Makoto was giggling as the three talked about their own dates with their Naruto-kun. Kin was sitting back in a chair very happy that she wasn't working for Orochimaru and was now Naruto's girl. She wasn't as bold as Karen, but she did find Naruto attractive. Ino was being held by Shikamaru to keep her from trying to do what Karen was doing. Shikamaru hating his life wondered why did he have such troublesome friends. Orochimaru was glaring at Naruto with hate as said boy had called him a pedophile twice already. Just because he liked little boys doesn't mean he was a pedophile. Naruto opened his eyes when it was time for his match with Temari. He teleporting to the arena floor smiled at Temari, who blushed. He surprising her walked over to her and kissed her hand. He looking her in the eyes said, my dear Temari-chan. You are as brilliant as the morning sun, as gorgeous as a midnight moon. He kissing up her arm and ignoring the blush she was gaining said, your skin as fair as possible. Your eyes as spectacular as fresh snow or a rainbow. He then reaching her neck, pulled her close to his body and said, your body is perfect as a sculpture, your hips perfect for bearing children. He then making her look him in the eyes said, run away with me Temari-chan. We can go discover the world together. Just the two of us for now and forever. Temari staring into his eyes asked, what about our families? Naruto leaning closer said, they don't have to know. Just the two of us my sweet, until Kami ni comes for out souls. Temari closing her eyes leaned in to kiss Naruto. Naruto leaning forward to kiss her was about to touch lips with her when someone coughed. Naruto turning to look at the blushing proctor asked, can I help you sir? The proctor nodding said, you can stop trying to make out with your opponent. Naruto shaking his head said, I am sorry friend, but her lips they call to me. Her thighs they scream for me. Begaining a devilish smile that made all of the females feel weak in the knees said, I cannot ignore her alluring call. He leaning Temari back said, her beautiful alluring call. Her sensual message. Her spine tingling whispers. He leaning forward to kiss Temari again, scowled when the proctor coughed again. He rounding on the man said, look you're being a real dick right now. All I want is to make out with my sexy opponent in front of everyone and maybe squeeze her rump a few times, but you keep cock blocking. He then walking up the proctor said, you've been cock-blocked before, I can tell you have. So do me a favor and stop screwing with my game. The proctor glaring at Naruto said, I have been cock-blocked before. It was by you brat. I was so close to betting my girlfriend when she heard you sing. Now she's a part of your bloody fan club and I'm single. Naruto hearing this said, that isn't my fault. If you had swept her off of her feet then everything would be good. The proctor snorting said, I swept her off of her feet. I nearly fucking died sweeping her off of her feet. The proctor with angry eyes asked, do you know how difficult it is to smuggle Iwa rock candy into the village? Naruto blinking said, not that hard as Karen-chan loves Iwa rock candy. I went out and got her some. He then taking on a thinking pose said, that reminds me I should go see Kuritsuchi Haim soon before she tells that old coot of it Tsuchikage that I deflowered her. Everyone hearing this gained wide eyes. Kakashi crying tears of pride said that a boy Naruto popping girls' cherries all across the elemental nations. Naruto rolling his eyes said, I've only popped 2 cherries Kakashi-sensei. Anko hearing this chuckled and said, not true Naruto. Naruto blinked hearing this. Turning to her he asked, what do you mean? Anko giggling said, you popped Yugao's cherry, along with Kin-chan, Karen-chan, Hana-chan, and Am-chan. Naruto hearing this blinked and asked, I've taken 7 people's virginity. Anko giggling said, did I forget to mention Kurenai, Ino, Tenten, Serena, Tsubasa and Jinx? Naruto hearing this felt his eyes widen as he asked 13 virgins. I've deflowered 13 virgins. Kakashi now openly weeping said, he's gonna earn himself a nickname amongst the females. Jiraiya crying in his wheelchair said, the Virgin Slayer. Kakashi then gained a bright smile on his face as he said, that's my little brother. Anko giggling said, I don't think he's done popping cherries. He probably plans on popping Tamari's, the 2 Namikaze girls, Kami-sama, the cute redhead, pretending to be a guard for Petamaru, Naruko-chan, and most likely Yami-san. Naruto with a tick mark on his head, said Anko stop telling everyone my plans. Anko still giggling said, I can't. The nanobits keep feeding me the information, and I keep releasing it. Naruto face-palming said, those damn nanobits are about as nosy as Amaterasu ni, but unlike her, they can't be bribed to go away. He sighing turned to Tamari who was confused. He smiling said, don't worry Tamari-chan. It will all become clear once Petamaru starts the invasion, which I advise you to help out Konoha, because if you don't. He then titling his head as white feathers started falling said, it's not gonna end well for you. A huge explosion then occurred and Gaara appeared beside Naruto dressed in what looked like priest robes. Tamari gained wide eyes spotting this. Naruto looking towards the sky smirked as a drop of blood fell on his face. He closing his eyes said, go wild Gaara, leave no sound or sand ninja alive. Besides Tamari-chan that is. Gaara bowing said, yes my lord. Mother and I will bath in their blood and increase your plentiful bounty. Gaara then vanished in a swirl of sand. Naruto opening his eyes ducked under an attack from a sound ninja. Naruto moving to the left smiled as the sound ninja was sliced into pieces by a strong wind blast. Naruto smiling at Tamari said, welcome to the religion of carnage. Bath in the blood of your enemies today Tamari-chan, because tomorrow. He licking his lips said, I make you scream my name until Kami-ni comes to investigate. He then tossing a lightning bolt behind him, smirked at the pained screams of the sand ninja, looking to attack him while he was talking to Tamari. Said girl was blushing blood red and had some blood dripping from her nose at what Naruto had just implied. She then jumped backwards when a few puppets tried to attack her. She looking up with angry eyes glared at Chio who said, stupid girl. You're supposed to be helping your home village not the enemy. Tamari getting her fan ready said, I fight for my family. My little brother that you put a tailed beast inside. My other brother who you turned into your plaything. She with a fire in her eyes said, today I pay you back for taking my mom away from me you old bitch. Chio snorting said, your mother was a worthless whore who deserved exactly what she got. Tamari screaming launched at Chio. Naruto standing on the roof beside Anko and Sarutobi smiled and said, so the battle begins. Chapter 10, Wars, New Gods, Revelations and Death of Orochimaru. Naruto smiling at Petamaru inside of the barrier along with Anko, Sarutobi and Minato asked, you look mad Petamaru, did I say something to upset you? Orochimaru snarling said, I would take your body brat, but you're too strong and your mouth is a little too smart for me. Naruto laughing said, I'm a god Petamaru. Orochimaru smirking said, so you claim, but let's see how you stand against the likes of Uchiha Madara and Senju Hashirama. Naruto blinking asked, are you about to do what I think you're about to do? Orochimaru smirking slapped his hands together and 4 coffins rose up from the ground. The first 2 had the numbers first and second on them. The third one had the kanji for Uchiha on it and the last one had the kanji for Salamander on it. Naruto watched as all 4 coffins opened. Naruto spotting the first Hokage, the second Hokage, Madara and Hanzo laughed and said, now this is a party. Naruto turning to Anko said, take on the second, see if you can rip his soul out. He turning to Sarutobi said, old man you team up with Namikaze to battle the Salamander. He cracking his knuckles said, I'll be taking on both Madara and Hashirama. He letting his Dojutsu flare to life said, it's time to find out how I stack up against 2 gods of shinobi. Sarutobi nodding dashed towards Hanzo with Minato right beside him. Anko letting her nanobit surge out shot towards Tobirama. Naruto looking at Madara, Hashirama and Orochimaru, turned to see Shikaku stomping down on Sand Ninja and slapping the stupid attacks from the sound away. Naruto smirking nipped his finger and said, I know you have a backup plan Petamaru, so allow me to bolster the odds. He blurring through hand signs slammed his hands down and said summoning jutsu, Groudon Titan of the land. Everyone gained wide eyes when a large brownish red dinosaur-like creature appeared and roared. At that moment an explosion happened in the forest and a huge release of demonic chakra was unleashed. From the forest the 5 tails appeared. Naruto spotting this at the Gobie. Groudon isn't going to be enough for that steam venting freak. He lifting up his hand said carnage release, benevolent offering of the god. Madara and Hashirama blinked when thunder rang out above the clouds. Naruto turning to Shikaku who was looking up at the sky, said bathe in the glory of your god. Shikaku gained wide eyes when drops of blood started to rain down on the village. Shikaku laughing loudly said, "My lord has given me his blessing. I am bathing in his glory." Everyone gained wide eyes when he then tripled in size and his sand turned blood red. Naruto closing his eyes let the blood fall down on him, loving how his rain could fall through anything. He opening his eyes could see Anko holding the arm of Tobirama with her tongue catching drops of blood. Naruto summoning a chalice out of nowhere lifted it up and let it fill up with blood. He smiling at the confused looks on Madara's and Hashirama's face said, "I talk a lot of shit when I'm drinking, baby. I'm known to go a little too fast. Don't mind my big sister, I know she's real crazy. But she's my favorite sister and I'm glad. That's all I'm gonna say, so fucker, can we dance?" He then teleporting the chalice away, let the flaming aura of Molters come to life and blurred towards Madara. Madara barely blocking the attack smirked and said, "You're strong, boy." Naruto coated in flames smirked and said, "This is gonna be the best fight so far." He then jumped into the air as tree roots and snakes came soaring towards him. Naruto spinning in the air let the flames take on the shape of a wheel. He crashing down cried out, "Flame wheel." Hashirama watched as the flames burned not only his wood but the snakes into ashes. Naruto standing up flexed his muscles said, "Dance fools." Explosions erupted around him and Orochimaru was barely able to dodge the attack from Naruto. Naruto feeling Madara coming with his signature weapon, unsealed Jinx sword in her base form. He swinging it felt the power of his sword clash with Madara. Madara feeling the power behind Naruto's sword smirked and said, "You're really good, boy." Naruto smirking said, "You ain't seen nothing yet." His body then started to glow and the flames of Molters tripled in size. Naruto smirking dangerously said, "Flame charge." Madara switching places with a log blinked as the log was turned into ashes. Hashirama dashing towards Naruto, jumped planning on landing a punch on Naruto. His eyes widened when his punch phased right through Naruto. Naruto placing his hand on the man said, "Lightning style, speed force." Hashirama was then sent flying, his body trying to put itself back together. Naruto clenching the handle of Jinx smirked when it transformed into a long chain-like sword. He starting to spin said chain and letting it get longer lit it on fire and could feel the air being sucked above and around him. He then ripping the chain out of the suction smirked when a huge twister of fire appeared. Jumping into the air he spun and to the shock of Orochimaru, Hashirama and the excitement of Madara kicked the twister towards them. Madara lifting his war fan up, slammed it down and destroyed the fire. He wasn't expecting for Naruto to appear on his war fan fist drawn back. He connecting a punch to the man's face, jumped into the air and started to move his hands at a very fast pace. When they stopped he had made a triangle with his thumbs and pointer fingers. Naruto pushing Kai through his body said, "Burning attack." Eyes widened when a huge orange ball came out of the triangle. Orochimaru switching places with a log, cursed as the spot he had been standing was a smoking crater. Naruto landing laughed and said, "That was fun." Orochimaru hearing this looked at Naruto with narrowed eyes, wondering what was wrong with this boy. Outside of the barrier Temari was having a little trouble with Chiyo who was only toying with Temari. Temari panting was about to curse her luck when suddenly all of Chiyo's puppets were turned into firewood. Temari moving her eyes blinked spotting Jinx in her human form glaring at Chiyo. Jinx walking over to Temari said, "I really hate puppets and old meddling bitches too." Chiyo scowling asked, "Who are you?" Jinx chuckling allowed her 9 blood-red tails to appear along with her fox ears. She smirking darkly at the blanching Chiyo said, "I am Jinx Yoko, but I prefer to be called Lady Jinx, Mistress of Destruction." Chiyo taking several steps back said, "Kyuubi." Jinx nodding said, "Correct, old bitch." She turning to the wide-eyed Temari said, "Now then Temari, I believe you owe this old bitch a proper ass kicking." Temari blinking suddenly smirked and said, "Why, come to think of it, I do." Chiyo hearing this gulped loudly knowing things were about to get bad for her. Kushina working with Makoto was taking down sand and sound shinobi left and right. Kushina slashing through a sound shinobi said, "This is really stupid." Makoto snapping the neck of the sand shinobi said, "It's raining blood Kushina, nothing right now is stupid." Shikamaru, Choji and Ino were helping their sensei take down any sand and sound ninja they came across. Kakashi was very upset that he was forced to guard Sakura as the girl was useless and he would rather let her die, but Guy had challenged him to see who could protect their students better and Kakashi was damned before he let Guy win this challenge. Karen and Kin were acting as bodyguards of Natsumi, who was confused, wondering where her brother and Foxy went. Itachi was tossing Pocky skewers at enemies killing them, making many of the Konoha ninja sweat drop. Kiba was ripping into his enemies and was excited for some reason unknown to him. Shino was simply unleashing huge swarms at Sand and Sound Ninja, not worried about running out, as Naruto's blood rain seemed to attract and invigorate more insects, including some leeches that attached to the Sand and Sound Ninja, just because they were covered in blood. Akane and Kain were slicing through enemies showing that they were indeed Kushina's daughters. Naruto was using a kunai to defend the civilians, not really worried about anything. Tenten was unleashing showers of sharpened kunai, ignoring how everyone sound shinobi she hit screamed very loudly. Jiraiya, being protected by Yugao, was wishing that he could battle and that he hadn't foolishly challenged Naruto to battle. Yugao herself was wondering why she was loving that it was actually raining blood. Back inside of the barrier, Anko laughing was using her new nanotic release and her snakes like clockwork on Tobirama Senju, who to his own shock, was struggling to put the girl down. Anko was also enjoying the rain her insane little brother had summoned. The herd was like bathing in the spoils of victory and she loved the way the blood felt on her skin. She rubbing her thighs together bit her lower lip as all of the blood was also turning her all the way on. She opening her mouth said nanotic release, iron spider jutsu. Tobirama gained wide eyes when the small robots fused together to create a suit of armor with spider-like qualities. Anko jumping into the suit licked her lips and said carnage and nanotic release. Combination jutsu, bloody metallic shockwave. From her body a huge wave of robots coated in blood came soaring at Tobirama, who screamed when they hit him. The robot started to bury not only into his body, but his very soul. Anko smirking pointed towards Tobirama with both of her arms. Hackling she said, nanotic release. Subcategory, Twin Ionic Cannons Jutsu. From her two arms huge dark purple beams came soaring at Tobirama, who to his shock couldn't move a single muscle. A huge explosion then occurred that rocked the area inside of the barrier. Sarutobi and Minato, getting their ass handed to them by Hanzo, felt the shockwave from the explosion. Sarutobi biting his lip said, damn it Anko. Minato trying to keep his focus on Hanzo, who had this taunting smirk on his face, said, Naruto may have turned her into a monster. Sarutobi was about to say something when his instincts told him to lift his hand up. He doing so blinked when he felt something cool hit his hand. He looking at it blinked as it was a test tube with a green goo-like substance in it. He looking up wondering where it came from, blinked spotting a rather large blue beetle. It had glowing pink eyes for some reason. It then opened its mouth and he was shocked to hear Naruto's voice come from it. He said, oi old man, my guess is that you and Namikaze Baka are getting your asses handed to you by the old salamander. Well, I decided to even the odds for that dated shinobi warhound. Inside the tube is the fourth successful fusion of my ultimate carnage release jutsu, Fumetsu no Sekai no Ajai taste of the immortal world, the base for nanotic release, and the alien parasite Kami ni gave me when I became a god. The parasite is known as the symbiote and, like you most likely guessed, forms a symbiotic relationship with its host. The nanobits will act as the host instead of you, and the jutsu will grant you access to your younger body, along with 3 alternate versions of yourself. Drink up old man and embrace your new life as a new minor god under the direct command of myself. Embrace your power and become Sarutobi Hiruzen, the god of the Samsara and alternatives. Sarutobi blinking looked at the tube and then looked at Minato getting smacked around by Hanzo. Shaking his head he removed the cork from the tube and drained it down his throat. He nearly gagged at the horrible taste and how slimy the stuff was. He shaking his head and making a disgusted face tossed the tube away. His eyes suddenly widened, feeling power surge through his body. He suddenly feeling the urge to roar did so. Minato and Hanzo both turned to look at him wondering why he had roared. Minato gasped, spotting Hiruzen looking like he was 30 again, no make that 24. A shiny green substance then started to cover Sarutobi's body in patches until his body was littered with shiny green spots. Hanzo gasped when slate gray eyes appeared on the 2 patches on each hand. The terrifying thing about these eyes were that they had 3 solid black rings and were the Rinnegan. Hanzo taking a step back in fear asked, how do you have those eyes? Sarutobi chuckling said, I was just made the god of the Samsara and alternatives. Hanzo blanched hearing this, and Minato gasped. Hiruzen then vanished from sight, and the next thing Minato knew Hanzo was flying all the way across the roof. Hiruzen appearing where Hanzo had been clenched his fist and said, now I feel like the god of shinobi once again. Naruto, having witnessed Sarutobi's ascension, chuckled and flipped over and attacked by Orochimaru, who was covered in nasty bruises and cuts. Madara, sending a powerful fire jutsu at Naruto, watched as Naruto sent it right at Orochimaru and asked, what are you chuckling about? Naruto laughing said, oh, it's just the old man can no longer be called the old man, and now Hanzo is about to get a taste of a 24-year-old Sarutobi Hiruzen, god of shinobi. Orochimaru hearing this gained wide eyes and made the mistake of turning to look in the direction where he could feel Hanzo fighting. Like I said, this was a mistake, as Naruto, spotting an opening, pointed 2 fingers at Orochimaru and said, almighty push. Orochimaru was then blasted away by an intense force of gravity that broke several bones of his. Naruto, then feeling an attack from Hashirama coming, clapped his hands together and said, fire style, volcanic explosion jutsu. He then erupted in a giant pillar of flames that burned every piece of wood heading his way and the ground beneath him. Madara, spotting this, smirked and said, impressive. Orochimaru, appearing with fury in his eyes, said, no more games, brat. He turning to the four people keeping up the barrier barked out, "Expand the barrier, it's time for the summons to get involved in this battle." Naruto tilting his head watched as the barrier was expanded. Orochimaru chuckling went through hand signs and summoned Manda, the boss of the snake summoning contract. Manda hissing said, "Orochimaru, this had better be good, as I have not received any sacrifices." Orochimaru said, "The ultimate sacrifice is right in front of you, Manda-sama." Manda looking down smirked, spotting Naruto, who could tell that the snake wasn't heeding Kami's warning. Shaking his head, Naruto said, "You must have forgotten that I have summons also, Pedamaru." The ignoring the growl from Orochimaru, went through the hand signs faster than Madara could keep up with and did what was required to summon. 8 poof of smoke occurred and all 8 of them were just as large as Manda. Naruto smirking said, "Behold the 3 dogs of war." The first 3 poof of smoke cleared and to the shock of Orochimaru 3 canine-like creatures the size of cars were standing there. These 3 were of course Entei, Raikou and Sukyun. Entei turning to Naruto asked, "Are you the one mother told us about?" Raikou staring down Manda asked, "Are you the one capable of activating and using all our powers?" Sukyun staring at Hashirama asked, "Are you Naruto Otsutsuki, the god of carnage, destruction and technology?" Naruto nodding said, "That I am, and the snake you are staring down Raikou is an enemy who wants to destroy my village. You 3 are free to destroy the snake, his summoner and the other 2. All 3 legendary dogs howled and Manda found himself in an entirely new world of hurt along with Orochimaru and Hashirama. Entei and Raikou had teamed up on Manda while Sukyun had attacked Hashirama. That left just Madara and Naruto. Madara with a smile on his face said, "You are a most interesting opponent." He then activating his eternal Mangekyou Sharingan said, "Let's see how you contend with the Susanoo." Naruto blinked when Madara's legendary Susanoo appeared. Naruto snorting said, "You're not the only one who has that attack, Madara." Madara hearing this gained wide eyes. His eyes widened even more when Naruto activating the eternal Mangekyou Sharingan part of the Chaosagan said Susanoo. From around Naruto a huge silver figure appeared. This figure at first was nothing but a skeletal system, but slowly muscles started to form along with skin. Soon a 6-armed 3-headed demonic figure could be seen hovering over Naruto. It then gained armor and 6 deadly sides. Naruto chuckling at the shock in not only Madara's eyes, but Orochimaru, Sarutobi, Hashirama, Tobirama, Hanzo, Anko and Minato said, "Behold my very unique version of the Uchiha's ultimate defense." He then gaining a dark smirk on his face said, "Of course it's not finished yet." Madara hearing this felt his eyes grow so big they were ready to pop out of his head. Naruto looking at the 5 poofs of smoke said, "Allow me to introduce the 3 birds of the seasons, the guardian of the sea and mythical bird of mirage." The 5 lingering poofs of smoke clearing revealed Articuno, Zapdos, Moltres, Lugia and Ho-Oh. All 5 legendary birds were flapping their massive wings and looking around. Lugia spotting Naruto landed in front of his Susanoo and asked, "Are you the new godmother informed us about?" Naruto nodding said, I am Lady Lugia." The other 4 birds sitting down looked at the Susanoo. Articuno moving her red eyes to him asked, "Is that the construct mother said we would be able to fuse with?" Naruto smiling gently at her said, "Yes, this is my Susanoo, Lady Articuno, and all 5 of you can easily fuse and defuse with it." Moltres turning to look at Madara's Susanoo asked, "Who is he?" Naruto said, "Madara Uchiha, and my opponent at the moment." Ho-Oh looking outside of the barrier asked, "After you finish the war, we will be allowed to stay like Giratina, Groudon, Entei, Raikou and Sukyun, right?" Naruto nodding said, "Of course, Lady Ho-Oh, all 5 of you are free to roam the elemental nations as you please, and like I promised Kami-sama, I'll protect the 5 of you with my life." Lugia nodding said, "Let us fuse then." The other 4 birds nodding jumped into the air and to the shock of Madara and the others, quickly fused with Naruto's already impressive Susanoo. A huge pillar of light then shattered the barrier, making Orochimaru gain wide eyes. Suddenly a massive pressure slammed down on the people on the roof and everyone in or around Konoha. Suddenly a giant hand reached through the pillar. Madara gained wide eyes when a complete version of Naruto's Susanoo appeared, with the addition of 10 large wings and a very long tail. Naruto standing inside of the creature had this impassive look on his face that made Madara shiver slightly. Madara then shaking his fear off smirked and turned his half Susanoo into its complete form. Naruto realizing that the 2 titanic chakra constructions wouldn't be able to stand on the rooftop of battle in Konoha without destroying it, used teleport and moved he and Madara outside of the village, but still within view of Konoha, so everyone could watch the battle. Madara now standing in his full Susanoo, had this insane smirk on his face as he said, "This battle will either cement your place amongst legends or be the end of you." Naruto laughing said, "This battle will move me up in the bingo book from B rank to S rank, as I will have gone toe-to-toe with Madara Uchiha, and the world will know the name of the ultimate god of destruction." He then made the sides of his Susanoo appear, just as Madara made his sword and shield appear. The battle then began and all of Konoha, even those involved in battles, could see it clearly. Back in the now reformed barrier, Anko, having collected the soul of Tobirama while he was looking at Naruto, was kinda shocked at the power she could feel rolling off of Naruto in waves. She, turning to the left, decided to go give her former sensei a gift in the form of an ionic bomb, or maybe an atomic overload. Shrugging, she activated the flight system in her new armor and headed in the direction of Orochimaru. Sarutobi, having just watched Minato use the Reaper Death Seal to seal away Hanzo, shook his head as the man was promptly grabbed by Tsubasa and dragged only Kami knows where. He, looking at the battle between Naruto and Madara, said, "A battle between titans is happening outside of this barrier, in fact two of them are." He, shrugging, decided to go see how his other sensei and former student was faring, took off towards Orochimaru's location. Said Snake Sanin, dodging a rather deadly-looking ball of lightning from Raikou, was both pissed and terrified. Pissed that Naruto was so damn strong, terrified because Raikou and Entei had burned and fried Manda alive, actually killing the snake. He was then punched hard in the face by Anko in her iron spider suit. He, going flying, flipped and glared at her. She, chuckling at his face, said, "Hello again, sensei." He, growling, said, "You foolish little girl, you cannot defeat me." He was then doubled over by a staff he was very familiar with. Sarutobi, chuckling, said, "Getting cocky in your old age, Orochimaru." The Snake Sanin, wiping the blood from his mouth, was about to ask Sarutobi who he was calling old when he got a good look at his former sensei. His eyes nearly popped out of his head, spotting the 25-year-old Sarutobi standing beside a wide-eyed Anko. Sarutobi, smirking, said, "The perks of becoming a god under Naruto." Anko, hearing this, said, "Oh." Orochimaru, still shocked, asked, "The brat can make people gods?" Anko, nodding, said, "Of course he can. I'm the goddess of technology and torture with a minor affinity to carnage and destruction." Sarutobi, laughing, said, "He made me the god of the Samsara and alternatives." Orochimaru, hearing this, gained wide eyes, but blanched when Sarutobi's Rinnegan appeared. Anko, spotting said legendary eyes, asked, "Holy shit, since when can Naruchan give out the jutsu?" Sarutobi, shrugging, said, "The hell if I know. All I know is that I know have the Rinnegan and I am once again 25. Orochimaru, now trembling in fear, tried to bring Hashirama to him, but gained wide eyes, feeling his connection, the man gone. He, quickly turning, gained wide eyes as only the dead body he had used to summon Hashirama remained. This was once again a mistake, as both Anko and Hiruzen connected attacks to his body, sending him sailing across the battlefield. The attacks didn't stop there, as Sukyun, Raikou and Entei all fired attacks at Orochimaru. The Sanin, dodging, landed and finally realized that the odds were no longer stacked in his favor. To tell the truth, if he had paid attention, he would have noticed that the odds were never in his favor and his little plan was doomed to fail. He, moving his eyes, tried to think of an escape plan that would let him leave this wretched village alive. Outside of the barrier, Chio was laid out on the ground, her throat slit and guts spilling out on the floor. A panting Tamari was standing over the dying woman, while Jinx collected the remains of the 100-something puppets the woman had summoned. Chio, trying to stop herself from dying, gurgled out, "Our plan was doomed from the start." Jinx, snorting, said, "No, your plan was doomed the day it was thought up. Naruchan, without even being a god, would have put an end to your plan, and Konoha would still have won this little war." She, turning to the old lady, said, "He did after all have full control over my chakra and could even transform into me, but he was hiding his skills like a true shinobi does. Because a shinobi must be one with the shadows." Chio, hearing this, coughed up a lot of blood and passed on, her soul being scooped up by Tsubasa, who had a grin on her face. Tamari, once Chio died, said, "You can finally rest in peace, Mom." Jinx, hearing this, asked, "You do know Naruto plans on bringing your mother back so that you and Gaara can be reunited with her, right?" Tamari, hearing this, gained wide eyes and turned to Jinx and asked, "What?" Jinx, chuckling, said, "Tsubasa-sama has a contract with Naruto. If he delivers her a lot of souls, she'd allow him to revive someone. For every 100 souls he kills and delivers to her, he can revive 2 people. But this war he has delivered about 2,500 souls to Tsubasa, with myself, Anko, Sarutobi, Gaara, Shukaku and yourself being under his jurisdiction." Tamari was shocked hearing this. Kakashi, spotting the stadium basically clear of any sand or sound shinobi, turned to Guy and asked, "How many?" Guy, smiling brightly, said, "Yosh, I took down 250, my eternal rival." Kakashi, smiling, said, "I win as I took down 560. Guy, hearing this, started to weep as he said, "You win this time, my eternal rival." Kakashi, still smiling, asked, "I'm sorry, did you say something?" Guy then did what was customary whenever Kakashi did that. Asuma, looking at his team, could see that the 3 of them were a little shaken up at killing so many people, so he said, "You 3 did good. You protected the village from the sand and sound shinobi. Remember that it was either you of them." Shikamaru, looking at Naruto battling Madara, closed his eyes and said, "Troublesome wars." Taoji, also looking at Naruto, smiled a little, knowing that Naruto would have said something much more rude and cool. Ino, combing a hand through her hair, looked at the battle between Naruto and Madara. She, spotting how badass Naruto Susanoo looked, switched into fangirl mode. This meant hearts appeared in her eyes, drool came out of her mouth, and she started to swoon where she stood. She said, "Oh my god. Naruto-kun is so godly." Shikamaru, Chaoji and Asuma all sweat dropped hearing this. Karen, Kin and Natsumi sitting on Salamandra who had come at Natsumi's whistle, were watching Naruto battle the legendary Madara Uchiha. Karen in the same state as Ino said, "Naruto-kun is the god of my dreams." Kin with wide eyes said Naruto-sama is legendary. Natsumi clapping her little hands and having stars in her eyes, said cool. Kushina standing beside a wide-eyed Mikoto was looking at Naruto's battle with Madara. Kushina staring at Naruto Susanoo asked Mikoto, "Tell me again how I can join Naruto's harem." Mikoto watching as Naruto Susanoo summoned huge ice pillars, said, "Naruto-kun has to accept a date with you, and on said date he must sing to you. Then you are officially a part of Naruto's harem." Kaien and Akane with heavy blushes on their face was staring at Naruto's power as they said, "Otsutsuki-sama is so dreamy." Naruto looking at Naruto's battle with Madara with wide eyes said, "I think I just fell in love." Yugao, Kurenai and Hitachi having grouped together around Jiraiya to protect him, said in union, "Naruto-kun is going toe-to-toe with the legendary Madara Uchiha and actually fucking winning." Hitachi said, "My foolish little brother is very lucky Naruto-kun held back against him." Kurenai said, "I need to schedule some time so I can get Naruto-kun to help me get stronger." Yugao said, "Fuck that, I'm kidnapping him so he can train me." Jiraiya now realizing how truly foolish he had been to challenge Naruto asked, "How in the 9 circles of hell is he only a B rank in the bingo book?" Kiba looking at Naruto's battle said, "Naruto is without a doubt not the dope of our class." Shino pushing up his glasses said, "The god of destruction will be a name feared by Konoha's enemies for decades to come." 1010 with wide eyes said, "I can't believe I'm about to say this, but I am witnessing the man I want to marry battle the infamous Madara Uchiha and win." Sakura with wide eyes said, "Okay, fuck Sasuke Uchiha. I need to seduce and be with Naruto Otsutsuki." Aku standing beside Zabuza turned to the pink-haired girl and said, "No way in hell is that happening, bitch. Naruto-sama is spoken for, thank you very much." Zabuza shaking his head said, "I'm kidnapping the kid and forcing him to train me. I need to be able to go toe-to-toe with a legendary shinobi." Suddenly the battle between Naruto and Madara ended as Naruto unleashing a powerful attack, destroyed Madara's Susanoo, and stabbing Madara, ripped out the body of the now confirmed Kazukiage that was the item keeping Madara bound to the mortal realm. Madara smirking as he started to break up said, "I look forward to our next battle, kid, and next time I will be using my full power." Naruto chuckling said, "See you in a couple of years, Madara. Do be ready for the battle of your life." Madara laughing faded away. Naruto shaking his head turned back to Konoha. He releasing his Susanoo and setting the 5 legendary birds free said, "I thank you, my ladies. You are free to explore your new world." Molter sitting down on the ground shocked him when she shifted into the form of a woman with long flowing orange hair and bright yellow skin. She dressed in a pair of red jeans and an orange tank top, smirked at him and said, "The only thing I want to explore is a relationship with you." Articuno, Zapdos, Lugia and Ho-Oh also shifting into the forms of human females, smirked and said likewise. Naruto chuckling said, "I'd be delighted to date the 5 of you, my ladies." He then looking at the barrier said, "Before I can do that I have a snake to skin and a promise to keep." He vanishing in a roar of thunder appeared outside of the barrier, shocking everyone who had gathered around it. He smirking moved his eyes to Taiya and asked, "Is it set up, Taiya-heim?" Taiya smirking said, "Hell yeah, it is, Naruto-kun." He nodding said, "Good, let Anko, Sarutobi, Raikou, and Tei and Sukyun out." She nodding created a hole in the barrier, shocking the other 3 guards. Anko jumping out with Sarutobi, Raikou, and Tei and Sukyun, landed beside Naruto and asked, "What are you about to do, Naruto?" The ignoring this question for now walked inside of the barrier and nodded to Taiya. She shutting the barrier turned to the other 4 smirked and said, "You 4 shitheads are no longer needed. Destruction release, heart explosion jutsu." The 4 sound ninja, this includes Yuden inside of Seiken, suddenly screamed as inside of their bodies their hearts exploded, killing them instantly. The barrier stayed up though. Taiya smirking said, "Carnage and Nanotic release, barrier of the young god jutsu." Everyone gained wide eyes when the barrier went from being dark purple to being as clear as the air, with small shiny specks visible here and there. All eyes could now see a smirking Naruto in front of a wide-eyed Orochimaru. Naruto chuckling said, "I bet you're wondering what is going on." Simple, really. A few days ago Taiya-heim snuck into the village searching for Kin-chan because she didn't believe your bullshit story about her receiving special training from some sound jonin. I just happened to be out on a date with Kin and Haku-chan at the time, and we ran into her. After a little misunderstanding, Kin informed me that Taiya-heim was one of your personal bodyguards and that the only reason she was said thing was because you killed her parents and she needed to be high up to protect Kin and Karen-chan from the scum in your village. I then asked her to show me the curse mark you placed on her. After looking at it with my Dijutsu I realized that I could destroy the damn thing." He stopping to smirk at the rage in Orochimaru's eyes, said, I did so, and she was so happy that she was ready to do anything I asked of her. So I came up with a rather ingenious plan. I would elevate her to goddess of destruction and music and then give her the S-rank mission of pretending to still be loyal to you. She would also sabotage your troops and get me the blueprints for every hidden base you had. Of course I didn't send her to do such a dangerous mission by herself because I kinda took a liking to her. So he snapping his fingers shocked him when several dark purple snakes appeared looking much like cobras. Naruto petting one of them said, I gave her the very powerful and potent protection and backup of group of level 100 Arbok. The best part about this was that you wouldn't get suspicious because they are snakes, also I could relay things through them to her. So once she found out about your little barrier plan, I sent her the new plan. He gaining a devilish smile on his face said, this new plan was to open the barrier and let whoever or whatever was trapped inside battling you out, but keep you in. All we needed was for the original barrier to go up and then the trap would be sprung. Orochimaru was now trembling with pure rage. Naruto chuckling said, Taihaim played her part perfectly and now you can't escape your fate. Ttjod band slam. Today your world dies and I honor the promise I made to Anko when I first met her. He closing his eyes and ignoring Orochimaru screaming and transforming into a huge white snake with 8 heads said, this attack was made specifically for this task and will not only kill the body you're in right now, but will kill your real body and send your tainted soul to Tsubasa Ni in a to-go bag. Naruto slowly floating into the air still had his eyes closed, knowing that all eyes were now on him. His body then started to glow with this unearthly green energy that was shining very brightly. Naruto still with his eyes closed lifted up his hands and everyone was shocked when the barrier expanded and gained height. Naruto still rising in the air stopped when he was miles above the transformed Orochimaru. He slowly opening his eyes lifted both of his hands to the sky. He surging energy through his body was now cloaked in a thick green aura. This wasn't light green either, no it was an emerald green. This aura started to get bigger and bigger until Naruto was literally in a ball of thick green energy. There was so much energy inside of the barrier that lightning and wind were kicking up inside of the barrier and the sky was darkening above everyone. Slowly a huge ball started to form over Naruto's head and everyone, yes everyone even Sakura, could feel the pure power this ball had. This ball was dark purple and glowing so brightly the sun looked dull compared to it. To everyone's shock it kept getting bigger until it was absolutely huge. Naruto lowering one of his hands was now holding the huge attack with a single arm. He looking down at Orochimaru with cold deadly eyes said, this attacks is the combined power of my Kai, chakra, demonic chakra, nature chakra, godly chakra and the chakra I gathered in my sage mode. Everyone hearing this gained wide eyes and Jinx said, that's one powerful attack. Naruto said, this attack is without a doubt a planet destroyer and normally I'd be worried about destroying the planet, but the barrier is infused with not only my godly energy, but nanobits that will immediately absorb any excess energy from the attack. When he said this everyone nearly choked on their saliva and Orochimaru in his snake form seemed to realize that he was in danger. Naruto said, now die Petamaru and go rot in the belly of Tsubasa Ni. SKP Kumshai Bakuden 1 Super Photon Bomb. The attack then quickly moved towards Orochimaru who tried his best to block it. He failed miserably and exploded into nothingness. This attack was still so powerful that it kicked up a mighty gust of wind that practically created a tornado inside of the barrier, which kicked up a lot of dust and smoke. All eyes were on the barrier waiting for the smoke to clear to see if Orochimaru had really just died. When the smoke cleared, silence filled the air as the roof that the battle had taken place on had been obliterated and only the bottom of the barrier could be seen. Laying where Orochimaru had been was the legendary sword Kusanagi, hard proof that Orochimaru was no more. Naruto landing on the barrier, bent down and picked the sword up. He looking it over nodded to Taiya who with her jaw scraping the ground dropped the barrier. Silence hung heavily in the air as Orochimaru was dead and no one wanted to shatter this if it wasn't real. Naruto shaking his head slowly walked over to the shell-shocked Anko. He smiling softly grabbed her hand and placed the Kusanagi in her hand. She looking down at it, slowly lifted her head back to stare at his eyes. He still with a smile on his face, said rejoice Anko, as Petamaru the white snake, traitor of the leaf and the man who hurt you the most is no more. When he said this, it finally registered in everyone's mind. Naruto Otsutsuki, Konoha's god of carnage, the hero of Wave and youngest of the Eternal Council of Gods, had just killed the second biggest traitor in all of Konoha. Anko with tears slowly spilling out of her eyes and body trembling, dropped the sword to the ground. Naruto hadn't really noticed this as he was staring at Groudon and Shikaku, who were looking at him with nothing but respect in their eyes. Suddenly Anko glumped him and he was forced on his back. He turning to look at her blinked when she grabbed his head and forced him into a passionate kiss. She did this for 10 whole minutes before her need of air became too much and she ended the kiss. She staring in his eyes with pure emotion in her eyes said, I can't believe it. You actually did it. You killed him, you fucking killed Orochimaru, and you got rid of my curse. She crying happy tears kissed him again and said, I love you so much Naru-chan. Naruto I smiling much like Kakashi would said, I know Anko-chan and I love you more. Everyone smiled at the scene, and many people realized that Konoha had just survived and was victorious in a war started by Orochimaru and his village. The only person who had died was Minato Namikaze, and he did so foolishly by sealing Hanzo into his stomach. Sarutobi looking up at the sky and noticing that it had stopped raining blood said, the will of fire burns brightly today. Everyone hearing what he said nodded except for Anko who was still hugging Naruto tightly not letting him go, and Naruto who was just letting Anko do so. So this concludes the end of this story. And I hope you all enjoyed it. Remember to subscribe to the channel, and if you want to listen to the next story from this channel, turn on the notification bell. So, I'll see you all in the next video. So until then, stay happy, stay fit, and goodbye to everyone.